Dragon Ball has a ton of different storylines. What if everything was connected? Today we'll be starting a what-if scenario that is pretty crazy. We're going to try and fit everything together, seeing how the various different Dragon Ball properties affect each other. There's going to be some major story changes from the get-go. So let's begin this new scenario. What if everything was canon? I should put an asterisk next to everything. We're not going to go over everything with Dragon Ball. But here's what we're going to try and piece together. The Dragon Ball Z movies, the OVAs, the Dragon Ball Z filler, Dragon Ball Daima, everything in Dragon Ball Super, and everything from Dragon Ball GT. I might also take some lore and other things from games like Super Dragon Ball Heroes, but I'm not going to cover the stories of them. No promises though, that might change as we go on. Now, the Bardock stuff would kind of change because we have 3 different Bardock stories we're combining. Minus, the Z Bardock, and Episode of Bardock. But thankfully, they don't really affect anything going forward, it's just Bardock's own story that's affected. So we're going to be covering that later on, we're not going to touch upon him right now. I usually use a composited Bardock in my scenarios anyways, so essentially, Bardock goes to Planet Cereal, that goes like normal. Bardock has his squad dies when everyone's executed. He tries to fight Frieza, then he dies there. The one change here is that he actually gets sent back in time, and the Episode of Bardock happens. He becomes a Super Saiyan and fights Chilled, and then this means he just lives on in the past. I guess we'll get more into his story later because it usually affects stuff down the line and not like right beforehand. Especially because the fight with Chilled was like 2,000 years ago. And of course, Jocko the Galactic Patrolman happens just as normal. So let's move on to Dragon Ball. The first 3 Dragon Ball films don't really fit in anyways. They're meant to basically be replacements of the main story. Retellings that kind of exist as their own thing. Everything else I'm going to include here is meant to be a somewhat new story. And even though most just kind of copy canon arcs, still they attempt to do their own thing. So, sorry, but no Emperor Chaozu stuff here. Unlike compositing the Bardock stuff, compositing this doesn't really work as well, since we would have to replace the actual Dragon Ball arcs, which I don't want to do. Also, Path to Power is a retelling, so we're ignoring that here. As for Dragon Ball stuff, well, most of the Dragon Ball filler is just stuff that's meant to pad the time out and not fully fleshed out stories. Of course, there are some small side stories here and there, but they don't really affect too much in the grand scheme of things. Honestly, the biggest thing I could think of is the fact that Dr. Flappe is credited for the creation of the androids. Let's go with the Daizenshu 7 explanation and say that Jiro and Flappe were colleagues, and at least for Android 8, he's just a co-creator. Anyways, we basically breezed through Dragon Ball. It means Dragon Ball ends with the arc of Goku and Chi-Chi getting the wedding dress and getting married. So it's pretty smooth sailing so far. But this is probably the easiest part of the story to begin with. Everything else gets way tougher. Right after this, we get into Dragon Ball Z movie territory. Now, a lot of the Dragon Ball Z movies contradict the main timeline, so we're going to have to adjust a lot of the events for it. Since a few things won't change at all, and we're going to be inserting so many new arcs, we're not going to go into deep detail for every arc unless absolutely necessary. Otherwise, the story would be way longer than it needs to be, and this is probably going to be one of my longest by far anyways. After the 23rd World Tournament, we don't have the Saiyan Saga. We have Dead Zone. This is going to be our first major change. Thing is, this movie actually fits into the timeline really nicely, happening before the Saiyan Saga. We can actually kind of breeze through this movie. It's not going to change anything major. You don't really have to adjust a lot of the story to fit it. So Garlic Jr. comes to Earth the same as normal, and the movie goes exactly the same. But it causes a butterfly effect. Now, with the Dragon Ball Z movies being canon, this is going to affect how strong the characters are too, by a lot. We're going to have to rely on anime and movie scaling here because characters are far stronger than their manga selves. Now, if you're not too into power scaling, just know that everyone in the anime and the movies are very overpowered compared to the manga. For reference, this starts really with Dead Zone. The Dead Zone is a black hole. Garlic Jr. makes that, and characters resist the pull of it, and they defeated him. This alone makes Garlic Jr. way stronger than anyone in the Saiyan Saga, and even stronger than a lot of the people on Namek, which would also make Goku and Piccolo a lot stronger, so that wouldn't make sense when they're fighting someone like Vegeta. Goku would be overpowered as hell, and it makes no sense to give Goku and Piccolo that power jump and not give it to others, so this movie's not actually going to change much. Piccolo still wants to kill Goku at the end, and it means Garlic Jr. will return, which is probably the biggest change, but it serves as the first time Goku gets to truly see Gohan's power. Now, he already knew that Gohan had power in him originally, but Chi-Chi didn't want him training. I feel like even seeing Gohan's power here isn't going to change much. And even if Gohan did do some extra training, he's not going to have nearly enough time because this movie seems to take place right before Raditz arrives. So Raditz comes to Earth, and everything from here on out goes pretty much the same too. Actually, everything up until Vegeta's defeated goes exactly as normal. So far, it doesn't seem too crazy, right? Well, this is where things start changing a lot. After the Saiyans are defeated, the events of the world's strongest movies should happen, so Dr. Wheelo should be revived. However, it's impossible right now. In order for Dr. Kochin to melt the ice, he needed to make a wish to Shenron, but Shenron isn't active right now. He was just used to revive Goku, so Dr. Wheelo is going to have to stay dormant until Shenron is back. Or so it seems. Next, we have Namek. That means all the filler that happens in the Saiyan Saga and the anime, and the Namek Saga, all that happens here too. I guess the biggest thing to note here is that the stuff with fake Namek happens. Oh yeah, and all the Princess Snake stuff happened too, I guess. And also the fact that the Ginyu Force showed up on Kenkai's planet, so Tien, Chaozu, and Yamcha have to fight them off. But honestly, a lot of the filler at this point doesn't affect too much, so we can kind of gloss over it. Even with the addition of all these things, thankfully it makes my life easy right now, but once we get beyond Namek, that's when stuff gets a little bit tougher to fit in. But also, it leaves more opportunities to make things interesting. And while the events of Namek are going on, a new threat would be heading towards Earth. Turles. So with a simple adjustment, we can make things fit, and this is where the radical changes occur. Turles is going to be a few weeks later than normal, so everything on Namek goes the same too. But then, Turles arrives on Earth. Right off the bat, there's a pretty big issue here. Goku's not around. He's on Yardrad. Also, most of the Z fighters are still dead. Piccolo's a lot stronger, so is Gohan. And Vegeta's there too. The scaling gets very wacky, but there's one thing that the movies help us with. Oh god, what did I get myself into? I'm just now realizing I'm going to have to do a ton of power scaling in the story, and it's not going to be fun with the movie stuff. Anyways, Piccolo's power in the movie is stated by Turles to be 18,000, which is exactly how strong Saiyan Saga Vegeta's was. This tells us that Piccolo in this movie is far weaker than he would be after merging with Nail. So even with Goku gone, Piccolo is a great contender for defending the planet here because Piccolo in this story is around the level of second form Frieza. Actually, he's probably a little bit stronger right now. Also, worth mentioning that Roshi's still around on the planet and he might help out with the battle here. Gohan will also be a more confident fighter after Namek, although it's going to be weird for him to fight someone who looks like his father again. V-Jump places Vegeta's last Namek power level at 250,000, following his fight with Recoome, and Gohan was last place at 200,000 before a Rage Boost. So for the sake of this video, Gohan's at least 300k. And considering he got such a huge jump in power that he was able to hurt third form Frieza, I'd say now he can go to a power level of like 3 million when he's mad. But of course, Vegeta also did get stronger after Dende healed him versus Frieza. We'll say that Piccolo is around 1.5 million, and Vegeta's slightly higher at 1.7 million. I'm not going to go through any specific calculations, because I don't like power levels, I just only use them when necessary in parts of the story like this. So yes, these numbers are pulled out of my ass, but I think they're fair estimates. What about Turles though? Well, in base, he's cooked. In Tree of Might, he said he didn't think that Great Ape Gohan was a big issue for him, and Gohan's power level in this movie was placed at 10,000, or 100,000 as a Great Ape. Now, Turles' power is really weird because one of the movie pamphlets says that Turles' power was 19,000. It's kind of strange because you would have expected Piccolo to put up more of a fight, considering it was only a 1,000 power level difference. Then Turles later on seems shocked that Goku's power is at 30,000. Though that could have just been because Goku was suppressing his power and Turles didn't expect that. He barely fights Goku in base, so it's really tough to say. He kind of just avoided his attacks. But then he also doesn't seem to think Gohan's an issue as a Great Ape, so my only reasoning for that is because Gohan is mindless as a Great Ape. So we're going to ignore that 19,000 power level. Thankfully, it's not too hard to do that because the powers of Piccolo, Gohan, and Goku were all stated in the movie itself. Turles' power was only stated in a pamphlet for the movie. We're going to say Turles is more like 50k. He also said that Frieza wouldn't even be a problem after eating the fruit of the Tree of Might. But what Frieza is he talking about? First form? Final form? I think it's far more likely that Turles is referring to first form Frieza here, as the viewers at this point didn't know Frieza had other forms. Why reference full power Frieza if no one even knew what his full power was? And as we're about to go into, I think it is pretty reasonable to assume this, because Goku in the movie is at a power of 30k, meaning with Kaioken times 10 he's at 300k, so this makes sense. Turles easily deals with him after getting the Tree of Might's fruit, and first form Frieza has a power level of 530k. Let's say Turles is double of first form Frieza, which would make for an easy battle. He would be at just over 1 million, so let's round it to 1.1 million for his power level. So Turles is actually really weak in comparison to someone like Piccolo here, or Gohan when enraged, but he's still going to be a challenge, though that is if he gets the fruit from the tree. Gohan, Vegeta, Piccolo, and Roshi fight the Crusher Corps. It's pretty easy, though Vegeta's not really working alongside them, he's just there for the thrill of it, and because he wants to fight someone. But they're really surprised when Turles himself shows up, first of all because he looks like Goku, and second of all, because he's another Saiyan. Vegeta especially is surprised, to think that another Saiyan was out there this entire time. He can't believe there's another survivor, and he appears to be a low-class warrior, judging by the fact he looks exactly like Kakarot. Turles would love to take Gohan with him, but that's not going to happen. He can't force Gohan to transform into a Great Ape because Gohan doesn't have his tail anymore. And base Gohan is actually pretty strong, stronger than base Turles. Though Turles thinks he can get Vegeta on his side. He tries to get Vegeta to help him, and Vegeta laughs. Turles doesn't impress him at all. Judging by his ki, he's pretty weak. And unlike someone like Kakarot who works for his power, this guy doesn't seem that impressive. He's trying to use this tree to get stronger. Not to mention, his bar is set really high. He's seen a real Super Saiyan after all, one who defeated Frieza. And Turles is really confused to hear this. A Super Saiyan? What does he mean? Vegeta tells him, there's another low-class warrior, one who looks exactly like Turles actually, and after a battle with Frieza on Namek, he became a Super Saiyan. Though they haven't actually summoned Porunga yet, so they don't know if Goku's still alive or not. Turles is terrified because he could tell Vegeta's not bluffing, and after reading his scouter, even with his own great strength, he knows that Vegeta's stronger than him. Is it because he's an elite Saiyan? No, it's actually because of all of Vegeta's battles. Had Turles arrived about a month earlier or so, Vegeta would have been a lot weaker than Turles. Quickly, Turles snatches a fruit from the Tree of Might, eating it, growing a lot stronger. And now, he fights Vegeta. Turles showcases more and more power. The Tree of Might gave him an amazing buff. But Vegeta is still too strong for him. Turles considers going for another fruit, but he knows that's dangerous. It could make his body unstable. So instead, he tries to fight smart. With all of his power, he catches Vegeta off guard with a blast. It's not meant to hurt or kill Vegeta or anything, just get him away from the battle as quick as possible. A concussive blast that sends Vegeta flying across the planet. He then sets his sights on Piccolo. And Turles doesn't think this Namekian will be any match for him. Even Warrior Namekian shouldn't be that strong, but Piccolo tells him to think again. The battle between these two commences, and Piccolo has the edge in power. It's not a huge gap, but it's enough for Turles to not overcome it. Not to mention, Piccolo has his regeneration, and better techniques to boot. He overwhelms Turles and defeats him, but Turles isn't going to go down that easily. Turles cuts his power a bit, creating an artificial moon, quickly throwing it up into the sky. Piccolo's taken aback by it. When Vegeta first did this, Piccolo was dead and probably on his way to King Kai's planet. He might have not even heard of it. Roshi wouldn't know what it is either, but Gohan definitely knows what this is. And Piccolo realizes once Turles starts transforming that it's replicating the moon. Now, Turles did sacrifice some of his power to transform, but the 10 times boost makes up for it. After being buffed by the Tree of Might and turning into a Great Ape, we're going to place his power at 9 million. There's no way anyone here could deal with him. Vegeta returns and he instantly knows they're screwed once he sees the Great Ape in the distance. A grin appears on Turles' face, and with a single blast, Vegeta's defeated. Next, he sets his sights on Piccolo, defeating him pretty quickly too. He lifts up a foot, planning to stomp on Piccolo and kill him that way, but then Gohan gets enraged, attacking Turles head on. But even with his rage boost, it's not enough to overpower Turles. He's able to get some surprise hits in, but that's all. And Gohan is quickly defeated by him too. But there's still hope. Nearby, Vegeta's on the ground. He's been unconscious this entire time, but he looks up in the sky and sees a very familiar artificial moon. That brings back some memories. Vegeta charges a disc of energy in his hand, replicating Krillin's technique once again. It's something he's done before. Just as he did against Great Ape Gohan, Vegeta flings this at the unsuspecting Turles, who's right now preparing to kill Gohan and Piccolo. It cuts clean through his tail, with Turles de-transforming. Weakly, Vegeta stands up and walks over to him. Turles still has some power left, and he could take on Vegeta. The two briefly fight with Vegeta falling again. A blast hits Turles from behind. A full power Kamehameha from Roshi. He didn't think that old man would be an issue anymore. Turles rushes over to kill him, but a beam then pierces through his chest, instantly killing Turles. He falls over to the ground, and Roshi sees Piccolo standing not too far away, with 2 fingers pointed out. It's the same technique he used to kill Goku. He tells Roshi now they're even. King Piccolo caused Roshi's death before, but now Piccolo saved Roshi. Roshi nervously laughs. Yeah, he guesses they're even. With a powerful ki blast, Piccolo destroys the Tree of Might, returning all the energy from it to Earth. Of course, there's still a ton of damage to Earth, but at least all the energy's back, and it's a good thing they were able to defend Earth without Goku. And Piccolo thanks Vegeta for his help, but Vegeta tells him they're not allies. He was just fighting because there was another Saiyan involved, and he's never going to turn down a good fight. Sure, Piccolo's very familiar with that type of bravado. Anyways, the fighters all heal up. But this isn't the last threat they're going to face alone. First off, around this time, Garlic Jr. is finally able to escape the dead zone. Now, he's not going to attack right away. He still needs to make plans, but he's going to return to Earth soon. But coincidentally, another villain is freed at the same time. With the Tree of Might absorbing a bunch of energy and nutrients from Earth, I would guess that a lot of Earth's water is taken too, including water taken from the ice around Earth. On a faraway frozen part of the planet, a lot of the ice is melted, temporarily. Everything's restored after the Tree of Might is destroyed, but this causes something to thaw out temporarily. Dr. Cochin has been planning for a while now. After seeing the Tree of Might, he wasn't really sure what to do, but he immediately rushed over to where Dr. Wheelo was, wanting to make sure the preserved remains of him were safe. And they're better than safe. They were freed from the ice. He's quickly able to retrieve them, and now he doesn't need Shenron to melt the ice. His plans can be set in motion. Dr. Wheelo can finally return. But he has some ambitious plans. A warrior that Dr. Wheelo's brain can get transferred to. For now, he has a mechanical body. But soon, he'll have a far better organic one. But they can't strike just yet. A few months after the encounter with Turles, Porunga revives Krillin and Yamcha. Since Krillin's soul needs to be transported to Earth, this takes up 3 wishes. And in 3 months' time, Tien and Chaozu can come back too, and the Namekians will go to New Namek. Vegeta's thinking about leaving Earth in order to train, but instead he decides to stay. One day, astronomers on Earth discover something weird. A planet has drawn close to Earth, the Makio Star. Now, for everyone else on Earth, this doesn't really affect them, but for Garlic Jr., it allows him to escape the dead zone. And I guess for the first time in a What If Ever, I get to cover the Garlic Jr. saga. Not the movie, the filler arc from the anime. So this is going to start pretty much like normal. In case you're not familiar with the arc, Garlic Jr. goes to procure something called the Black Water Mist, which is capable of brainwashing people. Plus, he's also going to recruit some allies, which are the 4 monarchs, aka the Spice Boys. And now, Garlic Jr. could finally strike back. First, with the Black Water Mist, he's able to turn some people into vampires. The Spice Boys are sent down to the surface to help him, while Garlic stays on the lookout. He traps Kami and Popo, just like normal. As he plans his next move, the Black Water Mist gets Yamcha, Bulma, Krillin, Roshi, and seemingly Piccolo. But there are 2 people that are able to escape the grasp of the Spice Boys and defeat them. They try and go after Vegeta, but he's far too strong for them to fight. And same for Gohan. Now, Piccolo got unlucky when he got possessed by it, but what they don't know is that secretly, Piccolo is immune to this. So it seems like he's one of their minions right now, but Vegeta and Gohan definitely aren't possessed. And with the weird situation here, the 2 of them are forced to team up. They fight the Spice Boys together, and with relative ease, they kill them all. They eventually find out that, to reverse the effects of the Black Water Mist, they're going to have to go to the lookout. The Ultra Divine Water can apparently reverse the effects, but they only have 24 hours to do so. The 2 of them go up there, and this is where they encounter Garlic Jr. He has no clue who Vegeta is, but he remembers Gohan, the same person who defeated him before. That kid that had exceptional power. But while he's distracted by these 2, Piccolo sneaks onto the lookout, revealing that he's actually not possessed, and he's able to free Kami and Popo in the process, which is good. Kami and Popo will work on healing everybody. And Vegeta's just left really confused because he has no clue who this guy is or what that planet is that's drawing near to them. Since Vegeta's pretty familiar with space and the different planets out there, he might actually know about the Serpent Race, but he doesn't know about any of the events that happen with Garlic Jr. here. But Garlic Jr. is happy to monologue, explaining what happened to him and how he's been sealed away in the Dead Zone. Also, how he escaped the Dead Zone. He also spent time training in the Dead Zone, just to grow stronger for his escape. Of course, the Makio Star helped him get even stronger than that, and that's what allowed him to finally break free. But Garlic is way stronger than when they first encountered him, and he powers up to his maximum. In his super form, they're amazed by the power he's showing off. He's stronger than even Frieza. So now the question is, would they be able to defeat someone with this level of strength? If Goku were here, as a Super Saiyan, maybe they'd be able to. Now they actually know that Goku's alive thanks to Porunga confirming it for them, but he's not here. They have to fight this threat on their own. And unlike Turles, this is going to be a lot harder. Garlic fights them all off at once, and it seems like this is an unwinnable battle. But weirdly enough, Garlic starts to feel that his power is draining. And not in the sense that someone's sapping his power from him, but the effect of the Makio Star is not as potent anymore. He has no clue why. He looks up in the sky and still sees it there, which also tells Piccolo, Gohan, and Vegeta that maybe if they destroy that planet, that'll help them. So they're going to have to aim to do that. As the fight continues on, Gohan, Piccolo, and Vegeta slowly get an advantage over Garlic, which makes no sense to them. Why are they suddenly stronger than him? They haven't increased in strength. Actually, they've gotten weaker because of their injuries. Now, Garlic is still pretty strong thanks to his extra training, but he loses the full boost of the Makio Star. Despite his immortality, Garlic Jr. isn't able to overcome them thanks to the loss of power. So, he foolishly opens the Dead Zone again. And then, something really weird happens. Garlic is sucked back into the Dead Zone. They look up in the sky and they see the color of the Makio Star has changed. Now, since the planet is so far away, they can't really tell the difference, but just from the light reflecting off the planet making it twinkle in the sky, they could tell something's weird with it, especially because the light eventually dissipates, and they see a shockwave. The planet bursts into multiple pieces. Garlic screams as he's sucked back into the Dead Zone. His plan was foiled. He's going to be trapped in here for eternity. Then the lookout violently shakes, as it split into 2. Something flew into the lookout from space. Actually, it was something from the Makio Star. Everyone's jaw drops when they see who's there. It's a very familiar looking fighter. It looks like they're seeing a ghost. He says the Makio Star served him very well. He's not sure what was just going on up here, but it doesn't matter. He apologizes for interrupting anything. It's Turles. But they killed him. They know it. They even buried him. But something's different about him. His skin looks to be a little more pale, and he still does have a scar from that fatal attack that hit him, though it is covered up by refashioned armor. And his ki feels really strange, like there's something interfering with it, something blocking it. Oh, they must think he's Turles, don't they? He isn't. He introduces himself. His name is Dr. Wheelo. Let's rewind a bit. After Wheelo was freed from the ice, Kochin was trying to figure out what to do next. Now, he was thinking of trying to draw Vegeta, Piccolo, and Gohan to their lab. That way, Dr. Wheelo could take one of their bodies and become the strongest warrior, but as he was looking more into it, Dr. Kochin found something more interesting. He, of course, wanted to know why the ice melted in the first place. He saw what happened with the Tree of Might. A random giant tree appeared on Earth and then disappeared. So, he goes over to the site where it happened, and he found a corpse. Turles' body was never destroyed. It It was just kind of left there and buried. His soul is now in hell, but his physical body was left behind. Of course, the body had partially decayed, causing his skin to become grayer and almost zombified. But somehow it still looks really good for someone who's been buried here for a while. The fruit of the Tree of Might still coursed through his veins. Of course, it didn't keep him alive, but it helped vitalize his body, keep it from fully decaying. And this is also helped by being near the site where the Tree of Might once is. There's a ton of energy around there. Curious, Dr. Kochin studied the body and found out that this was some sort of alien. He restructured the body, fitting it with some reinforced mechanical parts as well, and recovering any injuries. It still retains a lot of the great power that it had before, and he transferred Dr. Wheelo's brain to this body. Wheelo never got to use his mechanical body. He doesn't need to. He now uses the body of Turles, and Turles also did have something interesting on him, another seed for another Tree of Might. And the only reason they found out about this is because when it was buried at Turles' body, it started to slowly sprout, growing roots into Turles. It was a pretty disgusting sight, but it gave the doctor something to work with. Now, he could plant this on Earth and sap it of its energy, but that's not really a great idea. Instead, they saw a better opportunity. With the Makyo star approaching, they decided that once it got here, they would take a rocket up into space, plant it on that planet, and then take a fruit from a tree that's planted on that planet. And that's exactly what they did. While Garlic Jr. was attacking, Dr. Kochin and Dr. Wheelo were on that planet. They grew another Tree of Might, Dr. Wheelo ate a fruit from that tree, and he got far stronger from it. And the second he ate the fruit, he jumped right back to Earth. Yes, he jumped from that planet to Earth. Although, it did kill Kochin in the process, but Wheelo doesn't care at all. The power of the jump completely destroyed the planet too. The Tree of Might sapping energy from the planet was what powered down Garlic, and the planet being fully destroyed, that inadvertently sent him back to the dead zone, making him not strong enough to escape. And now we're back to the present. Dr. Wheelo is on Earth in Turles' body. This is round 3 for them. First the Spice Boys, then Garlic, then Wheelo. And Wheelo is really strong. While Turles did die, with his body being recovered, it got a nice boost in power from healing. Plus, it was reinforced with mechanical parts, making him even stronger. And on top of that, he's strengthened by another fruit from the Tree of Might. And as Wheelo fights all 3 of these fighters, he realizes that he is the world's strongest now. He doesn't need anyone else's body. What he doesn't know is that there is a much stronger fighter out there. Actually, there's a few stronger fighters out there, but I digress. Vegeta promised himself he wouldn't lose another fight. He's gonna win here, especially because this guy isn't a true Saiyan. He's a mockery of a Saiyan warrior, puppeting that body like it's his. You can't imagine how weak Wheelo must have been to take the corpse of a Saiyan, and that body won't match true Saiyan might. But Wheelo begs to differ. He defeats Vegeta pretty quickly. This body is better than a Saiyan's, much better. Piccolo tries to fight him, but Wheelo's able to overpower him too, riddling Piccolo's body with Ki Blast, not killing him, but severely injuring him as Wheelo then kicks him, setting the unconscious Piccolo down to the surface of Earth. And now to kill Gohan. But Gohan's furious. He's been pushed to his limit twice a day. First he had to face Garlic Jr. again, who was annoying to fight before. And now, they're fighting an enemy that they thought they killed. They thought they were done with Turles for good. He's tired of all these threats coming to Earth, and he doesn't have his father here to help him. He's Earth's last hope. But seeing Piccolo nearly killed like that, that's what pushes Gohan over the edge. Once more, his rage explodes. And Wheelo's taken aback. Gohan gets a huge boost in power, and then briefly, his hair even changes color. Vegeta's barely conscious, but as he's on the verge of passing out, he's not sure if he's hallucinating or not. He sees Gohan briefly go Super Saiyan. Not sure if he's in a dream or not, Vegeta uses the last of his energy to stand up and walks over to where Gohan's fighting. The two stand back to back. Vegeta launches a Gallic Gun. Gohan launches a Masenko. The two beams swirl together. Wheelo tries to copy Turles' kill driver, but it's completely engulfed by the other beam. The combined Gallic Masenko sends him flying into space, incinerating him, fully destroying Turles' body and killing Wheelo for good, expanding out as it also destroys the remains of the Makyo star, illuminating the night sky. Exhausted, Gohan collapses and passes out, with Vegeta also going unconscious and Piccolo laying on the ground below. They're able to cure everyone of the black water mist, but they can't believe what they just witnessed. Not just the two enemies they encountered, but Gohan going Super Saiyan. That must be the form that Goku used on Namek. They never got to see it yet, they only heard about it. Though, they do have a bigger issue. The Lookout is now split into 2 pieces. Vegeta's definitely going to stay on Earth now. He still isn't sure if what he saw was a dream or not, but Kami and Popo confirm it. Gohan actually did briefly go Super Saiyan there. He's tired of this nonsense. All these villains coming back, and then he's still unable to become a Super Saiyan. Even Kakarot's kid did, but Gohan doesn't even remember it. He did it on accident and can't use the form willingly. Meanwhile, out in space, the Frieza Force is able to find Frieza's body as they start rebuilding him. Tien and Chaozu are revived, and the Namekians go to New Namek. But before Mecha Frieza comes to Earth, somebody else decides to show up. All the other Namekians are gone, but one more comes to the planet. It's Lord Slug. He had to wait for the Dragon Balls to recover on Earth. So exactly a year after their last use, that's when Lord Slug gets here. He tries to do this more covertly, and he's able to get the Dragon Balls, then using them to restore his youth. wishing for, you guessed it, eternal life. Of course, the main fighters on Earth right now are Gohan, Piccolo, Vegeta, and Krillin. Vegeta has been reluctantly teaming up with everyone, but he sits this fight out at first, just to see if they can handle it. Combined, Gohan, Piccolo, and Krillin fend off Lord Slug, and then he becomes a giant. Piccolo has tried to get Gohan to tap into Super Saiyan again, but in this battle he can't. He briefly is able to summon the power, though he doesn't fully manifest it. It results in a weird form that almost looks like Super Saiyan, but isn't actually utilizing the full power of it. It does some damage to Lord Slug, but not enough to kill him. So Slug defeats these 3 fighters, but then Vegeta steps up, and he has a big grin on his face. It looks like he's the strongest on Earth now. Slug isn't sure what he means, but Vegeta says while Slug might be a Super Namekian, Vegeta has become a Super Saiyan. He's been training vigorously ever since Garlic Jr., and thanks to seeing Gohan use it earlier, he thinks he finally figured out the secret to it. And it's good timing for Slug, because Vegeta got this just about a few weeks ago. Vegeta strains himself greatly as he powers up, forcing out this transformation that he recently unlocked. Vegeta shows off his Super Saiyan form, and with this power, he's able to completely overwhelm Lord Slug and kill him. He's glad to finally be back on top. And even though Vegeta's a loose cannon, thankfully, he's not a villain to them anymore. He's definitely not a good guy, but they don't have to worry about Vegeta killing them. So even though he's the strongest on Earth and is a Super Saiyan, they're not too concerned, especially because he's still waiting for Kakarot to show up. One day, somebody else shows up though. It's Mecha Frieza, showing up there with King Cold. They feared the Super Saiyan for a while. The legend of the Super Saiyan actually came from long ago, not just in Planet Vegeta's history, but apparently, Frieza's ancestor Chilled was defeated by a Super Saiyan. Of course, that's completely unconfirmed. Frieza has no way of knowing that. But the good thing is, there should only be one Super Saiyan, Goku. And as far as Frieza knows, Goku's dead. But somebody else appears to stop Frieza before Vegeta can go up and fight him. It's Trunks. He goes Super Saiyan and defeats Frieza and Cold just like normal. Despite Gohan and Vegeta getting Super Saiyan earlier, Trunks' timeline still remains the same. Those two would be stronger because of the head start, but the androids are simply too strong for them to counter, so that's what leads to them dying still. But when Goku returns, Trunks warns him of a few things. For 1, the heart virus. 2, the androids. But 3, there's something else that Goku doesn't expect. Originally in Trunks' timeline, he said Vegeta was able to kill King Cold, but before he got to Mecha Frieza, Goku appeared on Earth and killed him. And while everyone besides Vegeta was surprised to find out about King Cold's existence, it turns out he has another family member, a brother. Trunks warns them of one more threat, which he feels confident about them defeating. But he doesn't realize that he's messed up the timeline, so maybe not. Maybe this villain won't show up at the same time. He could be more prepared for all they know. He could train. Because after Frieza and King Cold's defeat, Cooler came to Earth. So within the next few weeks or months, they have to watch out for him. Trunks returns to his timeline and says he'll be back in 3 years. He wishes them good luck against Cooler, and he hopes that they'll be able to defeat the androids. Trunks messed up the timelines by time traveling. He didn't realize how much he was doing it, but this did alter things. Now, in the future version of the events in this story, what happened was everything went the same as it went so far. Then Cooler came to Earth and was killed by Goku. But after that, Goku died of the heart virus and the androids arrived. So after Cooler, the androids were the only threat Trunks' timeline was facing. Even with the other changes so far, the androids were too strong for him to defeat and too strong for Gohan to defeat. But they know nothing of what lies beyond the androids because now the timelines diverge. They await Cooler's arrival, but he doesn't show up right away. Trunks doesn't even know exactly when he showed up, just saying that it wasn't long after Mecha Frieza. But it takes a bit of time. Months pass and nothing. Vegeta's already a Super Saiyan, but he decides to leave Earth and go train further. Seeing Kakarot fight again made him realize that Kakarot's in a league of his own. He doesn't need to catch up with the form though, just in terms of power. So he leaves Earth for a little bit. And a few months after the arrival of Mecha Frieza, this is when we'll say Cooler comes to Earth. He decided to take a little bit of extra time. He knows the target that he's looking for, and he wants to be extra sure that he's strong enough to fight him. So he did a little bit of extra training. But let's take a brief little detour here. So after the Cooler movie, things get really weird. Funny enough, Cooler is the easiest movie to fit into the story besides Wrath of the Dragon maybe. It happens after Trunks comes to the past and when Goku's back on Earth. But weirdly enough, Goku doesn't use Super Saiyan until the very end of the movie, and seemingly he needs to be pushed into it, despite already having a grasp on the form at this point. And Gohan looks like his Namek self and has his tail back. Vegeta's also not present in the movie, which fits with him being in space at this point. So as I've been saying so far, and I will be continuing to say throughout the story, the movies don't make sense as is, but we're going to make sense of them in our own ways. Goku goes on a camping trip with Gohan and Krillin, and Cooler crashes this camping trip. Out of nowhere, there's a surprise attack. The armored squadron goes for Goku and Gohan, and Goku easily fends them off, but then he's hit by a sneak attack from someone. While in base and off guard, Goku's hit by a powerful I-beam from Cooler, badly injuring him and incapacitating him for the time being. Gohan then gets ready to fight, and then a blast is launched from not too far away. Piccolo's also nearby. He's not part of the camping trip, but he was sparring with them recently. Krillin gets Goku to a safe place, and he needs to go procure a Senzu Bean or two. Thankfully, Gohan's able to distract everyone while Goku gets away, as he then becomes a Super Saiyan himself, and Goku gets a glimpse of the true villain, Cooler. They already knew to expect him, and then Piccolo yells out to him too, calling Cooler by his name and saying that they're pretty prepared. Well, Cooler is surprised that they knew he'd come here and they even know who he is, but clearly they're not as prepared as they should be. And yeah, because that was a sneak attack, but in terms of strength, they think they've got this. As a Super Saiyan, Gohan wipes out the armored squadron, with very little effort, as he and Piccolo then go in to attack Cooler together. Now, Cooler is surprised to see another Super Saiyan here. He knows that there was one that defeated Frieza, but there are 3 other Super Saiyans: Vegeta, Gohan, and then Trunks, who came from the future and was the one to actually kill Frieza, as well as King Cold. Cooler fights these two in base for a bit. He's easily able to get Piccolo out of the fight, defeating him, and then it's a 1v1 between him and Gohan. Gohan's strength actually eclipses Cooler's at the moment, which really surprises him, but he's not going to be beaten by a kid. The battle continues on for a little bit longer, and Gohan gets a lot of good attacks in, but as Gohan prepares to finish it off, Cooler then grabs Gohan by his face, and he simply tells him,
"You should feel honored. You're the first, and soon to be the last, to witness my ultimate transformation."
Gohan tries to escape Cooler's grasp, but his arms grow larger, his body grows larger, and he grows a lot stronger. Cooler's final form isn't a surprise for them. While Trunks didn't have a lot of info on the Cooler fight, he does know that Cooler had one extra transformation. But what surprises Gohan is how strong he is. Cooler's transformation completes, and then he drops Gohan out of his hand and punts him high up into the air. Cooler then rockets up into the sky, too fast for Gohan to react, flying way above Gohan, and then launching down to the surface. He plants his foot right on Gohan, kicking him right into the earth. And with the single attack, he knocks Gohan completely unconscious, defeating him with ease, as Gohan's left planted in the ground. Nearby, Krillin and Goku sensed all of this. Goku's obviously really concerned, but thankfully Krillin was able to get another Senzu Bean for him, and he has one extra. From what they could tell, Piccolo seems to be out of the fight, but he's at least okay. Gohan, on the other hand, is probably a lot more injured, so Goku tells Krillin to get Gohan that other Senzu Bean and get him to safety. Goku also communicates with Piccolo to confirm this, and Piccolo's injured but not unconscious. He asks Goku if he needs help, but Goku says he doesn't. Honestly, he's not even sure if anyone can help him right now. Cooler does seem stronger than he expected. Goku powers up into Super Saiyan, placing 2 fingers on his forehead, and then teleporting right to Cooler. Cooler floats there, scanning the area, trying to find where Goku and Krillin went. But he doesn't need to look far, as Goku appears in front of him. And seeing Goku firsthand, he's just disappointed. Disappointed in Frieza mainly. Goku asks if he means because Frieza lost, and he says partially because of that, but mainly because he got sloppy. He was supposed to eradicate all the Saiyans, but clearly he did a terrible job at that. He had Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz as part of his army. And Vegeta's still alive to this day. Meanwhile, that baby escaped from planet Vegeta. It must be Goku, isn't it? And Goku doesn't remember much of his past, but yeah, that was probably him. And look at this. 2 Saiyans lived. For all he knows, Frieza probably let other Saiyans escape too. He wouldn't be surprised if there were even more Saiyans out there. So that's what this is about. Getting rid of the Saiyans, just like his brother. And Cooler says not exactly. Of course, he's not really fond of Saiyans, but he's mainly trying to clean up Frieza's mess and make sure no one gets in his way as ruler of the universe. Look how it turned out for Frieza. He wasn't able to do that. He feels his spoiled brother had everything handed to him, while Cooler forged his own destiny through his own hard work. And without Frieza now, he has no competition either, besides the Super Saiyans. He says he wasn't born with the same great power that his brother had, but he doesn't need it. He worked for his power. And unlike Frieza, he's not complacent. He actually enjoys training and growing stronger. Goku says the two of them aren't so different. It's a shame Cooler's not a good guy. Cooler's glad to hear that. Even though Goku brought shame upon his family, he at least appreciates Goku's ideology as a warrior. But that doesn't change the fact that he needs to die. Each of them assumes a battle stance and vanishes from sight as they start clashing midair. Watching from far away is Krillin, who's now with Piccolo and is finding Gohan. But that worries them. Goku should be stronger than anyone, and on top of that, Cooler's definitely more durable. They've seen the types of attacks that Frieza could survive. Cooler's not showcasing his full power. He might be stronger than Goku. Maybe not by a lot, but enough to make a difference. And as the fight goes on, this becomes more apparent. Krillin's able to find Gohan and gives him a Senzu, getting Gohan back to full health. The issue is he only had these 2, so they don't have any more, and Piccolo's in pretty bad shape, so he's not going to be fighting. Cooler is slowly starting to overcome Goku's power, and Gohan says he needs to help. Goku told Krillin to get Gohan to safety, but he's not going to stop Gohan here. Gohan's stronger than him and Piccolo. It's not like they could stop him anyways, and maybe it would benefit Goku for him to help. Gohan says he can fight for himself and defend himself after all. He powers back up into Super Saiyan. Goku continues to fend off Cooler, but is slowly losing ground. And then Cooler is hit by a surprise attack from Gohan. He grew stronger from healing as well. But on top of that, his power with Goku should be enough to turn the tide of the battle, and Goku's glad to see him join here. It's a shame he can't beat Cooler alone, but they need to beat him nonetheless, no matter what it takes. The father-son duo starts to fight together, with Cooler getting completely overwhelmed. He can't believe it. Had he known there were multiple Super Saiyans, he would have taken far more time to prepare. It's a good thing Vegeta's not here either. Cooler at least admires their teamwork though. Perhaps if he had fought alongside Frieza, he wouldn't go out like this. But he's not going to accept his death like this. With all of his might, Cooler charges a supernova, throwing it at the two Saiyans. But simultaneously, they launch a father-son Kamehameha, effortlessly knocking Cooler's blast back, hitting it right into him, as Cooler sent rocketing out into space, flying into the sun. And with this final attack, Goku and Gohan are victorious. Cooler's been defeated. Or so it seems. So, all of the upcoming movies are weird to fit in. Now, obviously this What If is about everything being canon, so you guys know that the Metal Cooler movie, the Android 13 movie, and the Broly movie are all going to happen, as well as plan to eradicate the Saiyans. This is where the timelines get really weird though. Metal Cooler happens after Dende becomes Guardian, and while Goku's still alive. So the only place that would fit in is during the 10 days before the Cell games, but Trunks isn't around in that movie and Gohan doesn't have Super Saiyan. Android 13 came out after the Metal Cooler film, but weirdly enough, it's stated to take place before Cell becomes perfect, though after Jiro's death, as well as 17 and 18 being activated and Goku recovering. This movie does not fit in the main timeline either. Broly also should occur during the 10-day wait too, as Trunks is present, Goku's alive, and Gohan has Super Saiyan. And then plan to eradicate the Saiyans happens after Broly, but it also should happen, you guessed it, during the 10 days before the Cell games. That seems like a really annoying 10 days, but anyways, as for Android 13, that seems to kind of happen in its own place, while the other 3 films happen between that 10-day wait. Of course, I know of the whole idea that these things take place in alternate timelines or whatever, which is why the contradictions exist, but we do want to piece everything together, so we need to figure out when these actually take place. Since I'm doing my own thing with the story and how everything fits in, I'm not strictly adhering to all that, I'm just explaining it to all of you so you know where they originally should fall. Just keep that in mind as we go forward with the next arc, because now we enter the Android and Cell saga, and it's going to be a really long arc. The time skip ends, Vegeta's back on Earth, and the androids arrive. At least, androids 19 and 20. Now thankfully, everything right now goes pretty much the same. Goku will still succumb to the heart virus, the encounter with Jiro in 19 goes normal, and then eventually Jiro escapes, activating 17 and 18, who then kill him and activate Android 16. A ton of other things did change beforehand, but right now, the only big change here is that Gohan has Super Saiyan already. None of the other movies have majorly affected how this would start. Trunks is surprised to see that the androids are stronger than his timeline, pretty much like normal. What they don't realize is that all hell is about to break loose. Dr. Gero has 2 other projects in store. It looks like he had a lot of backup plans, but they don't even know about it. So what has Dr. Gero been doing? With all these other movies going on, surely he has more data, and yeah, that's exactly what happened. So originally, Gero stops collecting data after the Saiyan saga, at least for the main androids, so the only extra thing he has data on is Garlic Jr. But that's for him personally. And he probably doesn't have data on Turles, but since he was on Earth at the time and saw the planet basically dying, I'm sure he'd at least know something went on there, even if he didn't get great data from it. But as for his supercomputer, that was collecting a lot more data. The supercomputer has data from all the other fights. Turles, Wheelo, the other Garlic Jr. fight, Slug, Mecha Frieza and King Cold, and of course Cooler. It collected DNA from all those fights, but the supercomputer isn't just working on Cell. Bulma locates a decrepit time machine. They're not sure what it is, but Kami has sensed some monster lurking about for a while, and he also merges with Piccolo at this time. Piccolo's gonna encounter whatever Kami sensed. The supercomputer has just completed its first project, unbeknownst to everyone. 16, 17, and 18 may have been failures in Jiro's eyes, but it looks like the stars aligned for Jiro. Piccolo first encounters Cell, and he's still stronger than him, and it causes Cell to run away, but something's really terrifying about him. Of course, he's terrifying as is, but he's got way more DNA than he should. Now, just because he has all the extra DNA doesn't mean he's going to be incredibly stronger. Probably a bit stronger, but not enough where he'd beat Piccolo. But Piccolo could feel the ki of so many others. That's because he has a few extra components. Garlic Jr.'s DNA, Turles' DNA, Lord Slug's DNA, and Cooler's DNA. Piccolo could sense the ki from all of these people, but there's also somebody else in there. On top of the other allies he could sense, he feels Gohan's ki too. And honestly, Gohan's probably the biggest addition here due to his potential. DNA was collected from Gohan because he became a Super Saiyan so early, so obviously that's a great opportunity. Add that on top of the fact that he has the DNA of Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Frieza, and King Cold. Dr. Wheelo didn't have any useful DNA to obtain, but Cell also notes that Jiro's drones found his old lab and stole all the data from that, so the knowledge of Cochin and Wheelo are part of him as well. Not that it really amounts to much though, thanks to Jiro. This Cell has way more variety in his techniques, and much more knowledge. He ends up escaping from Piccolo, but at least they now know about him and that he's going to absorb the other androids. Trunks and Krillin go back to Jiro's lab, trying to find the basement where Present Cell is. They need to at least destroy him, and while they're at it, maybe they could find some blueprints to see if they could do anything about the other androids. But as they get closer to the lab, they see 3 figures moving. Instantly, they're pretty terrified, and they hide, completely hiding their key. They hope whoever those 3 people are don't notice them. And it's a little far away so they can't see, but the 3 figures don't really look too human. Now, one of them actually does look like a regular human. The other 2 definitely not. But even with how far away they are, they could still make out something on their clothing. A distinct, red-shaped ribbon. It couldn't be. 3 more androids? That makes no sense to Trunks. There's only 2 androids in his future. It's already weird enough that they had 19 and 20, as well as Android 16 here, but who are these 3? Their worst fears are realized. Androids 13, 14, and 15 are complete. Meaning, there are currently 7 androids on the loose. Did Trunks cause this by time traveling? The other 3 androids leave, and Krillin and Trunks swoop in, quickly going to the lab, trying to find anything they can. They find the supercomputer that created these 3 androids, and it looks to be working on Cell as well. They destroy Cell, and find blueprints for the other androids. But they can't find any on those 3 because they were made by the supercomputer. There was no blueprints to begin with. That was all made automatically. But they know the names of them. That's really it, though. So are all 7 of these androids allies? Are they going to be working against each other in factions? Is one going to try and overpower them all? They have no clue. And as the androids go around Earth, there is one more mechanical menace in development. Cooler's remains float through space. He was almost completely destroyed, but there's pieces of him left. And those chunks of Cooler come into contact with something strange. And no lie, this arc kind of scares me the most because this is going to be the most brain-dead, hectic story I'm ever going to write, because there's going to be so much going on at once. Like, of course, I'm going to try to fit everything together, but my god, dude, there's so much to fit. 13, 14, and 15 know the other androids and Cell are active. Meanwhile, 16, 17, and 18 and Cell don't know about 13, 14, and 15. All 7 androids obviously want to go after Goku, but Cell also has the primary targets of 17 and 18 first. Thing is, Goku has already been recovered and is on the lookout. Training in the time chamber begins with Vegeta and Trunks going in first. Piccolo considers going to fight 17 and 18 right now, but knowing about the other androids, thanks to Trunks and Krillin telling them, they stay up here. It's a little bit too dangerous down there because they don't know what they're going to encounter. Now, before destroying the lab completely, they did get some blueprints, so Bulma's working on a self-destruct remote for 17 and 18, but it's not like she could really find out anything else about the other androids. They're not sure if Cell could absorb 13, 14, or 15 to make up for 17 and 18. Of course, they're fully mechanical, so he can't absorb them just like Android 16, but they don't know this. The android groups have different ways that they're going about things. Cell, of course, is laying low. 13, 14, and 15 start terrorizing cities, while 17 and 18 just go around robbing stores, basically. Not killing anyone, just causing some mischief. But the 2 groups happen to come across each other. While 18's busy robbing a store of all its clothes, 17 hears some explosions outside, so 16 goes to check, and that's where they see 3 other androids. 14 notices 16, and the other 2 are pretty surprised. Of course, they know of the other androids. They're all from the same place. Everyone was made in Jiro's lab. Now, 16 doesn't see this as an immediate threat because his only target is Goku, and these are technically allies if anything. They're Red Ribbon androids. But 17's a little bit wary about this. He doesn't like Jiro in the first place. After all, he was the one to kill Jiro personally. The newer 3 androids have obedience problems. They weren't fully loyal to Jiro. Android 13, on the other hand, is fully focused on fulfilling Jiro's programming, even if it means betraying supposed allies. Since 13's the first project out of all the androids here, he considers himself their elder. Now, unfortunately, the supercomputer has been destroyed, but it did gather enough data to know that 17 and 18 were responsible for killing Jiro. So while 17 and 18 are already on guard, 13 on the other hand finds them rude by default and thinks that they're enemies. He says they're clearly not going to get along, so why not just settle this now? 17 confidently accepts this. A 2v3 ensues. 16's only programmed to fight Goku, but eventually he decides to help out his 2 other allies. Now all 6 androids here should have infinite stamina. We know for a fact 16 through 18 have it, while 13 through 15 are a little bit more iffy, but some guides and promo materials say that they have it, so we're going to assume they do. And of course everybody else is watching from the lookout. It's pretty insane to see because they didn't expect a 3v3 android battle. They wonder where Cell is though. Piccolo's observing closely, trying to see if he could find him. As the fight begins, it's clear that 13 seems to be pretty powerful, but maybe they shouldn't have been so worried because the newer androids seem to be stronger. Especially without the help of the supercomputer, 13 and his group are going to be lacking. 16 is the most powerful of the androids, not just in his group but even over Android 13. And even 17 and 18 should be stronger than him too. 14 and 15 also fall pretty far behind. 17 effortlessly kills Android 14, and 18 kills Android 15. Android 16 then steps back. His help isn't really needed here. 13 is angered, but he doesn't back down. As 17 and 18 approach him, ready to finally kill him, he then smirks. The parts of androids 14 and 15 then float towards him. Unlike these two androids, he's got a really good trick up his sleeve, even if it means using the carcasses of his allies. 16 tells them to get back. Something's wrong. Android 13 then starts transforming, becoming Super Android 13. And now the tide of the battle completely turns. Android 16 then goes after him, but 13 effortlessly defeats him. And while the androids aren't producing any actual ki, they are making a pretty big racket, so Cell's able to eventually find them. He's watching from nearby, a little bit surprised to see another android here because he didn't know about Android 13. It looks like another unintended side effect of time traveling. But he might actually have to intervene soon because if Android 13 destroys either of the other two androids, Cell can't attain perfection. Meanwhile, those on the lookout are also thinking of intervening because they notice that Cell's nearby. They could risk it and wait for 13 to kill 17 or 18, which at this rate seems very likely, but they don't know if he's going to fully destroy them or not. And since Cell's nearby, once he strikes and absorbs either of them, they're screwed. Goku reluctantly decides that they should go down there. With the combined power of him and Piccolo, and even Gohan alongside them, they have a few options that might be able to hold off the other androids, or at the very least, kill 17 or 18. Their biggest objective is getting Cell away from those other two. If they could somehow get 13 and Cell to fight, then that's going to be even better. Piccolo says this is really risky, but they don't really have another choice. Gohan and Piccolo grab onto Goku, as he then teleports down to the surface, using Cell's key signature to actually teleport. Cell of course is caught by surprise, especially seeing Goku right there and facing Piccolo again. He's grown stronger though thanks to absorbing more people, so maybe he could take them on, but with 3 of them together, he's not so sure. They give him no time to think. The 3 of them immediately jump Cell, trying their best to kill him. Piccolo then yells out to 17 and 18. He tells them to get out of here. There's another android that's lurking, and he's trying to absorb them. They're a bit confused, especially because these people are their enemies. But after seeing Android 13 absorb 2 other androids, it's not really too outlandish to think of. And then they see that Goku, Piccolo, and Gohan are fighting some green guy together. 16's pretty lost too, but 13 actually does know about Cell because the supercomputer was able to keep up with everything happening up until the point where Trunks and Krillin destroyed it. So they know who Cell is, and that Cell is here. Plus, it's a fellow project of Jiro's, of course he knows about it. 13 didn't exist in Cell's timeline, but Cell existed in 13's timeline. And then something unexpected happens. 13 tells Cell he wants to help him. You know, he has the directive to kill Goku, but the two of them could temporarily team up here. He'll help Cell get the other 2 androids to absorb, and then together they can kill Goku. Now, Cell doesn't really want to team up with somebody else, and he doesn't even know if he could trust 13, but for the time being, he accepts it, because once he actually attains perfection, or at least semi-perfection, he'll be more than strong enough to kill 13. So Cell lets out a huge burst of ki, knocking back the 3 fighters around him. Android 13 then grabs onto Android 18, flinging her as far away as he can. This way the other fighters don't get their hands on her, and she and 16 won't intervene. And then he gets a hold of Android 17, grasping him with both his hands, holding him out for Cell to take. 16 and 18 are too injured to help, but Cell rushes over to get him, with Goku, Piccolo, and Gohan trying to get closer. Cell's actually faster than them, but Goku teleports right to Cell, trying to fight him one-on-one. But Piccolo yells out not to get too close because Cell could easily drain his energy or kill Goku. Cell then lunges his tail out at Goku, but Goku narrowly avoids it. Although, the tail wasn't aiming for Goku. It stretches out even further, and then grabs Android 17. Cell then quickly launches a blast at Goku to knock him away, as he then starts powering up, becoming semi-perfect. 13 then looks around for Android 18, but then somebody jumps onto him. As Cell's in the middle of transforming, 16 yells at 18 to get out of there, wrapping himself around Android 13, and then self-destructing. Goku quickly snatches up Gohan and Piccolo, realizing their plan didn't work here, but it was at least worth a shot. They teleport back up to the lookout, watching from above as Cell's transformation completes, then followed by Android 16 exploding, as the area around them gets glassed and leveled. Super 13 is actually injured by this explosion, but he could still fight. Cell also gets pretty injured from it too, but he regenerates pretty quickly and even grows from this. They just hope that Android 18 got out of there. It's a shame Goku can't just teleport to her and bring her up to the lookout because otherwise they would do that. He's mad their plan didn't work, but Piccolo tells him it was worth it. He has a feeling that Cell and 13 aren't actually going to team up. And if they didn't intervene, Cell would have definitely gotten the other 2 androids anyways because 13 wouldn't have completely destroyed them, especially because he actually knew about Cell. But Goku thinks it's kind of weird. They've been watching how the androids act, and Trunks described them as being ruthless in the future. But 17 and 18 don't seem that bad. Sure, they were going around destroying things and robbing stores, but they weren't outright killing people for no reason. 13's crew and Cell, on the other hand, killed people with no remorse. Hindsight is 20/20, but of course if they knew this, they would have tried to team up with 17 and 18, keeping them safe from the other androids. Both because they're not as bad, and they can't let Cell get them. 13 admires Cell's new form. It looks like the two of them are pretty similar, absorbing androids to get stronger. But he tells Cell not to get any crazy ideas. Cell can't absorb him, he's fully mechanical. Oh really? What a shame. But he's glad to have a new ally. After all, the two of them have the same objective: uphold Jiro's plans and kill Goku. At least, that's what Cell makes it seem like. Cell then asks 13 if he wants to test out his power. Cell loves fighting, and he doesn't know if 13 gets the same joy from it, but why not have a little sparring match? 13's a little confused, but he goes for it. He kinda bit off more than he could chew. Cell seems stronger than he realized, so he wants to keep them happy. The two of them fly up into the air, going out into space. 13 would have never expected to fight out here, but considering he's fully mechanical, it makes for a better locale. He could survive up here and so could Cell. From the lookout, nobody's too sure what's going on because they can only sense Cell and they're too far away to see. They can observe the surface from the lookout, but not space. 13 and Piccolo do have a brief fight, and Cell actually was looking to test out his power here, but he also had another objective. He was going to kill Android 13 regardless. The fight out in space doesn't really go on for too long. At first, it seems like 13 and Semi-Perfect Cell are evenly matched, but Semi-Perfect Cell then showcases his true power. 13 realizes how badly he screwed up. He was naive to think that Cell would team up with him, but Cell tells him not to worry too much about it. Even if he didn't team up with him, Cell would have found some way to absorb 17 and 18, and he still would have killed 13 regardless. This way, 13 at least gets to fight a little longer and go out with more dignity. From the lookout, they're looking up into space where Cell's fighting. They could just sense his power and that's it. And then, they see a massive explosion out in space, as Cell's power then returns to Earth. It looks like he won that battle. And now he's on the search for Android 18. He had to make that fight really quick because he didn't want 18 to get too far. Thankfully, around the same time, Vegeta and Trunks exit the time chamber, with Goku and Gohan going in next. Cell gets closer and closer to Android 18, as Trunks and Vegeta find him first. Now, it's pretty hard to find Android 18 without a key signature, but she couldn't have gotten that far. Plus, she's trying to lay low, and Cell tries to get her out the same way he did before, by blowing up islands individually. Though now he has to face Vegeta, and the outcome of this fight with Vegeta goes pretty much the same way it did normally. Vegeta fights him, gets a little bit too cocky, Trunks tries to intervene, and Cell appeals to Vegeta. Krillin gets nearby with the remote, and he tries to find Android 18 as well. Again, a lot of this scene actually goes pretty much similar to normal. 13 actually served as a really good distraction, and no one could find her that easily, so one thing about Goku intervening is that it makes it harder for Cell to find 18, but it doesn't really help too much because Cell eventually is the first one to spot her, even before Krillin could find her. Immediately, he goes to absorb Android 18, with Trunks trying to stop him and Vegeta stopping Trunks. Krillin notices at the last second, and reluctantly he presses the button on the remote. Cell's already midway through absorbing her, but then her bomb detonates. Cell explodes, as Android 18 explodes too. Krillin looks a bit surprised, and Trunks looks a bit relieved too, although Vegeta's skeptical. Krillin thinks he actually did it. He didn't think that bomb would actually kill Cell, but considering that Android 18 was pretty much a part of Cell at that point, the bomb exploded inside of him. But Krillin was too late. First of all, Cell could survive that explosion. He regenerates pretty quickly. He was blown to pieces, but not really small ones. He wasn't fully destroyed. As the parts of Cell reform, they then changed to something else. Now, perfect. Android 18's parts still became a part of him. Even though she blew up, the parts were already inside of Cell. She died for nothing. And Cell laughs at this. Vegeta, Trunks, and Krillin try and fight him now, but nothing works. And this eventually leads to Cell announcing the Cell Games. Meanwhile, Gohan and Goku train in the time chamber, growing even further. Now, Gohan already has Super Saiyan at this point in the story. He got it a lot earlier on, so he has a way bigger head start than normal. So it only takes a few months for them to master Super Saiyan, and a few months after that, Gohan gets something else. For the first time, he ascends Super Saiyan, going into what he calls Super Saiyan 2. This training is actually more beneficial for Goku too, because he doesn't have to spend time getting Gohan to unlock Super Saiyan in the first place. He's got a stronger training partner from the get-go, and they also get right down to business. They don't have to wait for Gohan to catch up. But then on top of that, Gohan ascending Super Saiyan makes him an even better training partner for Goku. Initially, the two of them only spent 9 months in the time chamber, but in this scenario they spend even less time in there. They only train for 6 months. They don't need to go any further. Goku says there's no point torturing themselves when they've already gotten great gains. And even though they've spent less time training, it's been more effective training. Goku's already mastered Super Saiyan, and he's at the point where he's supposed to be in terms of strength, maybe a little bit above that. Gohan, on the other hand, is stronger than normal, thanks to having Super Saiyan 2 earlier. Everyone's amazed to see Gohan's new power when they exit the time chamber, and Goku and Gohan learn of what happened, ready to battle at the Cell Games. It's great to hear that they have 10 days. Goku plans on using that time to rest. It should be a really peaceful time period, right? I mean, they've dealt with all the other androids, so who could they possibly fight in these 10 days? No one, right? Wrong. Goku's first order of business is to get a new guardian, so he teleports over to New Namek with some help from King Kai. And they're all really happy to see Goku, with Dende of course becoming Earth's new guardian. But just as Goku gets ready to leave with Dende, something really weird happens. The entirety of planet Namek starts shaking. Goku wonders what's going on, and he jumps up into the air. Floating above the surface, he can now see far over the horizon, and it looks like on the other side of the planet, there's a giant metallic mass that's attached to the planet. He's never seen anything like this. What he doesn't realize is that, commandeering that giant mass of metal, is the remains of Cooler. He could feel Goku's presence on the planet. Brilliant. What perfect timing. Unsure of what's about to happen, Goku first teleports Dende to Earth, and, just to keep everyone safe, all the Namekians around him teleport to Earth too. The lookout is pretty crowded right now, because it has all the people waiting for the Cell games, and now all the Namekians that Goku found. Of course, he couldn't get every Namekian off the planet, but this is enough. Dende starts work on a brand new Shenron, as Goku then asks everybody for help. He's not sure what's about to happen on Namek, but they need to help save the planet once again. Piccolo's now in the time chamber, and Vegeta and Trunks are about to go back in to try and surpass Goku, but they decide to join along with this. Gohan's actually the strongest of them right now, and they could use his help, but Trunks says it might be better if Gohan stays on this planet. Just in case Cell actually doesn't keep his word, they need someone really strong here to fight against him, and Gohan's their best bet. Even though Piccolo still is here, they're not sure how strong he'll be when he exits the time chamber. So, Gohan stays back, as Vegeta and Trunks join Goku to go to planet Namek, as the Big Getty Star and Metal Cooler await them. Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, and Krillin all go to Namek. The first thing they encounter is some weird metallic guards. They fight the robots, and it takes a little bit of effort to actually kill them, but eventually they succeed. But they also learn of the leader of the Cyclopean guards, Cooler, a name that's all too familiar to everyone there. The true threat shows himself. Metal Cooler appears. They can't believe he's still alive, but Cooler explains. He was defeated and pretty badly injured by Goku, but the Big Getty Star found him, and it allowed him to cheat death, and now he's back, better than ever. He's surprised to see Goku already in Super Saiyan. What, did the guards give him that much trouble? And Goku says that's not what happened. He's been in Super Saiyan this entire time. He's improved it completely. He could be in it without any effort at all. So, even if Cooler's stronger, it's not going to be a problem. Very well then. Metal Cooler beckons Goku as the two of them begin fighting. And it's a pretty short-lived battle. It's not exactly really easy for Goku because Cooler definitely has grown stronger, but it's not too much of an issue. It's enough that he could take it on alone, and it only takes a minute or so. Goku defeats the Metal Cooler, causing him to split up into pieces. But then, the pieces reconnect each other. They regenerate. The data from the Big Getty Star reaches him too. He's been improved further. Metal Cooler's ready to fight again, and he's better than before. He's adapted to this. He fights Goku again, and this time, the two of them are dead even, and Goku can't believe it. How'd he grow so strong just from being defeated? Once more, Goku is able to defeat him by pushing himself to his limits, but it's really tough this time. The same thing happens again. So, next, Trunks joins in with him, and the two of them completely destroy Metal Cooler together, making sure there's no pieces of him left to regenerate from. But it doesn't matter. Another Metal Cooler then appears, replacing the last one. This results in a 4v1. Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks all in Super Saiyan, with Krillin there too. They defeat the Metal Cooler once more and completely destroy him, getting rid of every little bit of him just to make sure that they don't forget anything. But still, another appears, and this one adapts further. He decides he needs a little bit more power, and he takes on a new form. Taking on a form that looks like Final Form Cooler, although, of course, it's fully made of metal this time. This guy really won't die, will he? The four of them take on Metal Final Form Cooler together, but it doesn't work. Well, maybe they need to go for whatever that big structure over there is. Clearly they won't win by just destroying him over and over again. But that's easier said than done, because over the horizon, they see a couple more Coolers appear, and then even more. There's an entire army of them. The Big Getty Star decided that they'd probably need about 1,000 Coolers for this. The Metal Coolers all laugh in unison, as the four of them desperately power up, trying to fight this army together. They realize that this is probably it for them. There's no way they could win here, but they're not going to die without a fight. They expend all of their energy, fighting as many of the Coolers as possible, but it's not enough. They're all captured and taken directly to the core of the Big Getty Star. Krillin's the first to awaken, looking around him, seeing that everyone is restrained by wires hung up in the middle of some weird structure. He tries making a Kienzan to cut the wires, but it doesn't work. When he tries to create it, his energy is just sapped, and then he feels even more of his energy drained. This also wakes up the others. Everyone's conscious. They come face to face with the Metal Cooler core. He's going to use them as living batteries, draining all their energy to empower himself even further. As he starts draining them, Vegeta decides that he's going to power up to his maximum just to try and escape. He then bulks up considerably, not just going into grade 2, but grade 3. And Trunks does the same, completely stressing themselves and pumping Cooler full of energy. This actually overloads him, and Vegeta kind of laughs at this. He didn't think that this bulky form would ever be useful in battle, but clearly it is here. The core is overloaded with Vegeta and Trunks escaping, and Goku powers up doing the same thing, and then he goes to free Krillin. Goku's pretty surprised too because he has that bulky form, but he never thought it would come in handy. The Metal Cooler core then takes on a battle form, ready to actually fight everyone here. And now the final battle commences. Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, and Krillin all power up to their maximum, fighting the core together. And here, they think they could actually win. This is different than all the Metal Cooler clones. This is the core of the entire thing. If they could destroy him, they win. They coalesce all of their power, and with a combined attack, they destroy the core. The entirety of the Big Getty Star collapses, and now, once more, Namek is safe. Back on Earth, Gohan encounters Tao just like he did in the filler and messes with him like normal. Not too much will change about that. Goku tries to teleport back to Earth, but it's pretty tough from here. He could go to King Kai, but Piccolo's probably still in the time chamber so he can't sense him, and Gohan's way too relaxed right now, so it's kind of hard to sense his ki. But as Goku's focusing, he does find another key signature on Earth that he could use. This is probably going to be the fastest way. Cell is waiting at the Cell Games arena, and then, out of nowhere, a beat-up Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, and Krillin all show up, teleporting in from Kami knows where. Cell's a bit confused as to why they're here, and it looks like they've been training. They look very worn out. What, are they stressing themselves preparing for the Cell Games? And Goku says no, that's not actually it. They just got out of a battle with someone. Wait, what? Who gave them that much trouble? Don't tell him it's another android. Well, not exactly, but Goku says that there was another mechanical threat. It was Cooler. He came back, and this time he was completely mechanical. He had a bunch of clones, and he tried to absorb all of Namek. Okay, Cell doesn't really understand that, and he didn't expect that to happen either, but he's more surprised that Cooler was still alive. Goku says he was too. He thought he completely destroyed him, but clearly not. And Goku says he teleported here just because Cell was the only key signature he could find, at least from that far out in space. But even though Gohan's power is pretty laid back right now, Cell can sense it, and he gets that Goku probably couldn't sense it from that far, but part of him thinks that Goku just wanted to teleport to Cell just to tell him what's been going on, and not because that was his only option. Well, Goku waves goodbye and says he'll see him later, teleporting the rest of them up to the lookout. Okay, well, he says he'll see them in a few days. And it hasn't been that long since he announced the Cell Games. It's barely been a day, and he's already pretty bored. A little bit jealous that they got to have some fun by fighting Cooler. He would have loved to do that, but he doesn't let it get to him. He waits here, not worried in the slightest. Surely there won't be any other big events before the Cell Games. Too bad he doesn't realize that this is the Broly episode. About 2 days later, everyone's relaxing. This is probably the best thing to do before the Cell Games. And then, a spaceship appears. Great. Another threat already? Well, it's not particularly a threat. At least, that's what it doesn't present itself as. A man steps off the ship. A Saiyan. Vegeta's astonished to see that there's another one out there. The man introduces himself as Paragus and explains the issue. Pretty much the same exact beginning to movie 8 like normal. Okay, wait a second. So, since we're making everything canon here, how am I going to implement 2 Brolys into the story? Well, I could have just done one and forgotten the other, but I don't like that idea. I could have made them twins. That kind of feels like an easy cop-out here. I want to keep them both separate and keep their unique traits. But they still have to coexist somehow, and I think I have a way. Anyways, the group goes to New Planet Vegeta. Everything with this movie starts out pretty much the same exact as normal. Broly is angered by seeing Kakarot because he's reminded by the day he was exiled, and Paragus has the same exact plan to kill everyone here. They realize something's kind of off with Broly, and eventually, it leads to a fight. As Broly fully powers up, revealing that the entire time, he was the legendary Super Saiyan. Now, the group is better equipped this time because they're basically fresh off of 2 other battles, the androids and Metal Cooler. But also, Gohan has Super Saiyan 2 already, so the group is a little stronger than normal, but that might not be enough to turn the tides. Because Broly is stupidly powerful. They didn't know a Saiyan's power could go this high, and that basically leaves Vegeta in the same position as normal, completely stunned by what he's seeing. He thinks it's hopeless. The legendary Super Saiyan's gonna kill them. But as Vegeta is left stunned, Vegeta asks Paragus who he really is and what his true plans are. Well, Paragus wanted them to die on this planet, and he didn't think Broly would become completely unrestrained, but he explains a little bit more. Following Broly's birth, King Vegeta was erratic. He already dealt with another strong Saiyan, having exiled him, and this time, he wanted to make sure Broly died. Paragus heard of that last Saiyan being exiled, and he tried to keep Broly's power under wraps, but it didn't work. Of course, with power like that, it's really hard to keep restrained. In the final days of his planet, King Vegeta grew ever more desperate. He's heard rumors about Frieza, spread by some low-class Saiyan who thought that Frieza was going to destroy the planet. And Vegeta kind of believed them because Frieza didn't like the Saiyans. That was really easy to tell. And he randomly gave out an order to have all the Saiyans come back to planet Vegeta at one point. Knowing that Frieza would be here eventually, King Vegeta didn't want to anger him at all. So, knowing about that other child, and after what happened with the last child, he didn't want any loose ends, and he wanted to walk on eggshells around Frieza. He stabbed Broly, and attempted to kill Paragus as well. But, just as planet Vegeta was destroyed, the 2 of them escaped. But Vegeta's kind of confused. What other Saiyan did his father send away? Paragus grins. They've been searching for so long. He's been looking for his relative, and his son, Broly. Wait, Broly? Why is he saying that like there's another one? Because there is. The Broly that they're currently fighting, he was born around the time of Planet Vegeta's destruction. Now, I know the Dragon Ball minus stuff kind of messes up Goku's birth timeline, but I've got a pretty easy fix. All we need to do is ignore the Dragon Ball minus birth date, which says Goku was born in age 734, but let's go with the original date of age 737. The same year Goku was born originally, and the same year that Broly's supposed to be born. And the Granola arc flashbacks don't really have specific time frames, so that doesn't mess up anything with Bardock's story in that part either. In worst case, the only thing we need to do to fix that is slightly move ahead the parts where Bardock fought Gas. In the grand scheme of the story, the birth dates aren't really a big deal, but I figured I'd explain that here because I know there would be that discrepancy if I didn't explain it. Anyways, in age 732, around the same time that Vegeta himself was born, there was another strong child born on planet Vegeta. The reason Paragus knows about this is because they're somewhat related. The other child's name is also Broly, and his father's name Aspar. Paragus and Aspar, who both are obviously named after asparagus, are somewhat distant cousins. Going back in their lineage is a common ancestor named Broly, who is revered in their family as a great warrior, hence why these two kids have the same name. This way, both of them can be named Broly. I feel that the two cousins would know each other, and I guess their sons would have last names that work in a Viking kind of way just to differentiate them. So Z Broly is Broly Paragus' son, and Super Broly is Broly Aspar's son. That way there's not going to be many major changes, all I had to do was change the name of Super Paragus. Anyways, that other Broly story went pretty much like normal. He got sent to planet Vampa by Vegeta. Paragus laughs. His cousin is out there somewhere. He hopes that Aspar is just as hard to kill as he is. No doubt he has the same ideas in mind, and maybe another legendary Super Saiyan along his side. He just hopes that that other Broly is tamed too. Everybody fights together against Broly. Vegeta eventually joins in too, and Gohan's already using Super Saiyan 2, but somehow this guy is far too strong. Even fighting everyone together, he's barely even breaking a sweat. He even kills Paragus at some point who tries to escape. And that's not the only relative he plans to kill. Broly's gonna find his other relatives. There can only be one devil like him. The other Broly will die by his hands. He says this laughing maniacally as he crushes Paragus' space pod. Broly continues facing the Z-Fighters with no issue. And even though Gohan shows some exceptional power and does push Broly a bit, Broly's able to defeat him too. At the end of the battle, Goku's barely able to stand. He thinks there's no way to win, but he'll make a way to win. Fueled purely by willpower, he demands more strength. He needs more. He tries fighting Broly and then his friends lend him power. But it's not enough. He demands even more. All the warriors on the planet lend their energy to Goku. He absorbs it right into him. Empowered, having strength way beyond normal. Even Broly's taken aback. For that brief moment, Broly feels a slight sense of fear as Kakarot fights back. And, as Goku charges this strength, he ascends beyond his normal limits. Not just in Super Saiyan. His aura gains sparks of electricity around it. His hair stands up more than normal. It's almost like Gohan's ascended Super Saiyan. For this brief period of time, Goku awakens Super Saiyan 2, punching clean through Broly, channeling all the energy that he's gathered into him. As Broly is defeated with everyone escaping the planet as it's completely destroyed. But this won't be the last they see of Broly. Back on Earth, Cell is waiting, and he could sense everything going on out in space. How could he not? I mean, look at how strong everyone there is. And he can't believe it. There was really another big battle. He's growing pretty impatient. And then everyone teleports back to the Cell games. And it's a bunch of people too, because everyone on the planet that's still around gets aboard a ship, and Goku teleports them all to Earth. Cell's even more surprised than last time because he has no clue what this is. Who could they have possibly fought out there? Well, Goku thanks Cell for acting as a beacon again, even though he really had no choice in the matter. But Goku explains that he fought another Saiyan. This guy was the legendary Super Saiyan, which he has no clue what that is, but apparently it's stronger than a regular Super Saiyan. So that was the power of that guy he was sensing. Cell was pretty intrigued by it. He almost went out there to fight himself, but he doesn't know instant transmission just yet. After seeing Goku use it a few times, maybe he can copy it, but he would have loved to fight whoever that guy is because it seems like they had a lot of fun. Cell once again says that he'll see them in a few days as Goku teleports away. And now Cell's a little bit curious. How strong are the Z-Fighters right now? Because he's a little bit worried. Maybe he will be defeated by them. But he's going to stick to his word and have the Cell games on the same day that he said. But surely there isn't anything else that'll happen in the meantime, right? That has to have been the last fight. Well, no it isn't. Yep, the Cell saga still isn't done yet. The Cell games are still a few days away, but we have more to cover. Only 3 days remain until the Cell games. Cell patiently awaits in the arena, fighting off random troops from the Earth's military, and that's pretty much it. But one day, he sees someone floating above the arena. As he focuses, he recognizes who it is. The man descends from the sky. It's Android 13? But how is he back? Cell thinks he's seeing a ghost, and, in a way, he is. Long ago, a tough scientist survived extinction. He's been working since then to get his revenge on the Saiyans. And now, with devices planted on Earth, he has a plan. This man's name is Dr. Lychee, and his plan to eradicate the Saiyans is now in motion. Yes, plan to eradicate the Saiyans also happened during these 10 days here. It doesn't take too long before he's found out though. Our group of heroes finds out about the plan to use the Destron gas to destroy all life on Earth, and all they need to do is go destroy the machines. Simple enough. They just have to fight whoever's protecting them. And they seem to be pretty weak warriors, at least at first. They destroy most of the machines, but once they get to the final ones, a few other warriors show up to attack. And these ones look very familiar. These aren't just random soldiers that Dr. Lychee has. Dr. Wheelo, although not in Turles' body. Then the actual Turles, Lord Slug, Frieza, and Cooler, in his regular form, not Metal Cooler. They're glad Broly didn't show up. It's only been a few days after all. So whoever's doing this surely didn't have the time. But it also seems like these are just dead villains because Garlic Jr. isn't here. And little do they know that another reason Broly's not here is because he's not actually dead. Spoiler alert, but you probably knew that Broly was going to survive this. These are all people who have hatred against the Saiyans. Wheelo's there for the same reason Turles and Slug are there, while Frieza and Cooler are pretty obvious because they just hate the Saiyans. As they continue fighting these warriors, they just keep regenerating, and nobody knows why. King Kai's eventually able to chime in and help. Apparently these warriors will be defeated once the Destron gas machines are destroyed, or they could be put down if their regeneration is completely overcome, specifically by killing them the same way they originally died, which isn't too hard to do. Wheelo, Turles, Slug, and Cooler are eliminated. As Trunks then faces Frieza, Goku teleports away, over to where Cell is. He can sense Cell fighting and assumes that there's another villain fighting him, and there is. It's Android 13 with 14 and 15 also there. You might think that they can't be revived because they're completely artificial life forms, but Android 13 actually did show up as a Ghost Warrior in Dragon Ball Heroes, so apparently it's possible. Anyways, they do of course have hatred towards Goku, but these three specifically also have hatred towards Cell for what he did. And, in a way, Cell is partially a Saiyan, so this fuels Dr. Lychee's hatred towards the Saiyans too. They're gonna kill Cell first, then go after the other Saiyans, and then Goku explains how to defeat them. Thing is, he killed Android 13, 14, and 15 altogether, and right now they're separate, but Cell doesn't really question this. He's a little bit confused as to what's going on because they keep regenerating, but if this is what Goku says, he'll do it. It's not too big of a challenge. Cell destroys 14 and 15, and then 13 transforms into Super 13. Perfect. Cell then grabs him, dragging him out into space, and having the same fight that he had before, although this time 13 seems a little stronger. Not too big of an issue though, because Cell is a lot stronger too. Goku watches from the surface of the planet as Cell destroys Android 13 again. And he descends back down, cracking his neck and saying that was a pretty fun workout. So, what actually was that? Goku begins to explain what's going on, and honestly, he's not too sure himself, but King Kai's helping them out. And it looks like they've been able to locate the Dark Planet. They'll get more answers once they go there and encounter whoever this originated from. Cell is pretty annoyed with all this though. Really? More people are attacking Earth? He wants to kill everyone here. Who do these villains think they are? Cell says Goku's not leaving him behind this time. I'll join you on this journey. What? Really? Cell is bored waiting here while they go into these fights. This should be a lot of fun for me. A good opportunity to flex my perfection. Goku says they can't really trust Cell just yet, and Cell says he's kept his word about the Cell games, and if they need to fight him, what's the harm? They're gonna fight him anyways. Not to mention, wouldn't this be a better way to encounter Cell too? Like if Cell actually did end up betraying them or anything, they could all fight him together at once instead of 1v1s like a tournament setting. Goku has nothing to lose. And he thinks about it for a second. Yeah, Cell is actually kinda right here. So he places a hand on Cell's shoulder and teleports back to everyone. Immediately they're on guard, terrified to see that Cell's with them, and they're wondering why Goku brought him, but Goku explains. They're reluctant, but Cell is right, they have nothing to lose. And he seems pretty genuine about wanting to fight whoever this villain is because they know Cell loves a good fight. Trunks isn't really fond of the idea though, but this is a more pressing matter. Try anything stupid and you're dead. No need to worry, Trunks. For today, you're not my enemy. They all go to the Dark Planet and locate Dr. Lychee. He goes on his monologue explaining who he is and his plan. Glad to see a bunch of Super Saiyans here, the same people he wants to kill. His machine Hachiyak has been absorbing all the hate, using that to grow and create strong fighters. And as he's explaining all this, Cell lifts up a hand, launching a blast at Lychee and eradicating him. Lychee then revives, also being revealed to be a Ghost Warrior. Enough of this! Vegeta launches his own blast, completely overcoming Lychee's regeneration and killing the Doctor. And this does have a side effect, awakening Hachiyak, causing him to become autonomous as he goes after the rest of the group. This is insane. They've never seen something with such power. Even Cell's taken aback. Goku's worried. This guy might even be tougher than Broly. And Cell's a little bit bummed out to not be compared to this guy. Was that Broly warrior truly that much of a threat? Hachiyak starts fighting everyone, and Gohan obviously has Super Saiyan 2 here, and Goku even taps into it once more, even though he only just got it a few days ago. Plus they have Cell at their side, so this group is a lot stronger than normal, but Hachiyak is still too tough to fight. Mainly because they don't know his weakness right away. Cell even tries to use this as an opportunity to showcase his power, and this is the first time they see Cell going all out, which is good. They let him do that for a bit just to gauge his power. and they see him pulling out a bunch of techniques from all the other people they fought. Like, they see him launch Turles' Kill Driver, or the Darkness Twin Star from Lord Slug. Hachiyak even launches one of his blasts at Cell at one point, and on a whim, he tries something out. He opens the dead zone in front of him, catching the beam as it flies through it. Garlic Jr. still is alive in there, and he's not expecting this. He's pretty terrified when he sees the dead zone open for a brief moment, only for a huge blast to fly through, and then the dead zone closes right after. And the blast hits him too, completely destroying him only for him to be regenerated again, realizing that the dead zone's closed and he's still trapped in here. Someone's messing around with him. He could have used that as a chance to escape. Oh yeah, they forgot Cell had all the abilities of those other people too. Thankfully, the immortality of Garlic Jr. isn't genetic, otherwise Cell would be a much bigger issue. And Hachiyak is the bigger issue at the moment if anything. He's too much to fight. But Goku eventually discovers his weakness. If they wait 15 seconds, when he attacks, they could then strike back. That's when he's defenseless and when they have an opening to kill him. Cell says he's going to try and buy them some time. Hachiyak is about to launch another blast, so he then goes in to fight him. An artificial lifeform made for revenge. Hachiak's just a cheap copy of him. Then, he faces the full brunt of one of his blasts, and he doesn't dodge it, but Cell isn't concerned. He smirks as the blast engulfs him, and it looks like he's pretty much destroyed. There's a few small bits of Cell left, but about 99% of him's gone. But that did give everyone else an opening, letting them to take up a formation and start charging their own attacks. But did Cell really just die like that? Anyways, they count down from 15 and get ready to launch their own counterattacks. Another fighter materializes next to them. It's Cell, a little bit stronger than before, and he says he's not going to go down that easily. He wasn't fully destroyed, and he gives thanks to Piccolo for his regeneration. They all fire, with Cell even joining too. Hachiyak launches his own blast as theirs clashes with it. But with the overwhelming power that they have all together, it completely engulfs his blast, destroying Dr. Lychee's greatest project, and causing the planet to explode around them too. Goku's able to grab on Gohan, Trunks, and Vegeta, and he tries to get Piccolo, but then Cell yells out for them to go ahead. Goku teleports back with the people he grabbed, and then Cell appears on the planet too, alongside Piccolo. Piccolo's pretty confused because did Cell just use instant transmission? Well, yeah. After seeing Goku use it so much, he'd figured out how to copy it for himself. Piccolo should be thankful that Cell saved him. He could have just left him there. So, it looks like that's that. Cell still plans to kill them though. He reminds them, he's not an ally, so don't get the wrong idea. The Cell games are only 3 days away, and he still expects to see them there when that happens. He returns to his arena, stronger than before, also knowing the rest of the group is stronger than before too. Vegeta just thinks this whole thing is weird, and Trunks is mainly surprised Cell kept his word, and even saved Piccolo in the process. Piccolo kinda hates the whole idea. Even though the planet exploded right between them, they all know Goku could have easily teleported to get him, and he planned to do that. Cell saving him wasn't necessary. He just did it to annoy them, didn't he? So you might think that since Goku and everyone defeated all these villains, they're stronger than Cell by this point, and yeah, in a way they are, because the way these stories went, at least in this scenario, they did grow stronger. Particularly Goku and Gohan, because they never had Super Saiyan 2 throughout these stories. Gohan got it earlier on before these even took place, and Goku got it against Broly, now able to use it whenever he wants. Weirdly enough, in Toei's messed up version of the story, all of this actually did happen before Cell, so yes, these fighters got stronger just somehow. I don't know how, but they did. And then somehow Cell is much stronger than everyone here pretty much. So it's all really weird when you think about it. But of course we're doing our own thing here too, so I'm trying to make the power scaling make more sense. And I'm still able to make Cell stronger than them by doing this. First of all, Cell does have the different DNA in him, which does make him marginally stronger. But the main thing is, after taking place in the fight with Hachiyak, he did gain some experience there, plus he got a nice little boost in power when Hachiyak basically destroyed part of him. When he got hit by that attack, it was stronger than that instant transmission Kamehameha he got, but not as strong as a boost he got when he blew himself up. Still though, that's kind of what I'm using to account for this power increase here. But also, what's going to happen with Cell here? Now, I was really debating how Cell would take a part in the story, because we could go ahead with the Cell games. But Cell had a completely different experience here too, and he's starting to see that there's a lot more strong warriors out there than he knew about before. Of course, all these other people have been defeated, but Cell now knows that it's not just on Earth that these people exist. Like, he knew about Namekians and Frieza's clan, of course, but it looks like they continuously get surprised with all these new fighters, and Cell saw the strength of everyone else around him. If they all teamed up, they could probably beat him, even with his new power boost. Individually, he should be fine, especially with that boost, but he wants to grow more. Maybe he shouldn't do the Cell games right now. Not to mention, after asking Goku about that Broly guy, he learned that there's actually another Broly out there too, so that interests him. So, the Cell games arrive, and when everyone gets to the arena, they see Mr. Satan waiting there. But otherwise it's empty. Cell's gone. Goku's not too surprised, but he wonders where he went. And more importantly, when is he going to return? Surely the Cell games will happen eventually, and Cell does have that as a plan. Now, he doesn't want to go against his word and cancel the Cell games. He's just postponing them, indefinitely. Either way, they're going to see him at some point. And don't get the wrong idea. Cell's not a good guy right now. He teamed up with them for one fight, and he's just kind of postponing things while he figures out what he wants to do. But there is another tournament starting soon, especially because Mr. Satan didn't get his time to shine here at the Cell games. He's really excited about the Intergalactic tournament, and he invites everyone here to join it. So this tournament begins, and it's a pretty fun spectacle. It allows the fighters to test their power, and even Trunks gets to join in before returning home. And the tournament concludes. There's no one that crashes it. Bojack should be popping up here, but he doesn't. Whoa, wait a second. I'm supposed to include everything in the story, right? And yeah, I'm not saying Bojack's not part of the story, it's just that he's not going to be freed right now. Yes, he does exist here, and he might show up eventually, but him being freed from his seal required King Kai to die, and King Kai didn't die here. He's very alive. And honestly, even if I had the Cell games happen at the same time they did, I also think it would have been easier to stop Cell, and King Kai's planet wouldn't have blown up in the first place, so either way, I wasn't going to include Bojack right now. Though, with the threat of Cell still out there, as well as some other fighters, who knows what's next, and Bojack definitely will show up at some point. There is one more villain that'll show up during this time frame, and he's not really one that does too much. A fighter has been watching from afar. Over the past few days, he sensed a bunch of battles going on, and it seems like all of them involve the Z fighters. Really, he's most interested in fighting whoever the strongest person on Earth is, and he's not quite sure which of the fighters it is. But after the Hachiyak fight, he notices someone leaving Earth, someone with a really high power. As Cell ventures out into space, he encounters Majin Ozado. Who the hell is this guy? He just showed up out of nowhere. Well, he tells Cell that he's basically just looking for the strongest person he could face. Oh, seems like the two of them are similar. Well, Cell wasn't expecting to get a really strong fight this soon. But sure, why not? He'd like to test his strength more. He didn't really get to fight much these past few days. Goku and all of his friends stole all the glory. Cell's not going to tell them about this. He's just going to have this fight to himself. Majin Ozado turns out to actually be pretty strong, but while he does give Cell a good challenge, it's not going to be enough to actually defeat him here. Cell, having obtained his super perfect form, is more than strong enough to win this battle, finishing him off with a final flash. The battle, of course, could be sensed from Earth. Goku wonders who Cell encountered out there that's that strong. Either way, it looks like Cell's already having a fun time. Trunks feels this too. He can't let Cell grow that strong in his timeline. Thankfully, it shouldn't be too hard to stop him preemptively, as well as the other androids. But there's also all the other potential threats he'll face. Is Broly going to show up in his timeline? Hachiyak? Who else could potentially appear? Either way, he's prepared. And after a hectic few weeks here, Trunks finally returns home, a lot stronger than before, defeating all the androids and saving his timeline. But what's going to happen next in the main timeline, especially because Goku actually survived all of this, and we have some more villains showing up soon. There's some years of peace following the Cell saga, thankfully, because there was just a bunch of stuff back to back, and Goten is born during this time too. And in case it wasn't clear before, Trunks was already born in this timeline as well. Gohan ends up going back to school, but he does keep up with his training because Goku's alive. It's a little bit tough to balance his schedule out, but I think he'd figure out a way. He also still ends up meeting Videl and becoming the Great Saiyaman. Her dad is still recognized as a hero, so she becomes a hero as well. Even though nobody actually saw Mr. Satan kill Cell, he kind of framed it as such. Cell left pretty much right after Mr. Satan showed up, so he basically said that he scared the guy off. And for the time being, things are pretty laid back. But one day, Goten and Trunks go searching for the Dragon Balls alongside Videl. Amidst their search, they end up in a village and they learn of some monster that's lurking nearby, and they accidentally end up awakening it. And this monster isn't what they expect. It's a person, a Saiyan. It's Broly. Obviously, none of these three know who Broly is, so Goten and Trunks briefly fight him, but Broly proves to be too much. Thankfully, help is on the way. Gohan shows up first. And thanks to his extra training, he's determined to beat Broly. He feels like he's strong enough for this, but he's not entirely sure because of how strong Broly was last time. Gohan goes Super Saiyan 2, and then Broly ends up transforming into the legendary Super Saiyan. And Gohan's doing pretty well, but Broly is stronger than he expected. He's really surprised, because Gohan's grown a bunch during this time, but somehow, someway, Broly is keeping up. But they're about dead even right now, and Gohan thinks he could handle this. In worst case, he's not the only fighter here. But then something strange happens. Broly's power spikes. At first, Gohan assumes that maybe he's gone Super Saiyan 2 or something, or at least the legendary equivalent of that, but no, he didn't transform. He powers up, and then Gohan notices something on his forehead glowing. And as the glow fades, a small mark is left behind. The letter M appears on his forehead. Gohan's completely lost, but all he knows is that Broly has now grown a lot stronger. Currently, Goku is on King Kai's planet training, although of course he would sense this. And King Kai's freaking out because Broly's back. They thought he was dead, but Goku says he'll handle it. He teleports to Earth, grabs Vegeta, and teleports both of them to Gohan. Vegeta can't believe this guy is still alive and somehow on Earth. Like, really, what are the odds of them defeating Broly and then he's launched out into space and ends up on Earth frozen in ice for a few years? Isn't that kind of ridiculous? But what happened to him? Why is he stronger? Vegeta says it's because he's the legendary Super Saiyan, but Gohan points out what's on his forehead. He has that weird mark on it, and nobody could tell what that means, but King Kai's watching over, and when he hears of it, he immediately contacts the Supreme Kai. Normally he wouldn't just casually contact him, but this is dire. Goku and Vegeta turn Super Saiyan 2, but even with 3 Super Saiyan 2s together, it's not enough. Vegeta's mostly been training on Earth, and Goku has gone back and forth between Otherworld. Now, he's not in Otherworld 24/7, but he's training with King Kai, which really helps, and, more importantly, training with some of the dead warriors there. Like, there's one guy named Pycon that he met, and he's also met some other people that have taught him different techniques. But Goku does have one trick up his sleeve. It's something that doesn't really work too well. He only just recently unlocked this. He transforms once more, showcasing a form beyond Super Saiyan 2. This is what he calls Super Saiyan 3, and Broly beckons him to fight. Goku tries to take on Broly with Super Saiyan 3, but even this isn't enough right now. But it does turn the tide of the battle at least. The biggest issue is Super Saiyan 3 is draining Goku constantly. But if they can combine their power into one attack, it might actually be enough to overcome Broly. Broly then jumps up high into the air, launching an attack down at them. Goku says now's their chance. He stays in Super Saiyan 3, charging a Kamehameha. Gohan and Goten join alongside him, with Trunks and Vegeta joining in, charging a final flash. They each launch a beam, and the 5 of them swirl together. At first, Broly's attack is just held back by Goku, but once everyone grants their power to it, the beam struggle is now in their favor. They start pushing Broly's attack back, and he's completely overwhelmed. He's hit directly by the blast and launched out into space, sent flying across the galaxy. He's not launched into the sun though, and thanks to the strength he's gained recently, including the strength he got from the Majin boost, he's badly injured but still alive. Floating out in space, light years upon light years away from where he was just moments ago. He's not done yet. He then starts flying throughout space back towards Earth, powering up as he does so, and from Earth, they sense him coming back. They're ready to counter with one more attack, but as Goku's trying to focus in on it, he then notices something weird. 2 other powers appear in front of Broly in space, and he starts fighting them. Broly doesn't question it. When 2 people get in his way, he immediately starts attacking them. One of them isn't as strong, and when Broly blasts him, he's completely disintegrated, but he regenerates. And then the other one, it's the same thing, although for a different reason. They introduce themselves, Garlic Jr. and Cell. Cell's glad that he could finally test out his power against Broly. Broly's strength right now actually isn't enough to completely destroy him. He was just injured by his attack and regenerated. Meanwhile, Garlic Jr. definitely can't keep up, but his immortality lets him live. The 2 then fight Broly together, and Cell's power alone overwhelms Broly, although it is partially due to Broly's injuries. And Cell makes sure to finish it off, launching a solar Kamehameha that completely destroys every bit of Broly. And back on Earth, everyone is just astounded. Goku was sensing the whole thing, and he could tell that was Cell out there. And he's a little bit confused because the other power feels familiar. Garlic Jr.? Gohan and Vegeta remember his key signature more clearly because it hasn't been as long for them. For Goku, it's been a while since he fought Garlic. Cell then starts talking to Goku into his head. He explains that he went out into space to train, but then he realized that someone was lurking in the dead zone. He always thought it was cool that he could open a portal and just absorb attacks that way, but he completely forgot that Garlic Jr. was in there. So Cell went into there, and he realized that Garlic Jr. was an immortal punching bag. Garlic was terrified at first because Cell just started beating him up out of nowhere essentially. But Garlic started growing from this too. He's been using his immortality to train, and the 2 of them have been working together. They're allies. Garlic isn't really too fond of Cell because of how they met, but they're growing stronger at least, and Cell did free him from the dead zone. Plus, Cell is partially Garlic Jr., so that at least makes him like him more. Garlic says he'll see them all soon, but Cell then reminds Garlic that Goku is his to kill. Goku smirks. He'll be waiting. And Vegeta can't believe he's being so casual about it, but he looks forward to fighting them as well. At least they're not like Broly where they're completely insane, and they're not as terrifying. With that threat defeated, it looks like their work is done here. But then, somebody else teleports in. An unfamiliar face, introducing himself as the Supreme Kai, Shin, alongside Kibito. Goku's a bit taken aback by first because that means this guy should be above King Kai. He's heard about him. Why is he here? Because of Broly? And Shin says it's not because of that, though it's good that they dealt with him again. He says there's a bigger issue at hand, and it's a good thing King Kai alerted him, but he fears it already might be too late. He didn't expect anything right now though, but Broly just hastened this. What is he talking about? They then all sense a horrifying presence. Majin Buu has been awakened. Babidi has been on Earth for a little bit here. He was expecting to use the tournament as a good way to get some power, but when Broly showed up, he decided that was the perfect opportunity. And thanks to Broly's evil nature, it was pretty easy to give him the Majin spell. Now, he wasn't controlling Broly. Broly was completely unrestrained by him. It didn't matter though. The only thing that mattered is that Babidi gained a bunch of power from this. more than enough to awaken Majin Buu. It was the perfect opportunity for him. Things went so well, and the group is completely unprepared because even Shin and Kibito didn't know about this just yet. They then all go over to where they could sense Buu's presence, and there they see Babidi waiting with his minions, and Dabra who's currently fighting Buu, because he's pretty concerned about how reckless this guy could be. And they're pretty stunned because even though they don't fight Dabra, they could sense his power and he feels pretty strong, and Buu just easily decimates him. Vegeta tells Kakarot he hopes that Super Saiyan 3 thing still comes in handy, but Goku mentions the downsides to it. He's not going to be able to use it too much. Great. And Goku wonders where the other fighters are. They could probably get Piccolo, Krillin, Tien, all those other people to help them. And I didn't mention this in the last video, but Android 17 and 18 are actually alive and on Earth. There's a very simple explanation for this. Even though Cell never really died, remember how I mentioned he nearly got killed by Hachiyak? And even though Hachiyak didn't do as much damage to him as Cell's self-destruction did, I feel that would be enough to cause Android 17 and 18 to still die, and that's how Cell came back super perfect. So they were a part of him, but they couldn't handle all of that, so when he got destroyed, they got destroyed. Everyone killed by Cell was revived. So they are still alive here, all thanks to Hachiyak. Piccolo also joins nearby, apologizing for not making it to Broly, but he kind of expected Goku to teleport to him. Though, with him joining, it's not really going to amount to much because Buu is way too strong. So you might be thinking, well, Goku has Super Saiyan 3, and with everyone's collective power, it should be enough to overcome Buu, right? The issue is, Buu is stronger than he should be right now, by a pretty decent amount. Babidi didn't just get the energy that he needed. He got way more than that. Probably like double the energy that he needed. Because even though the fight with Broly was pretty short-lived, it gave Babidi so much energy that it overcharged Buu. Majin Buu is stronger than he should be. They try to fight him. First, it's just a 1v1 between Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Buu, and then others try and join in, but eventually, when it turns to everyone jumping him, they can't defeat him. They think they could overcome his regeneration maybe, and they try this, thinking that they could just defeat him the same way they defeated Broly, but it's a lot harder than it seems. If they are able to launch one collective attack right now, at their full powers, they could destroy Buu. But it's easier said than done because that basically requires him to just stand there and not try fighting back or using any of the strange techniques he has. They are at least able to kill Babidi in the process, that's pretty simple. And even though they do have a shot at victory right now, Shin thinks it would be better to retreat. They need to come up with a better plan. And since they do have that chance to win, it would be pointless for them to die here and not even try that out. Goku's not too hard to convince, and Vegeta ends up swallowing his pride for it. Goku thinks maybe the Supreme Kai is right. So they're all teleported to the Sacred World of Kai. And this also includes Videl. She was present and she came along with them, because they didn't want to just leave her out in the middle of nowhere where they just fought Broly. And she's pretty terrified. Especially now because she's on the Sacred World of Kai and can't really do anything. And the rest of them are pretty worried about Earth because everyone's been left behind now. Especially when Videl sees that her father's being sent to stop the threat. Mr. Satan's apparently going to try and stop Buu, and she thinks that's hopeless. Gohan starts trying to pull the Z-Sword like normal and train with it. And Dende's able to go around collecting everyone else that they left behind on Earth, keeping them safe on the lookout. But as he communicates with them, he says that he's pretty worried because they don't have any of the Dragon Balls. Bulma has a copy of the radar and they don't detect any Dragon Balls on it, but then Goten and Trunks remember something. They completely forgot amidst all the chaos. Goten has a bag on him and he opens it, showing it to everybody. All 7 Dragon Balls are inside it. Right before fighting Broly, they collected everything that they needed. And this is great. This puts everybody's mind at ease because the Dragon Balls are safe here, and if anything happens, they could just summon Shenron on the Sacred World of Kai and restore any of the damage or revive anybody. Goku does wonder if they're going to need any extra help though, because even though they're training here, Buu is still going around causing chaos on Earth, and is not sure how much they're going to grow or if it's going to be enough to stop him, even with Gohan training with the Z-Sword. Though, Cell is out there, although he's not really an ally to them, but Goku thinks that maybe he could help them. Vegeta tells him to not even think about it, mainly because Garlic Jr. is with him and he's definitely not going to help. Though Goku says that Cell would definitely be up for a fight like that. Back on Earth, Majin Buu's encounter with Mr. Satan happens, and they do form somewhat of a bond, but over this time eventually, somebody else has a plan to take out Majin Buu, and that ends up affecting Mr. Satan. So the same stuff happens. The evil part of Buu separates out, and then evil Buu fights good Buu, with evil Buu absorbing good Buu, and then becoming Super Buu. So, now there's a bigger threat on Earth, and everybody feels like they're getting prepared, especially because Gohan's able to free Elder Kai from the Z-Sword. Though there is kind of an issue with this. Elder Kai does tell them both about Potara fusion and the ultimate ritual. The ritual might be able to actually get them to win here, but it's going to take some time, especially for Gohan. And as for Potara, it's just a final trump card. They don't want to rely on it right now, especially because, as far as they know, it's a permanent fusion. But Elder Kai starts the ritual on Gohan, as everyone waits here. They kind of regret coming here so quickly, but Shin says it's better safe than sorry. Though Vegeta feels like if they stayed there and actually fought, they might have won and they could have avoided all of this. Although on second thought, Goku does kind of doubt that. It would have been really hard for them to launch one combined attack that's strong enough to defeat Boo, and Boo is pretty dangerous. They've seen the other types of things he's capable of. If he turned even just one of them into candy, they would have had no way to stop him. Still, Vegeta doesn't like the idea of retreating like this, although he's mainly mad that he can't do anything against Boo right now. He doesn't really like the idea of fusing either, so hopefully Gohan's strength will be enough. And hopefully Boo's not going to grow any more than he already has. Half a day passes since the ritual began, and their worst fear is realized. By now they know that Boo can absorb people, and someone else just showed up on the planet. Of course, Boo's power is pretty high and easy to sense from even far away. So, Cell teleported there with Garlic Jr., ready to face Boo. Maybe this will be the continuation of the Cell games. He'll kill Boo, and then he'll figure out what to do later. This is probably going to turn out really bad though. Cell and Garlic start fighting Boo together. Right now, Cell is actually stronger than Boo, and he's loving this fight. It's a ton of fun for him, while Garlic is still weaker than both of them, but hey, he's immortal, and he's definitely way stronger than before. Everyone watching on the Sacred World of Kai is amazed. No wonder Cell was able to beat Broly. After all, he's pretty much been training this entire time. It looks like everything's under control, and maybe it's better this way because Cell gets satisfied by a fight with Boo, and that means they probably won't have to worry about him as much. Boo is the worst enemy right now, just because he's so unpredictable and uncontrolled. They'd rather go with the devil they know than the devil they don't. But then, the worst possible thing happens. Cell doesn't realize that Boo can absorb other people. He doesn't even go after Garlic Jr. because it won't benefit him that much. Although, if he did absorb Garlic Jr., he'd probably also become immortal. He just goes right for Cell. And Cell isn't prepared for this. Boo's able to absorb him successfully. And now, everyone starts freaking out. Especially Garlic Jr. because he's going to have to face Boo's wrath right now. Boo undergoes a transformation, now becoming, it's not really easy to come up with a name for him like Boo Tanks, Boo Han, or whatever. Would we just call him Cell Boo? Boo Cell? Let's just call him Boo Cell Absorbed. In a panic, Garlic Jr. puts 2 fingers on his forehead and teleports away. Thanks to all his training with Cell, he also knows instant transmission right now. He doesn't teleport too far away. He's still on Earth, but he was just getting away from Boo, and despite him being immortal, he doesn't want to get absorbed by Boo. He's not necessarily worried about dying here. But of course, Boo starts chasing him and then hits Garlic Jr. with a beam, which causes him to partially disintegrate, but then quickly regenerate. And Boo knows he's immortal because he has Cell's knowledge now, so he could just mess around with Garlic for a bit. Garlic keeps on teleporting away while Boo chases him. But then Garlic Jr. does think of something on a whim. At one point, Boo tries to hit him again, and the attack is completely blocked. Garlic Jr. quickly opens the dead zone and closes it, just to block the attacks. It's a new technique that he calls the dead zone barrier, so whenever an attack gets close to him, the dead zone will open and absorb the attack. Boo even tries to absorb Garlic Jr., but he does this again, completely surrounded by a wormhole to the dead zone. Not only is he immortal, he's untouchable. And then he opens the dead zone even further, trying to absorb Boo in it. Boo can resist the pull of it pretty easily, but then Garlic just pushes it towards him, and he traps Boo in the dead zone. Okay, that at least should hold him for a little bit, but Garlic doesn't think it'll hold him forever because he's part Cell. He's gonna know how to open the dead zone himself because Cell does. Everyone on the Sacred World of Kai doesn't want to wait anymore. Goku gets ready to teleport back to Earth using Garlic's key signature. But as he's looking for the key signature, he senses something horrifying. It's not Garlic's key. It's something else, something completely different in a completely different area. And it's a very evil key too. Shin looks into it and feels the same thing. Elder Kai wonders what's going on, but he's focused on the ritual, so Kibito looks into the crystal ball, and he's horrified. King Yemma then starts talking to the Supreme Kai. It's an emergency. He wouldn't be talking directly to the Supreme Kai otherwise. Since Boo has been left to his own devices on Earth and has killed a bunch of people, there have been a huge excess of souls that have came to Otherworld recently, and that made things a little bit hectic. He's not sure exactly what happened, but they have a machine that processes the evil souls, and it looks like all the evil souls escaped it, and then merged together into something completely different. A demon made of pure evil, now causing havoc in Otherworld. And what's worse, all the dead souls are returning to the living world. Considering how widespread this is, it does seem like it might even be a bigger threat than Boo. Great, more stuff for us to deal with. Can't you guys wait for my ritual to be done? It would be helpful to have Gohan with us, but I don't think we could wait much longer. Once Gohan's done, I'll go to Earth with him. You two can handle whatever that is. I can't do a Piccolo impression. Anyways, Goku grabs Vegeta and teleports him to Otherworld. Piccolo's gonna wait here with Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and Videl and go back to Earth to fight Boo. Videl doesn't want to be dragged into this, though. Meanwhile, Garlic Jr. is waiting patiently for Boo to return. Surely he's gonna figure it out soon. It's only been a few minutes. And then he hears a deafening scream. Boo didn't open the dead zone using Cell's power. He screamed to open it, creating a portal that took him back to Earth. This is just to terrify Garlic even more, showing him that he's so strong that he doesn't need any of those special powers. Did you seriously think that was gonna hold me? I'm far stronger than anyone right now. Garlic Jr. considers just hiding in the dead zone right now. But before he could do anything, Boo just has fun beating him up. He kind of regrets wishing for immortality right now because ever since he got it, he's just been a punching bag for everybody. But then, Boo's distracted by something. He feels that same evil presence, and the Cell part of him makes him a lot more fight hungry right now. And even if Cell wasn't a part of him, I feel like Boo would go for this anyways. He then teleports to Otherworld as well, missing Goku and Vegeta by a little bit. From the lookout, Dende is watching and he sees a bunch of dead people appearing on Earth. He has no clue what's going on in Otherworld, but clearly it's something really big. And as Boo looks around Otherworld for that strong power he just sensed, he then feels a bunch of other strong powers out in space, with a few of them localized on Earth. With all the dead people coming back from Otherworld, that includes any of the villains from the past. You know what? Boo wants to take a little detour and fight them first. What better way to test his power than fighting people like Frieza, Broly, Cooler, etc. Goku and Vegeta meet with King Kai first, and Paikon's on his planet too. Vegeta never got to meet this guy before, so it's interesting to see that this is who Goku was training with, but Paikon's gonna help them. And King Kai is well aware that this is really bad timing because of what's happening on Earth, but it's not like anyone has a choice here. He tells them they need to go to hell. That's kinda mean. No, they literally just need to go to hell to fight whoever's there. So Goku, Vegeta, and Paikon go to hell. And there, they encounter what looks to be a giant monster. Is Janemba. Why does every enemy have to show up at the same time? Right now he seems a little bit mindless almost. He's kinda just bouncing around and shouting his name. They try and fight him as he is right now, but it's not really enough at the moment. The three of them together are really strong, especially when Goku goes into Super Saiyan 3. But Janemba effortlessly fends them off. And a few minutes into their fight with Janemba, Boo teleports into hell, looking on and seeing who they're fighting. Now he's really interested. So, he jumps in to fight too. Great, just what they needed. All hell breaks loose as we now have a 1v1v3. Janemba versus Boo versus Goku, Vegeta, and Paikon. This fight goes on for a little bit, and then Janemba transforms once more, becoming Super Janemba. Goku kinda realizes that he and Vegeta might be screwed right now. Both of these guys are way too strong for them. It's not like they grew too much stronger on the Sacred World of Kai. Boo and Janemba are a good match for each other right now, but these three aren't really doing too much. So Goku tells Vegeta they have no choice. Thankfully, Janemba's distracted with Boo and vice versa. Paikon asks what they have planned, and Goku almost suggests the fusion dance, which he has learned here. He tells Vegeta it's a temporary method of fusion. He actually mentioned this before when Elder Kai brought up the Potara earrings. The issue is, Vegeta doesn't know the fusion dance. Or, they could do Potara fusion, which guarantees a perfect fusion, and will probably let them win the fight. But Vegeta says he'd rather risk the dance than permanent fusion. Even though the dance does have a chance of failure, he doesn't want to be joined with Kakarot forever. And Goku says it probably wouldn't be forever, it would just be until they could use the Dragon Balls again, because maybe that can undo the fusion. He's not entirely sure, but whatever, he understands Vegeta's choice. The two of them practice fusion for a bit, and then they perform the dance. But Vegeta messes up this time, causing a failed fusion, Veku. The confident failed fusion goes in to fight Boo and Janemba, while Paikon just watches on a little bit dumbfounded because he doesn't think they're going to accomplish anything. Before Veku could even make it into the fight, a stray blast from Janemba sends the fusion flying back. So now they have to wait 30 minutes for the fusion to run out. Thankfully, Boo and Janemba's fight is pretty much endless right now, and Veku does serve as a good distraction to keep the fight going on longer. The worst thing would be Boo absorbing Janemba right now, and he wants to prolong this fight as long as possible because of that possibility. So even though he doesn't really stand a chance here, he fights them and just dodges all of their attacks. Back on the Sacred World of Kai, Gohan's ritual completes, and he's sent to Earth for when Boo returns. Shin and Kibito grab everyone on the lookout too to keep them safe, and they bring them to the Sacred World of Kai. And after seeing the ritual, Piccolo gets an idea. He's got something in mind that hopefully won't take as long as Elder Kai's ritual. So Gohan waits on Earth, and he passes time by defeating any of the threats that show up because all these dead people are here now. Goten and Trunks are with them too, and they go and fight Adolf Hitler. I still can't believe that happened in the movie, but it did. And as Gohan's waiting around, Garlic then shows up. He can see how much Gohan's grown, and he's kind of terrified to see him because of what happened last time he fought Gohan. He tells Gohan he's not looking for any trouble. Look, he'll help them fight Boo, and then he'll leave them alone. He just wants to be free from this. He doesn't really like sticking around Cell, even though he has been growing a lot stronger, because he's just a punching bag. And Gohan knows that he can't really just let Garlic go, because if he does, Garlic's going to cause chaos somewhere else or try to enact some evil plan. But Garlic gives Gohan his word. He'll help him fight Boo, and then they'll be done for good. He still wants his revenge against Kami, and he knows that Kami's gone now. He's a part of Piccolo, so if anything, he wants revenge against Piccolo now, and Gohan, and Goku. But he won't go after any of them, and he won't go for the Dragon Balls to revive his father or anything. Gohan doesn't know if he could trust this, and it's only a matter of time before Garlic does something else, but whatever. He kinda does need all the power he can get right now. Veku continues trying to survive, and thankfully 3 other fighters show up to help. Gohan, Piccolo, and Garlic. Gohan shows off his new ultimate form. Garlic doesn't show off any new form. And then Piccolo also shows off a new form, weirdly enough. Considering how desperate the situation is, he decided to take desperate actions. He takes on a brand new Power Awakened form. He used the Dragon Balls to wish for his potential to be unlocked. Gohan wishes that he thought to do that because that would have been a lot quicker. But wait, why would he use a wish on that? They need the Dragon Balls. And Piccolo says they don't need to worry. Dende and the Dragon Balls are on the sacred world of Kai right now, and considering the circumstances, he decided to have Shenron save the other two wishes. Dende actually just upgraded the Dragon Balls while he was there, in order for Piccolo to get the best power boost possible. So they still have 2 wishes if they need, and they also have Namek's Dragon Balls. Considering this is a special case, Dende allowed this. Shin was able to bring Piccolo to Earth and then grab the other 2. Deku, who then defuses into Goku Vegeta, is a bit confused to see why Garlic's there. And Pikkon is just kind of lost in general, but Gohan says they need all the help they can get, and Garlic will help as a great distraction. The 3 of them fight together with Pikkon, as Goku and Vegeta get ready to do the fusion dance. Goku asks Vegeta if he really doesn't want to try the Potara, and Vegeta says he's not doing that. They'll get the fusion right this time. And actually, he has another good idea. If they do their fusion, the Potara will still have some other use. Gohan and Piccolo actually make some good progress against Buu and Janemba, but even with their respective power boost, it's not going to be enough here, mainly because they're fighting 2 really strong villains at the moment. If it was just Janemba or Buu, they would actually be able to win, pretty easily in fact. But their attention is divided because of that. Although, they decide maybe if they focus all of their power on one person and just ignore the other fighter, that might be the better strategy to help them win here. So they put all their focus on Buu. And Buu's smart now, he notices what they're doing. They're going to try and kill him. They want to get him out of the way because they realize he's the bigger threat at the moment. He knows exactly what they're scared of. So, he enacts his newest plan. Amidst his fight with Janemba, he's been placing pieces of himself all over the battlefield. Janemba is able to dodge attacks really easily because he could dematerialize himself whenever he wants. He's pretty fast and pretty strong too on top of that. So that's why Buu has been doing this slowly. And the best part is, Janemba doesn't know about his absorption yet. But if Buu gets this wrong one time, Janemba's going to know of it, and he's not going to get another chance. The pieces of Buu slowly creep towards Janemba, and then all coalesce together. In one swift motion, they all jump on top of Janemba. Janemba tries to escape it, but it's already too late. He's completely surrounded by Buu's pieces. And then, he laughs maniacally as he powers up. And at the same time, there's 2 huge surges of power. The first surge of power comes with Janemba turning into Janembu, but the other surge in power is Goku and Vegeta successfully completing the fusion dance. Although, now that Buu has absorbed Janemba, this fusion might not be enough. Gohan then feels a hand on his shoulder. Looking next to him and seeing a fighter, introducing himself as Gogeta, the complete fusion of Goku and Vegeta. He then tells Gohan and Piccolo he has something for them, with each of them getting a Potara earring. Gogeta can tell that he's incredibly strong right now, and he could even utilize Super Saiyan 3 of course, but he might need a little bit of extra help. He asks if the 2 of them can fuse, and they're not really against it, especially because they know they always have the Dragon Balls. Gogeta kinda chuckles because Vegeta knew about that and he still didn't want to go ahead with Potara, but whatever. Pikkon and Garlic Jr. just kind of stand there watching on. Gogeta gets ready to face Janembu as Gohan and Piccolo place on the Potara earrings, fusing into Piccohan. The fusions start fighting, and immediately it's pretty clear that Janembu is way stronger than anyone they've ever faced before. The combined power of those 2 villains plus Cell, it's something that shouldn't be taken lightly. And just because they fuse doesn't mean they're going to have an easy time here. I think we might need to rewind a little bit just to explain the powers of everyone here. First off, for Majin Buu, he went around fighting and even absorbing some of the other villains that got revived. His toughest fight was definitely Broly, but it gave him a lot of experience and he actually grew before going into that fight. As he traveled around space, he found some other strong people. He actually was able to absorb Frieza, Cooler, and King Cold, making him even stronger. They couldn't even tell this at first because, well, he didn't really change in his appearance. He looks more like Cell because Cell's the strongest person he's absorbed, and those energies are already kind of a part of Cell, so it's not something they even picked up on right away. They were wondering how Buu got so much stronger in the meantime, because absorbing Cell alone doesn't explain how strong he is at the moment. But what about the rest of the group? Because we're only just now seeing Ultimate Piccolo, and Gohan's different in this scenario too. Well, part of the Everything Canon story is that the Broly movie's canon, of course, all 3 of them. In Second Coming, Gohan has trained the entire time since the Cell Saga. Not only would that not change here, but it would probably be even better because Goku was alive this entire time, so Gohan's had a better training partner. I'd imagine this rubs off on Piccolo too because, well, Piccolo is Gohan's closest rival essentially, and also his teacher. So Gohan's obviously going to be stronger in this scenario because of all that, since this is essentially a Gohan that never stopped training. And for Piccolo, he's going to be much stronger than the canon or even the Toei version of Piccolo, because, let's be honest, compared to the rest of the Buu saga, Piccolo originally wasn't really that strong compared to everybody else. In this scenario, I would imagine right now his base is pretty much equivalent to Gohan's, and his power awakening is going to be pretty much the same as Gohan's too. maybe a little weaker, but the two are pretty much on even footing. And given the compatibility of the two of them, they do get a nice boost from fusion as well. Basically, everyone in this battle is stupidly strong. Well, besides Garlic and Pycon. They're strong in their own right, but now with everybody fused, they're not really going to be doing too much. This is Boo with the power of Janemba, Cell, and even Frieza's entire family, who had actually grown stronger because he's been fighting in the meantime. One of those fights being Broly too, which he ended up winning, although it wasn't very easy, but it helped him grow. And given all the abilities of the people he's absorbed, that's just going to help his growth even further. So Janembu is really strong. While Gogeta was significantly above Janemba in the original story, given all the changes here, Janembu is incredibly powerful. I'd even argue Janemba might have been stronger in this story too because he had stronger souls that became a part of him, with all the crazy stuff that's happened. So this battle is going to be unlike any other battle from before. Gogeta thinks that if he were fighting this fight alone, he might not be able to do it. Right now he's fighting in Super Saiyan 2. And he can use Super Saiyan 3, but he knows it's probably going to drain him a lot. But even with Super Saiyan 3, he wonders if that would be enough power. Though, sensing Pikahan's power, he knows that the two of them combined definitely tip the scales. They do collectively overpower Janembu here. Another issue is his abilities. Boo has all of the abilities of Cell, who has all the abilities of all the people he has DNA from, on top of abilities from Janemba and Boo. Boo even says he spent some time fighting the other people that came to the living world. Like he found Frieza and was able to fight him. Sadly, he couldn't find the resurrected Broly because he would have loved to absorb him. Oh great, it didn't even occur to them that all those villains came back. But Pikahan says not to worry because Gohan was able to stop any of the ones that came to Earth. But they should probably wrap this up quick before Broly does come back. That would be twice within the same week that he'd show up. Gogeta says it won't be a problem though. With this fused power, they could stop anyone, even Janembu. And as Gogeta fights in Super Saiyan 2, he notices Pikahan doesn't transform. At least, it doesn't look like it. He's using a combined ultimate form, and it doesn't really change his appearance or anything. There's a slight golden tint to his hair, almost like Super Saiyan, but that's from Piccolo's side, since his Power Awakened form makes his skin more yellow, and he has that same golden aura around him. The potentials of both fighters are being drawn out, and both fusions are incredibly compatible. Goku and Vegeta get a nice boost from that, and Piccolo and Gohan are compatible too, being master and student and also rivals. Gogeta wonders which of the two of them is stronger. He says the two of them should turn this into a challenge, and while Pikahan is more focused on the fight, mainly because of the Piccolo side of him being so serious, he smirks. Both the Fusies would love to test out their power as part of this fusion. Boo splits up into two, saying that this will even the playing field. But he warns them that his power is increasing further and further. Will they be able to handle two of him now? Well, Gogeta says this is the perfect challenge. Let's see what fusion can kill Boo first. Sounds good with me. The two fusions go full power, and now Boo is a little bit concerned. They start wailing on each of the pieces of him. Even though he cloned himself, he split his power to do so. Then he starts kind of getting desperate. He starts cloning himself even more and more. Their fight has already left hell by now, and Boo laughs. I'd love to see both of you try and handle all these clones. Good luck. This is meant as a distraction. A bunch of clones of Janemba fly around and start attacking all the dead souls there. Not to mention, they even go after some of the gods. They go after all of the Kai. King Kai's planet is destroyed and he's killed, as well as the Southeast and West Kai. The two fusions get more serious. He shouldn't have done that. Gogeta powers up into Super Saiyan 3, and asks Pikahan to lend him energy. Now it's time to finish this. When he asks for energy, he chuckles and says Janembu's not the only one who can clone himself. A Gogeta clone appears and he's in base. Pikahan immediately knows what he's going for here, and then he mentally communicates with Pycon too. He asks him to help. Pycon then sticks a hand up, and Garlic Jr. is a bit confused, but Pycon tells him to do the same. They do so. King Yema's watching, and he decides to help out too, telling everyone to follow along. And even though the Kai are dead, they were already in Otherworld, so they just come back to right where they were. And they communicate to everyone in their quadrants to try and help. Shin and Kibito are now on Earth with everyone. Since Boo was going around attacking the gods, they brought everyone back here because they'd probably be safer. But anyone still left on Earth, including all of the allies of Goku, they start lending energy. The souls of the living and dead help Gogeta. Surprisingly enough, even Dabra, who's now good and in heaven, decides to lend some energy too. He wasn't fond of Boo when he was first revived, but after Boo killed him, he wants some revenge too. Pikahan fights the Boo clones while Gogeta also fights them off, charging a tiny Spirit Bomb. But even though the Spirit Bomb is really small, that doesn't mean it lacks power. Gogeta didn't even know Spirit Bombs can get this powerful. He's compressed it to be very small, and then he pushes his own energy into it. As he's charging the Spirit Bomb, he creates a Soul Punisher. This way, he could charge the Spirit Bomb while transformed. But he could also combine his own attack into the Spirit Bomb. The Spirit Bomb's energy coalesces in his hand and starts pulsating with a rainbow color. This is no normal Spirit Bomb. This is what he'll call a Spirit Punisher. It's finally charged, and he launches the attack at Boo. Boo tries to dodge it by dematerializing, but that doesn't work. The Spirit Punisher homes into him, and then it spreads out like buckshot. A bunch of tiny Spirit Punishers fly around Otherworld and the living world. It homes on to any clones of Janembu, with most of the power going towards the main one. Pikahan looks around him in amazement. A bunch of these small rainbow orbs fly everywhere, and Boo has no defense against them. And one by one, all of the Boo clones are destroyed. The power of these blasts shake the entirety of Otherworld, filling it with falling particles from the Spirit Bomb, as well as sparkles from the Soul Punisher. Boo is killed, and so is Janemba. The only thing left behind is that demon that actually turned into Janemba, the kid that messed up with the machine and absorbed all that power. He's floating in the middle of Otherworld pretty terrified, and Gogeta detransforms, then to go in to catch him. He didn't even realize that Janemba was possessing someone else. But he smiles and then defuses, with Pikahan also defusing too. They didn't even realize that they used too much power. And Pikahan's pretty confused because he thought this fusion would be permanent. Looks like it isn't. Goku then looks over at Vegeta. See? They could have done that. Vegeta regrets having to do that silly dance, and he kinda wishes they just put on the earrings instead. Pikkon then communicates with everyone and says, Garlic's gone. Pikkon tried to stop him, but he couldn't. He opened some weird portal and then went inside it. Oh, so he went back into the dead zone. Gohan laughs at this. He's sure they'll see him again. But Pikkon says he did contribute to the Spirit Bomb. Goku does think it's kind of a shame though, because with Boo's death, that means Cell died. He never actually got to fight Cell like he wanted. All the dead souls have returned to Otherworld, and the ones who shouldn't have died are going to be revived. They're going to make a wish to revive any good person killed so far. That is going to exclude Cell, and Boo obviously. While Shin and Kibito did take everyone back to Earth, Dende's still here with them. They wanted to keep him and the Dragon Balls close, so they went to a completely separate planet. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo go there, and this is where they summon Shenron, and they make the wish. But as they're wishing for everyone to be revived, King Kai sends out a warning. Now, he hasn't been dead for long. The fight between Boo and the two fusions didn't last long, and then getting everything else in order didn't take too long. King Kai has only been dead for about 2 hours. This shouldn't be too big of an issue, and they're probably going to be back on Earth by the time this would even be an issue, but he says with him and all the other Kai dying, there was a seal that was broken, and there may be another enemy out there. Vegeta can't believe this. Great, another threat they have to deal with? Well, King Kai says he doesn't know where these threats are headed, but he says they're not nearly as strong as anybody that they fought today. He estimates that any one of them alone would be enough to fight that whole group. Well, they kinda have to deal with this right now too, and they're not going to be going to search around in space. But King Kai starts looking around, and you can't actually locate the key signatures. Let's rewind a little bit, about an hour beforehand. While Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, and Gohan were still in Otherworld, sorting things out with King Yama and such, the other fighters that evacuated with Shin and Kibito are now back on Earth. And that threat that King Kai mentioned made pretty quick work, pretty much immediately after they were freed from their seal. Goten and Trunks just finished fighting a bunch of dead villains. Tien, Krillin, and 18 are back on Earth too, but Goten and Trunks have been here for a bit, and now all those dead villains are gone. But to their surprise, they sense 5 other strong presences coming to Earth, arriving pretty much right after Boo's defeat. Now, one of the issues is that they just lended energy to the Spirit Bomb, so they're a little drained, but the crew of villains shows themselves. It's the Hera clan, led by Bojack. With the Kaio all dying, the seal that held them was broken. And sensing the strong powers here, this is where they immediately went to. Tien, Krillin, 18, Goten, and Trunks prepare to fight Bojack, but he sends his henchmen after them first. And it actually isn't too hard to fight them. At one point, another fighter even joins them too. Yamcha shows up, and Goten and Trunks can't transform right away because of how drained they are. But even without that, the group is able to defeat the Hera clan. Until Kogu transforms, which kind of is an issue. Tien, Krillin, and Yamcha fight him together. And thanks to having infinite stamina, even though 18 did lend some Genki to the Spirit Bomb, she's at least not tired out because of that. So she uses her full power, and the 4 of them kill Kogu together. This lets Goten and Trunks rest a bit, because they know they're going to have to fight Bojack next. Goten and Trunks think they have some power left, so they then transform, going into Super Saiyan. Bojack's surprised these kids are so strong, as well as these Earthlings. He skips all the niceties, immediately transforming into his full power.
Time for the slaughter to begin.
With ease, he defeats most of the fighters. Goten and Trunks are more of an issue to him. But Tien, Yamcha, Krillin, and 18 are all taken out. 2 injured to fight. Goten and Trunks are nearly running on empty. Now, it's not like the Spirit Bomb completely wore them out, but it is enough to make a difference, especially after they spent so much time fighting all the dead people on Earth too. But they do put up a good fight. And even though they're worn out, they're determined to win this alone. Trunks turns to Goten. They could be the heroes here for once. They didn't really get to do much against Boo, but this is a time where they could actually show off their power and let everyone know what they're capable of. Goten nods. They were helpless against Broly. They were helpless against Boo. But here, they could win. They could achieve victory. The two push themselves to their limits, and so does Bojack. Goten and Trunks stand side by side, and they take on the exact same stance, each charging a Kamehameha, combining it into a single blast. Bojack rushes towards them with energy charge in his hands, and together, the 2 Hybrid Saiyans launch their attack. Bojack at first tanks it, and he tries to fly through it. He's getting injured by it, but He's pushing it back, and he continues flying towards the two of them. This blast is impressive, but it won't be enough to stop him. And as he continues charging towards them, he then feels something cut into his side, a combined Hyenzon from 18 and Krillin. It cuts pretty deep into him, leaving a gash in his torso, but he stops it from slicing him in half, grabbing it with one of his hands and breaking it. They caught him off guard, and they really annoy him. So, with one hand aimed towards Goten and Trunks, he takes his free hand and then charges another blast, launching it at 18 and Krillin. But then, Goten and Trunks hear someone yell out at them. It's Tien. He tells them now's the time to use their full power, and someone else steps in alongside them. It's Yamcha, performing a Kamehameha, lending his power. And even Tien from nearby tries to use the rest of his energy, realizing that a Kikoho might be too dangerous at the moment. So, even though he doesn't really use this technique, he pulls off the Kamehameha. It's not too hard. Jumping in alongside them, Goten and Trunks then put all their power into this. With Bojack injured and briefly distracted, their combined blast overwhelms him, and Bojack is disintegrated by the beam, as the four of them all fall to the ground, injured and worn out, but victorious. They won. And now we arrive right back to when King Kai was warning everybody else. He started looking around for Bojack and his crew, and he couldn't sense their energy. He realized the reason for that was because they've already been defeated. When he warned Goku and his crew, it was pretty much right after the people on Earth defeated them. Oh, so it looks like everything's fine then. Now with everything sorted out, Goku teleports everyone else back to Earth. Kibito heals the fighters who killed Bojack, and Goku asks them all what happened here. Krillin says Goten and Trunks did a really good job in the fight they just had. Without those two, they wouldn't have won, and they probably would have died. The two kids give a thumbs up, and Goku and Vegeta are proud of their sons. For Goku, it's both of them because he saw Gohan's power today and Goten's power. Vegeta just hopes that Trunks outshined Goten in this fight. And it looks like now Earth is safe. Boo's been stopped. Janemba's been stopped. Cell was an immediate threat, but he's also been stopped. And even though Bojack barely had any time to do anything, and they didn't even know he was a threat in the first place, he was stopped too. Of course, Earth does have some more threats on the way. Garlic Jr. is out there somewhere. Broly left a lot of blood behind, which could be used for DNA samples. There's a wizard on his way to Earth, ready to unleash something devastating. And, with Dabra's death, the Demon Realm now has a new ruler, with the new King Doma trying to plan his next move. So, we've still got a ways to go before Beerus. Broly, Majin Buu, and Janemba all within the same few days was a lot to deal with. But what they don't realize is that Broly's gonna come back for a third time. Mr. Satan is taken to a strange facility, and Goten and Trunks aren't with him. This eventually leads to the awakening of Bio Broly, who's actually completed this time. Not awakening as a giant sludge monster, he's actually looking like Broly. But immediately when he awakens, everyone could sense this. Bio Broly is sent to attack Mr. Satan, and just before his attack connects, Goku teleports in, blocking an attack with Gohan, Piccolo, and Vegeta at his side. It really does look like Broly, but something's off about him. Vegeta can't believe this guy's back for a third time, but then they learn of what's truly going on here. This isn't Broly. This is an experiment trying to recreate Broly. Piccolo says that probably means he's not as good as the real thing. The group briefly fights against him, and he does seem to be around the same strength that Broly was when they last fought him. Maybe a little better, but it's not truly Broly, so this shouldn't be too big of an issue. Piccolo asks if they could all step aside. He kinda wants to take on this one alone. He hasn't really gotten to test out his power much yet. When Janemba was freed, Gohan at least got to test out his power against some of the enemies that came to Earth, and, of course, he and Piccolo briefly did fight Janemba unfused. But while Gohan has got a good test of his power, Piccolo really hasn't. And they're fine with this. If Piccolo wants to take on this alone, they'll stand by. They could help if needed. Piccolo could tell that there's a deeper power inside of him that has yet to awaken. But for now, his power awakened state should do. Piccolo was actually weaker than Gohan based on his fight with Gamma 2, in comparison to Gohan's fight with Gamma 1. So I feel like it would kind of be the same here. He's probably going to be a little bit below where Gohan is. But the group has grown tremendously in the past few weeks. Being Saiyans, Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan all grew in their battles. Vegeta is now aiming to get Super Saiyan 3 just like Goku, while Gohan has been working more with Ultimate. I would place Piccolo pretty much around Super Saiyan 3 Goku's level right now. I think that's pretty fair. While Bio Broly is the same level as Broly, prior to the Majin boost, and he lost to a bunch of people fighting him at once. So I feel like this would be a really tough fight for Piccolo. Even with any one of them individually, I feel like they would struggle here, but Piccolo has a way to stop this. With a well-placed special beam cannon right to Bio Broly's head, the monster is defeated and, consequentially, knocked into the seawater nearby. Given the strength of Piccolo's attack, it actually overpowers Bio Broly, and then, falling into the seawater stops him completely. After a very difficult battle, Piccolo has won, single-handedly defeating Broly once more. The whole facility is then destroyed, and it makes them all wonder when the next Broly is going to show up, because they still know of the other one out there, but they've heard nothing about him yet. They fought this Broly thrice, while they haven't even seen the other one once. Well, either way, they'll definitely be seeing him at some point. Following this, we have one last Dragon Ball Z movie to cover. Well, I guess technically there's going to be 2 more after this too, because Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, but you know what I mean. Of the original 13, there's 1 more left, Wrath of the Dragon. And you know what? This one's actually pretty easy to fit into the story. It already was to begin with, but even here with everything we've changed so far, I honestly don't feel like too much would change. Hoi is still going to come to Earth, and it appears that the only way that someone's going to be able to open the box is if Shenron is summoned. Hoi did have a few other places he could have tried to go to, like there were some other strong powers he felt out in space. But he doesn't think raw strength would be able to do it, and while there were some strong magical presences out there, particularly one in the Galactic Patrol prison, that felt way too risky for him, so that's why he's still here. The wish to Shenron is made, and Tapion is still freed, and the events of the movie go pretty much like normal. Actually, if anything's going to be different here, it's the fact that the fights might be even easier because there's the addition of Piccolo being a lot stronger than normal. Otherwise, same group and same everything. And by the way, even though Goten and Trunks didn't learn the fusion dance yet, I feel like by this point, they would. Now, the two of them know it, just kind of a side note there. Anyways, Hirudegarn is freed and eventually defeated, still filled by Goku's Dragon Fist. There is one change I'm going to make here though, kinda just to make things a little more interesting with Tapion. So by the end of the movie, Tapion gets a time machine and he's going to go back to his time. Now, the ending of this movie is just really weird in general because first of all, there's the implication that he gave Future Trunks his sword, which just feels kind of nonsensical because how is the sword that he gave Kid Trunks the same sword that Future Trunks gets? But in some of the video games, it's actually shown that Tapion goes to Trunks' timeline to fight Hirudegarn there. And while I'm not going to be including a bunch of video game stuff in this story, this is one thing that I'm actually going to take from there. Essentially what happens here is Tapion gets a time machine from Bulma. She tried to make it so it can go back into the past, but it doesn't work. It seems that this time machine's only function is to travel to Trunks' timeline. Since the timelines are already split, that's just a predetermined location. So she says he could use it if he wants, but it's just going to take him to a different place. And he's fine with that. He decides he's actually going to fight Hirudegarn there because clearly he's going to be plaguing another timeline too. And he is curious about the future Trunks too, after his interaction with Trunks here. So he's not going to turn down the chance to meet him. So the change here is that when Tapion uses the time machine, he's actually going to future Trunks' timeline, instead of being sent to the past and going back to Konats. The only sad thing is he's not able to save his brother, but what he hopes to do is save Minosha in the future timeline, alongside stopping Hirudegarn, of course. Weirdly enough, even though Tapion in the video games does this, a future Hirudegarn existing implies that a future Tapion would exist too. So unless those two are also killed in the future, it would mean that two Tapions would exist. The whole reason I'm bringing that up is because Tapion's plan here is he'll free his future self and future Minosha, alongside stopping Hirudegarn. From that point, he's going to see if he can go back in the time to Konats. Maybe future Bulma could help out too. If he can't go back in time to Konats, he'll come back here. Tapion arrives in Trunks' timeline, and Tapion explains why he's here. Also, Bulma gave him a message. Not only is he warning Trunks about Hirudegarn, but he's going to warn him about Boo. He's here as a messenger and ally. We'll see more of both of them later. Back in the present timeline, now we should be going into the events of Daima. At least, if things were going normally. The Demon Realm is in complete disarray following Dabra's death. Now, of course, Goma's next in line for the throne, and he wants to get the third eye for himself. The best part is, he's completely uncontested. There's no one else that's going to try and become Demon King. At least, so he thinks. As he begins trying to plan to get the third eye, someone arrives in the first demon world one day. Not by ship, but by a portal. The sky is torn apart. What appears to be a black hole opens, and a small demon floats through. It's Garlic Jr. He goes right to Goma's throne. Guards try and stop him, but he easily defeats them. Not even using his full power. Goma, of course, is furious when he finds out about this, but Garlic Jr. says that this throne is going to be his. And if Goma gives it up uncontested, he'll spare him. Goma laughs in his face. Garlic should be the one worried about being spared. Goma is his leader. And Garlic says, not quite. Goma tries to use some magic on him, but before he does, Garlic opens up the dead zone. You know, he could just kill Goma, but he'll let Goma experience the same thing that he had to go through. Goma is now locked away in the dead zone. Garlic takes the throne, and while some people try and contest him, he showcases his full strength. He is now the Demon King. And unlike Goma, he doesn't need a third eye for this, but he might seek it down the line. He's had enough of the other place he's in, so he decided it would be best to go to the Demon Realm with the other demons and enact his power here. It's pretty easy to attain dominance. Now, at some point, Shin would learn of this, probably from Rinsu or Degasu. So Shin would tell the others because of their interactions with Garlic Jr., but they're not really too concerned, particularly Gohan. Gohan says that if they ever need to stop Garlic, they can. Sure, he still is immortal, but he's definitely not on their level of strength, and they could always find some way to stop his immortality or seal him another way. But on top of that, Garlic did say he was done messing with them, and Gohan cautiously believes that. Not because he trusts Garlic, but he put the fear of Kami in Garlic. So, following the events of Daima, or where Daima was supposed to take place, Tarbell's going to end up showing on Earth, and that would go pretty much exactly as normal, especially because Goten and Trunks actually do know fusion now. For the first time in a while, this is a story where nothing actually changes at all. So, Tapion's going to stay in the story, Daima's completely avoided, Garlic Jr. has taken Goma's place, Tarbell has shown up on Earth and has been helped, and Broly is completely gone now. At least the first Broly. So with that, we have finally ended all of Dragon Ball Z, as well as Daima, but we're not even close to done with the story. We still have Super and GT. At some point over this time skip here, Tapion is going to return to the present. He was unable to go to his timeline, but he was able to help out the future Trunks, as well as saving the future version of himself and Minosha. Babidi and Dabra haven't showed up in the future just yet, but Trunks knows to be on alert, and Tapion and Minosha are going to stay on Earth with him. With Tapion returning here and unable to go back to Konats, he gets the Dragon Balls on Earth and revives his brother. So, the two of them exist in each timeline now. And over this period of peace, there's still some developments on Earth. Vegeta has obtained Super Saiyan 3 for himself. Of course, he had it in Daima, so there's nothing that's going to change about that here. He'll still get it. As for Goku, though, I feel like he still would unlock Super Saiyan 4 because even though he doesn't have Neva helping him to unlock it, Goku still theorized that he can get this through training, so I feel like he still would. So he doesn't get it right away, but I feel like he would unlock it just before the time where Beerus arrives, because now we're in Super territory. Beerus awakens from his nap and of course goes to Earth looking for the Super Saiyan God. Now this time around he's going to have a lot more strong people to fight because, first of all, Goku's in a stronger form. He's got Super Saiyan 4. Vegeta also has Super Saiyan 3. Then, while Piccolo's not really going to be the main event for Beerus, he also has him to fight, using his power awakened state. Piccolo still knows of a deeper power within him, but hasn't awakened it just yet, though he has been training constantly and he feels like he's close to getting it. He's been doing most of his training with Gohan. Although, thankfully for Beerus, there's no Majin Buu here, so he gets to try his pudding just like he wanted. And he's a lot more chill. The mortals here aren't too strong in comparison to him, but they're way more impressive than what he initially encountered. So he's in a good mood. Anyways, Shenron is summoned, and they ask about the Super Saiyan God, learning about the ritual. Given how crazy the scaling in Dragon Ball Z movies is, and the fact that I'm implementing that here, pretty much the whole cast is a lot stronger, so once Goku gets the Super Saiyan God ritual, that's also going to affect that too. Now, it's not like it's going to buff him to the level of Beerus, but he's going to put up a much more impressive fight. Instead of Beerus showing off 0.001% of his power, it's 0.002%. Very nice. Jokes aside though, whatever amount of power Beerus is showing off, it's more than he initially did. Not much would change about the fight though. Beerus ends up winning, and now he has a new rival in mind, though it's not like anyone is going to go to his planet right away. He leaves, and while Goku's a little bit bummed about the fact that he had to be granted that power, he's still pretty happy with it. Though, it is kind of a shame that he just got Super Saiyan 4 and already it's been surpassed. But who knows though, maybe he could find some other way to utilize it. At the very least, it gives Goten and Trunks something to look towards, because Vegeta's gonna of course try and pursue the same thing that Goku has now. And as for Gohan, he has Ultimate. But those two still haven't gone beyond Super Saiyan. At the very least, that'll be the goal for those two. With some more time passing, Goku and Vegeta eventually do go to Beerus pretty much just like normal. Vegeta's able to get Super Saiyan God for himself, and then, down the line, the two of them unlock Super Saiyan Blue. Not only are they in the realm of gods, but they've ascended their original limits. The two of them have grown crazy powerful. But it's not just these two that are unlocking new powers. Back on Earth, Piccolo continues his rigorous training. Thanks to him training with Gohan, it at least makes Gohan grow a bit more too. Now, Gohan doesn't really know where he's going to go next. Piccolo wonders if Gohan has a deeper power within him as well, but that's going to be pretty hard to confirm. Maybe with enough training they'll find out if that's the case. But for now, he's going to be sticking with Ultimate. For Piccolo, on the other hand, all he does is training. Gohan is busy. It's not like he's training 24/7, so while he's making progress, it's not a huge amount of progress. At the very least, he hasn't lost Ultimate here, which is nice. But he has a lot going on. He's a working professional, he's married, and now he has a kid. Piccolo, on the other hand, trains 24/7, so he's able to finally awaken that power that was dormant within him. When Shenron granted him the wish, he also gave Piccolo a little bit extra. Piccolo undergoes an incredible transformation. Surrounded by a fiery orange aura, he grows massively in size and turns orange. This is a form that he simply calls Orange Piccolo. We arrive at the point of Resurrection F. This is going to start out pretty much like normal. Frieza's army goes to Earth, gets the Dragon Balls, revives him, he trains a bit, and then he goes to Earth. The change is when his army actually gets there and encounters all the fighters. They're facing a bigger group this time. It's Gohan, Piccolo, Goten, Trunks, Tien, Krillin, Jaco, Roshi, and Tapion. Not that they were too big of an issue before, but they're even less of an issue now, considering that Piccolo's a lot stronger, and Gohan has kept his ultimate form. I wouldn't say Gohan has grown a ton because, again, he is busier here. He's at that point in his life where he's not going to be training constantly, not like he was before anyways, but he's at least not rusty and hasn't lost access to any forms. Of course, for Piccolo, he has Orange, but it's not like he needs to use that right now. And then Tapion's pretty strong as is. Frieza himself then eventually steps up and he transforms, going into his final form, where he fights Ultimate Gohan. Gohan's able to handle himself pretty well here, and he has a huge strength advantage against Frieza. While he isn't incredibly strong right now, he realized that he could finish this fight right away, so that's what he goes for. After a very brief clash, he charges a Masenko, launching it directly at Frieza, who, at the very last moment, decides to transform, realizing that things are getting dire. As the ki from Gohan to Masenko dissipates, Frieza's standing there in a new form. That attack stung a bit. Had he not transformed, he probably would have died there, so he commends Gohan for his growth, though his growth is far greater. Golden Frieza now fights against Gohan, and even though Gohan had a good advantage before, now he's falling behind. The tables have completely turned, and unlike what Gohan did trying to finish the fight quickly, Frieza kinda wants to savor this, especially because he hasn't really tested out this form too much in real combat. He's only used it in training. Gohan does hold his own, but it's clear that he's losing ground. But he also notices that Frieza is slowly getting worn out. Despite the great power in this form, he can't control the stamina very well. But Gohan doesn't need to finish the fight. Piccolo swaps in with him, immediately going into his power awakened state and fighting Frieza. With this form, he's doing pretty much as well as Gohan, but then he surprises Frieza. Frieza didn't even know that Piccolo could transform. He didn't know Namekians had forms like that. And Piccolo says he's no average Namekian, and this is no average transformation. He then shows off his full power, going into orange, and he's able to have a pretty good fight with Frieza. He overpowers Frieza a bit, and Frieza's also worn out, so that just makes it even easier for Piccolo. And while he does want to fight a bit, he's also going to do the same thing that Gohan did here and try to finish this as quick as possible. He tells Frieza to consider this payback for Namek, destroying every little bit of him. And just like that, Frieza's defeated. Piccolo was able to defend Earth alongside all the other people there. Naturally, Goku and Vegeta hear about this not too long later. They were actually about to go right to Earth because they sensed it going on, but before Goku teleported there, he was trying to monitor what was happening with the fight and saw that Piccolo probably had this. If at any moment they thought things were going to be really dire, Goku would have teleported in instantly, and he and Vegeta would have handled it, especially because now they have their new Super Saiyan Blue forms. It's kinda sad they didn't get to test it out yet, but they're going to have a new opportunity soon. Champa shows up at Universe 7, and the Universe 6 tournament is set into motion. Goku and Vegeta are pretty impressed with Piccolo's power, and he's a very clear pick for this team. They'd like to have Gohan join too, but he's still busy. Some things never change. Although, after his fight with Frieza, he realizes he needs to get back into training a little bit more. This happened in the main story too, it's just that Gohan was starting from a different point there. He had lost his powers and he's been really rusty. Here, he's not rusty and he has his transformation still. So he got that same kick that he had before, it's just that he can't join the tournament. No Majin Buu means they're going to have someone else in his place. Of course, Monarch still on the team, but for the 5th member, they decide to have Tapion there. Goku and Vegeta go in the time chamber as well. Tapion even joins them too, just to grow even stronger. Now, this won't make him incredibly strong or anything, but he's at least going to pick up on Godly Ki, and I feel like this puts him at a comfortable level, like maybe just below where the Saiyans are, and as of now, all 4 of those team members are relative in terms of strength. Though, Goku of course has a trick up his sleeve that's going to make him be the number 1. Anyways, unlike someone like Gohan, Tapion is actually training a lot. He's dedicated to fighting, and he's going to protect his new home by participating in the tournament. Plus, he wants to grow as strong as possible in case he ever faces something like Hirudegarn again. It's a good thing that he has Minosha back, but he never wants to lose his brother again, or lose his own life for that matter. The one downside for him is this tournament has no equipment, so he's not going to be able to bring his sword. That's fine. He's learned to make key swords anyways, which is mainly what he fights with now. The first fight is Goku vs. Batama, which goes like normal, and then Goku vs. Frost, also goes like normal. Piccolo vs. Frost is where things get different because Piccolo defeats Frost before he's even poisoned. Piccolo has such a huge advantage in terms of power here compared to normal that the fight with Frost isn't going to be too big of an issue. Frost won't get a chance to poison Piccolo because it just ends right away. Though, Jocko still catches the poison on him, so Goku's going to be reinstated. Next is Piccolo vs. Vegeta, and he's going to defeat him the same way Vegeta did, with an insult. It should be pretty easy for Piccolo. Next is Piccolo vs. Cabba, and unfortunately this means Cabba's not going to get Super Saiyan. Sure, he'll learn about the form, but Piccolo's not going to be the best person to teach him about it, nor would he really have any desire to. So Piccolo wins that fight. And now, we're at Piccolo vs. Hit. Technically, Universe 7 hasn't lost any fighters yet because Goku only lost due to the poison. So they feel pretty good with no losses so far. But when Piccolo starts fighting Hit, it's really clear that he can't win. He does put up a good fight, especially in Orange, but he has the misfortune of being the first one to face Hit, which is kind of an issue because he doesn't know what he's up against. And second of all, while he is really strong, it's not enough to counter time skip, especially when he knows nothing about time skip. Then we have Tapion vs. Hit, and this is pretty much the same case, though Tapion at least has a little bit of a better understanding of what's going on here, and he fights more defensively. He even tries some new technique of his, like he tries whistling. Without his ocarina here, he's not going to be able to use that to generate force fields or whatever else he does with his ocarina, but he's figured out how to do all the same things with his ocarina without even having the ocarina. Not that it's a huge advantage in battle, just a little thing I want to mention. So he tries fighting defensively and using force fields a bunch, and that prolongs the fight a bit, but it's not enough. Hit wins this fight too. Vegeta was observing for a while, and he actually makes some really good progress against Hit when he fights him. Though Hit has grown in combat due to pure progress, so while Vegeta has more info about him, he's fighting a stronger Hit than he originally did. Though they're slowly starting to get to Hit, Vegeta almost figures out a way around it. but without having a way to hugely increase his power quickly, it's unfortunately not enough for him. This would mean Monaka's up next, but he says maybe Goku should go up before him. Monaka will be saved for last, and you know what? Beerus agrees with that. Champa protests this, saying that they should go in that order. Goku is reinstated, but that doesn't mean they could throw him in whenever they want. But Beerus reminds Champa that one of his fighters was cheating, so he's going to let Goku go up first. Fine, Champa concedes, and thankfully for Monaka, he's going to be last again. Though Champa wonders why he's so adamant on switching the order. With Goku versus Hit, this is pretty much the same thing as normal. Goku uses Blue Kaioken, works around Hit's time skip, and that's that. Followed by him tapping out and then Monaka going up against Hit, with Hit tapping out. Universe 7 gets a victory here just like normal. Next, we have an arc about a villain doppelganger. And I'm not talking about Goku Black, I'm talking about Copy Vegeta. This might be the first time I actually fully cover this in a story. This arc would start pretty much like normal, with Goten and Trunks mistakenly being taken by Monaka's ship. The difference here is that Vegeta goes to the planet and Gohan and Tapion tag along with him. Gohan wants to make up for not being in the tournament, and he bought a little bit of time here just to do so. Of course, Copy Vegeta is still created, but now they have more people ready to fight him. Tapion, Gohan, and now Gotenks are there too. Gotenks is really happy because Goten and Trunks finally had a chance to fuse here, and Gotenks goes Super Saiyan 3. So it's 3v1 against Copy Vegeta, though it doesn't seem like they're able to defeat him right now. But Tapion's able to find the core of Kamasan, and destroying that gives them the opening they need. After Tapion provides that assistance, Gohan and Gotenks launch a combined Kamehameha together. This is enough to completely overwhelm and destroy Copy Vegeta. And thankfully, Goku's no longer having issues with his instant transmission, so that's all good now too. He arrives a little bit late, and he wishes he could have helped, but at least this has been solved. And now we can actually move on to Goku Black. First, let's go to Trunks' timeline. Trunks and Tapion have stopped Boo and Hirudegarn by now. And thanks to the help from Tapion and the extra warning from him, Trunks was able to plan accordingly, and Shin and Kibito are still alive. The two of them have gone back and forth between Earth and the sacred world of Kai. And Trunks has pulled the Z-Sword, but it hasn't been broken. He just simply fights with it like any other sword. As for any other villains, well, Cooler was already defeated in this timeline, although Cooler didn't merge with the Big Getty Star here. The androids are no issue because Trunks already dealt with that, so he doesn't have to worry about 13, 14, 15, or Cell. As for Broly, he never came to Earth in this timeline because, well, there was nothing to do. The planet was pretty much already doomed, and even if Paragus did come here, he would have seen that Vegeta was dead and realized that it wasn't even worth it. Broly's still out there somewhere, and Trunks doesn't know where, but he's prepared if he ever attacks. The only other person he might encounter is Hachiyak, but he already fought him once, he could fight him again. But it's inevitable that Hachiyak would attack at some point. Considering that there's one Saiyan left, that's one too many. So the plan to eradicate the Saiyans commences, and Trunks sees the same exact thing that he saw in the past. The gas, the Ghost Warriors, everything. Tapion's a bit confused as to what's happening and why this is even happening, and Trunks says that he's going to have to explain in a bit. The fight with Hachiyak isn't too long, thankfully. Both Trunks and Tapion are pretty strong, so combined with the fact that they know all of Hachiyak's tricks as well as Dr. Lychee's tricks, they're able to save Earth from him. Although, Trunks can't shake the feeling that Broly being out there is a bad thing. They're going to have to deal with him eventually, even if he doesn't show up here. Maybe they should try and preemptively strike him, but they're not entirely sure. There's also the concerning fact that Broly probably has that family member out there still, the other Broly. Trunks is going to need to be proactive somehow. Oh yeah, and our old pal Majin Zato shows up in the future too. Now this is one that Trunks actually wasn't really anticipating, but he's kind of just been wandering around aimlessly, and now with Trunks being there, given how strong he is, Ozato's naturally drawn to him. Thankfully there's no special tricks Trunks really needs here. He and Tapion are able to get rid of this guy really quickly. Wow, so this must have been the guy that Cell randomly fought out in space. Weird. What was his endgame? Anyways, Shin is still alive, which means Beerus is still alive. Zamasu saw the tournament, and even though there's a god of destruction here, he still wants to attack this timeline. Trunks is a sinner after all. All he needs to do is just kill Shin, and he'll be good to go. And then he'll go around the other universes doing the same thing. Since Trunks isn't always on the sacred world of Kai, Shin is killed by Zamasu, who's now become Goku Black and has teamed up with the Zamasu of this timeline. The two of them then teleport to Earth. And right away, Goku Black starts causing havoc. Very quickly he's found by Trunks, alongside Tapion and Minosha. The issue for Goku Black is that Trunks is a lot stronger here. He's had more fights. Hirudegarn was freed in this timeline too, and he had to fight against him, though he did know about Hirudegarn's weakness, thankfully. But still, he had that fight, he had the Hachiyak fight, and then all the extra fights in the past that he didn't have originally in the manga. Trunks has long ascended Super Saiyan 2 and even has Super Saiyan 3 by now, though it's not really too efficient. But even so, his Super Saiyan 2 is really strong, just because his base has grown so much as well. Basically what I'm trying to say is that Goku Black's kinda screwed right off the bat. Trunks is really powerful, especially with Tapion on his side, and Minosha does provide some help too. Goku Black is nearly killed, which forces Zamasu to reveal himself. He has to heal Goku Black, and things all seem good now. especially because Goku Black gets a really nice boost in power from this, growing from the pain, transforming into his Super Saiyan. He still is pretty new with Goku's body so far because the Zero Mortals plan has just started. The group splits up. Trunks fights Goku Black, as Tapion and Minosha fight against Zamasu. Goku Black has grown a decent amount thanks to this, and Trunks still seems to have the upper hand, but he has to use Super Saiyan 2 to even fight against him right now. Goku Black's even able to break Trunks' sword in half, forcing Trunks to fight with his fist only. As they continue on fighting, Zamasu fights against Tapion, and Tapion comes to see really quick that Zamasu is immortal. At least, he assumes this, but Zamasu then eventually reveals it, monologuing about their plan. Alright, well, Tapion thinks this shouldn't be too big of an issue because he has an idea of how to defeat an immortal person. Hirudegarn's already been freed from him, so he could be the vessel for someone else right now if he wants to. And he's not worried about housing Zamasu. He's far stronger than Zamasu at the moment, so Zamasu is going to be sealed away within Tapion. Together, the two brothers work to seal him, and they're successful. Zamasu doesn't expect this at all, so he has no way to counter it. He actually barely knows anything about Tapion, so he's defeated by surprise. And now Goku Black's realizing that he's probably going to lose, because Trunks is getting the upper hand, and Tapion and Minosha jump back in the fight against him. Trunks briefly goes into Super Saiyan 3 and tells Tapion that he's ready to finish this. He grabs onto his broken sword, creating one made of ki. He and Tapion lunge forward, slicing right through Goku Black, killing him with this combined attack. The Zero Mortals plan has been thwarted and the future is safe. Though, there is an issue. Shin is dead, which means Beerus is dead. Not that Trunks even knows who he is right now. Though, it is kind of a shame because he has no way to bring Shin or Kibito back. They don't have any sets of Dragon Balls. But then they hear a voice nearby. An older looking Kai is standing there, and they're really confused, but they learn that this is Elder Kai and he was sealed away in that Z-sword that just broke. And he learns of Shin's death, and he decides he's going to help out. He still wants this universe to have a Supreme Kai, and he's far too old for that. He's past his time anyways. So out of the blue, he just falls asleep right in front of these two, and then falls over. He then stands back up and has a halo on his head. He tells them everything's okay now. He just gave up his life to revive Shin. Oh, well, that was easy. Too bad for Kibito though, he's gonna still remain dead. So now, they're gonna have to warn the present timeline about Zamasu. But the present timeline has already been warned, and Zamasu has been dealt with in the past. Since the timelines run parallel, and Goku Black is killed a year earlier here, Trunks also returned a year earlier. Zamasu stealing Goku's body still happens in that alternate timeline around the same time as normal, but it wouldn't affect what happens in the main timeline because they already split. I know, things get really confusing with the timelines, but in Dragon Ball it's like these things work just off of vibes alone. But paradoxes aside, the point is, sometime after Battle of Gods and before Frieza's revival, Trunks had already returned to the past and warned everyone. So, things are already all good in the present, and the present timeline moves forward in peace after Copy Vegeta. With Trunks' timeline also moving forward in peace too, and everything's looking optimistic. When Trunks warned everyone about Zamasu, who's now sealed inside of Tapion, the fighters in the present also warned him of something. It wasn't particularly important, but they said after Dabra's death, the Demon Realm apparently went into disarray. Now in this timeline, Garlic Jr. took over, but they're not sure what's going to happen in Trunks' timeline, and Dabra didn't really die too long ago in his timeline, so maybe keep a lookout for that. It's probably something that future Shin should know. So that's exactly what happens. When Trunks and Tapion go back to the future, they immediately tell Shin about what happened. There's no Dragon Balls on Earth, so Goma isn't going to go there in the first place, but he's definitely going to be searching for the third eye, and it's probably going to take a while, so it's not really too urgent. And the thing is, they don't even know Goma was looking for this, or who Goma is, because they never encountered him. But they warned Shin and Kibito of what's happening, and there's not really too much they could do right now, because they could go there and just defeat Goma, but what's really the point? That'll probably cause more problems if anything, because Goma hasn't started anything with them. So they're at least alert about it and know to be on the lookout for him. And if he ever does show up in Universe 7 for some reason, they'll stop him right away. Still, Trunks is concerned about Broly, but thankfully when he traveled to the past, he did get to train with everyone for just a little bit. Well, I wouldn't really call it training, it's more like sparring matches, but he got to see the godly forms that they have. And even though Trunks just got Super Saiyan 3 for himself, these forms are even greater. He wants to get a god form for himself, and he wonders how they achieved it. He's not going to be able to get it through training, but thankfully, there is another really easy way to get it, the Super Saiyan God ritual. So they gave Trunks a parting gift before he went back home. Trunks now has become a Super Saiyan God, and with this power, he's going to try and defeat Broly. He and Tapion embark on an adventure out in space. Shin's not entirely sure about this whole idea, but he's got to help them because, well, they got to have some transport somehow. This is the best way to do it. And the more he thinks about it, the more he realizes that it's going to be better to have Broly dealt with than just leave him out there, potentially just destroying everything. By now he's actually ravaged South Galaxy, but he's taken a long time to do it, because Paragus is trying to hold him back, and Broly's also trying to enjoy himself. Soon enough he's going to make his way to North Galaxy, as well as West and East. Trunks is also really surprised to hear how many times he came back in the past, so he wants to make sure Broly is dead. Nothing will make him come back at all. Eventually, he's able to find Paragus and Broly, and Trunks wastes no time. Immediately, he goes to attack Broly as Tapion attacks Paragus. Tapion kills Paragus pretty quick, and Broly's glad he has someone to fight, instantly powering up ready to fight Trunks. And given the amount of time that he's been left alone here, he's actually grown stronger. Just over time, he's gotten better and better at fighting, and he's gotten more and more power. Trunks can't really tell for sure, but it almost looks like he's in a legendary Super Saiyan 2 or something. It's a good thing Trunks is prepared, showcasing Super Saiyan God, and despite how strong Broly is, with Super Saiyan God, Trunks is able to overcome him. Had he not gotten this ritual done on him, he would have definitely been dead. Even with Super Saiyan 3, Broly would have manhandled him. But again, Trunks is pretty no-nonsense, so he tries to not draw out the fight and makes it as quick as possible. Broly's still a pretty tough opponent, but Trunks has the upper hand. He wins, and now he could finally be at ease, resting knowing that Broly's not going to be out there anymore. So now, Trunks' timeline returns to peace. Some time passes, and we get to the point where the Tournament of Power would be announced. Even though there's only one Zeno here, the tournament is still going to happen because Zeno saw the Universe 6 tournament, and he's going to get bored without another Zeno to keep him company. Universe 7 now has to come up with a team. It's pretty straightforward. It's probably going to be Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, 17, 18, Krillin, Roshi, and Tapion for 9 members. Tien would probably be the choice for the 10th member, but in the original story he did need some more convincing anyways, so maybe Goku's going to consider other options here. Well, they have a lot of choices. What if they get Tarble? What if they get Goten or Trunks? Their old pal Rayleigh. I actually never really cover her in my stories, but just know that she is canon. I'm not just mentioning her because the story's about including all the non-canon stuff. Anyways, they could even go for reviving an old villain. Like, there's Frieza, or Cooler, or Cell. Cell would probably be a good idea. He would love to fight. Garlic Jr. is still around too. Actually, if they're talking about getting dead people, there's also Pikkon. Vegeta says they shouldn't bring back a villain just because they have many options here. And if anything, of the villains, Cell would be the best pick, but they would probably go for Pikkon. But Vegeta says he should stop suggesting villains. What's next? He's gonna suggest reviving Broly? Wait a second. Yeah, Broly could help them. Vegeta shouldn't have said anything. But Goku says he's not thinking about reviving Broly. He's thinking about the other Broly, the one they haven't found yet. He's out there somewhere, and Goku's sure that with some help from Beerus and Whis, maybe they could find him. Vegeta says that's pretty insane. Look at what the other Broly did. He was evil, and he was nuts. Well, they're gonna have to find him eventually, and Goku says that if he turns out to be evil, then fine, just defeat him and don't recruit him. But in the chance that he isn't evil, and he could join their team, well, they're gonna have a really strong team member. Vegeta says he doesn't want anything to do with this, and if Kakarot wants to go and get himself killed, he can go alone. Plus, knowing that the other Broly had a grudge against Vegeta, it's probably best that Vegeta doesn't go along this time. So Goku goes to Beerus and Whis, and Whis helps him locate Broly. It takes a little bit of time, but they're eventually able to locate Planet Vampa, and after all this time of not knowing anything about Broly, they finally get to meet him. Now, just off the bat, Goku can immediately tell that he's different from the other Broly. Of course, when Goku gets onto Vampa for the first time, they're immediately hostile, but not in the sense like the other Broly where he's a complete psychopath. They're hostile because they've been alone on this planet for decades, and 2 people show up out of nowhere, and one of them's a Saiyan. Broly even briefly fights Goku, but he starts talking with them. Aspar sees that he has a chance to get off the planet, and they also learn of the stakes of the tournament. They also learn how Goku even found them in the first place, and why he's here, how he knows about them. Had he known that this Broly had a different personality from the other one, he probably would have sought him out sooner. He's clearly really strong, and he has some of that same crazy power, but not evil. At least, it seems like that. But it's not like he could use that legendary form at the moment. It looks like when he transforms, he goes into a state where he's using the power of a great ape. This is the only thing Goku gets to see right now because Paragus stops Broly from fighting after this. But anyways, it's decided. Broly's the 10th member for the tournament, and Broly is brought back to Earth alongside Aspar. Vegeta is stunned to see that he's similar but still different from the other Broly. And Aspar, of course, still hates Vegeta, just like Paragus. After all, this is just Paragus from Dragon Ball Super with a different name. And the other Paragus from Dragon Ball Z hates Vegeta too. Aspar then asks about his relatives though. What happened to Paragus and the other Broly? Well, Goku goes into detail and explains what happened with the other Broly. And it sounds to Aspar like that other Broly is a lot more unhinged. And if that Broly somehow got defeated despite his insane power, then this one probably shouldn't try to kill them either because he might not stand a chance. Broly doesn't really want to fight anyone anyways, besides Vegeta because he's been basically brainwashed for that. But he's not looking to just murder everyone because of some sort of bloodlust that he has. Unlike the other Broly who was pretty much cognizant while he was using his insane power, this Broly loses control. A strange difference they didn't expect. The Tournament of Power begins, and right off the bat, it's pretty clear that Universe 7 has a good advantage. Thanks to how Toei scaling Dragon Ball Z works, Goku and Vegeta are somewhat equal to their normal selves here, I say that because even though they missed out on the growth from the Goku Black arc, it balances out with the other strength increases they got just from Toei stuff being canon here. So this Goku and Vegeta are pretty much equal to Goku and Vegeta in canon at this point. Piccolo, on the other hand, is on par with these two. He has Orange by now, so he's a lot stronger than normal. Tapion and Gohan are also on that level, Tapion having Godly Ki now, while Gohan has Ultimate and he never ended up losing it. Since Gohan has been training with Ultimate here, even though it's not an extensive amount of training, Gohan would be stronger than normal. Not to an insane degree, but still a notable amount. The rest of the team is pretty much the same, and because of those other people I just mentioned, the team is pretty much stacked. Jiren is still going to be an issue though. Goku ends up facing him first, and he resorts to a Spirit Bomb like normal. Thanks to having a stronger team, the Spirit Bomb itself is going to be stronger, particularly because of the help from Broly, alongside a stronger Gohan and Piccolo, and Tapion being there. More strength for the Spirit Bomb means more fuel for Goku, so once he falls into it, he still unlocks Ultra Instinct Omen like normal, but this time it's a little bit stronger and it lasts a little bit longer, though he's still not going to win against Jiren right now. One of the more crazy fights happens later on. The Saiyans in Universe 6 are in a weird spot because they don't have Super Saiyan. Kappa never fought with Vegeta, so while he knows about Super Saiyan, he hasn't obtained it and didn't know how to train for it in the first place. But at some point I think Kale would awaken her Berserk form, and it's at this time when Broly actually is the one to fight her. Broly barely has any training. Now Broly doesn't have a ton of fighting experience besides that sparring match that he had with Goku, although it was more like him trying to kill Goku at first, but I'll call it a sparring match. The good thing is Broly grows as he fights, so in this tournament he's already adapting. But Kale is an issue. Using her power in her Berserk state, this pushes Broly to actually transform, going into his wrathful state at first, but he keeps on growing from there. And Kale's also Berserk, so it's two Berserk people fighting each other. And fun fact, even though Broly is in a lower form here, he's probably going to be stronger than Kale by a pretty good margin. I know, it sounds kind of ridiculous, but let me explain. So, in the Broly movie, we see that wrathful Broly was actually fighting against Super Saiyan God Goku, and of course, Super Saiyan God Vegeta very briefly. These are Goku and Vegeta post-Tournament of Power, so they're already stronger than the ones that we saw in the tournament, of course. Now, in the actual tournament, a weakened, tired-out Super Saiyan God Goku was actually fending off Kale and Caulifla together, and this is actually after Kale controlled her Berserk form, which would have made her stronger then. So the chain of scaling is very simple here. Wrathful Broly, even before fully adapting in battle, was able to take on Super Saiyan God Goku and eventually even overpower him. That Super Saiyan God Goku is stronger than the one in the tournament that fought Kale. And that Kale is stronger than the Berserk Kale we're seeing right now. So that's all to say that Wrathful Broly is more than enough to defeat Kale. However, I feel like with both of them being completely out of control, it's going to draw out the fight, and neither of them ends it right away. He could have taken Kale out of the ring really easily, but the main issue is that it was prolonged enough to push Broly to transform further. Broly does know the stakes here and knows that if he's eliminated, his entire universe might be erased. So even though he's not fully cognizant right now, that's in the back of his mind. And he gets a new surge of anger and determination, causing him to awaken in the ring, going Super Saiyan for the first time. His life is on the line here after all, and he's already kind of lost control, so it's a lost cause. When Broly goes Super Saiyan, he knocks Kale out of the ring right away. And then he starts just destroying everything. He expels a bunch of energy out of him and launches Ki Blast everywhere. Universe 7 is immediately mortified once they see Broly transform because they know what happened when the other Broly transformed. And despite changing Broly's origin here, as I mentioned, I didn't want to change a lot about him. I just wanted to fit both Brolys in the story together, so this Broly's power will act the same as normal. He has an unrestrained Super Saiyan right now. The only difference is that when he eventually gets his green-haired form, I'll actually just refer to it as Legendary Super Saiyan due to the other Broly being related to him. That's just a name change though, nothing about it will change functionally. I feel like everyone in the story would just call it that anyways. But Goku and Vegeta are a bit confused because they know Broly had a lack of control, but first of all, why does he have a lack of control unlike the other Broly, and second of all, why is he only in regular Super Saiyan? They expected Legendary to come out. Broly causes havoc in the ring and no one can really stop him. A lot of people just aren't even strong enough to contend with him. He knocks out a bunch of people, racking up over 20 eliminations right away. Krillin and Roshi were knocked out of the ring already, but he even goes after other people in Universe 7. Tapion, 17, and 18 get caught in the crossfire. Even with Tapion and 17 trying to throw up their barriers, this guy is just too strong to defend against. Universe 6 even tries to go after him too because, well, he eliminated Kale and Hit's probably their best bet since he's still in the ring right now. He hasn't gone after Jiren yet. Broly is able to eliminate Hit, and he eliminates the rest of Universe 6 single-handedly. Kappa and Caulifla are still in the ring, and Caulifla still does have the Potara earrings. This was going to be a last resort, but now she can't use them with Kale. Kappa's then knocked out of the ring too, and now she has no one to fuse with, and she's the last member of her team. Zeno's pretty entertained by Broly, so he's not mad to see an item in the ring. And Caulifla then yells over to Goku, throwing the Potara earring at him. She knows they're on different teams right now, but They need to find some way to stop that guy, and this is probably their only best bet. Goku's surprised to see Potara earrings here, but the good thing is they know that the fusion isn't permanent, and this will be easier to do than doing the fusion dance in the ring, if they need to. Will they actually need that to defeat Broly? Well, as they are right now, probably. Goku and Vegeta were just about to face Jiren again, and Vegeta's already gotten Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, but Goku can't just tap into Ultra Instinct if he wants. But speaking of Jiren, seeing Broly causing all this havoc, he goes in to try and stop him, thinking that this might be an easy fight, but right off the bat it's clear that Jiren can't really hold back his power here. He tries fighting Broly while he's suppressed, but Jiren then goes full power, and the Gods of Destruction are stunned. Seeing Jiren go all out, and seeing Broly's strength, Broly continues growing, and even worse, Jiren was making some progress against him, but he ends up pushing Broly to transform once more. His aura takes on a greenish color, and there's a huge surge of ki. The entire ring starts cracking in multiple pieces. Broly goes into his full power state, or what they call here, Legendary Super Saiyan. Jiren's even pushed back by this. He can't believe the power that he's facing right now. He tries his best to fight against Broly, but then there's a blinding glow nearby.
What a shame. We wanted to fight on our own.
A voice echoes through the arena. At this rate, Broly's gonna kill everyone and they'll be disqualified, and Universe 7 might even lose because of that. If someone's hiding out right now, it'll just cause them to win. A new fighter then steps up to face Broly. He introduces himself as Vegito, and this is Vegito Blue. Vegito transforms and tells Jiren to step aside. He's got this. Broly's still completely uncontrolled and starts fighting Vegito, and Vegito holds nothing back. And he does have a little bit of fun like this. Of course, this was the first time Vegeta was born, and he wants to test it out a little bit, but he's got a more important objective right now. He apologizes to Broly as he then uses all of his power, charging into one fist and with a single punch, knocking Broly completely unconscious. He de-transforms back into his base state, and Vegito then tosses him out of the ring. Vegito's a little bit bummed because a lot of people got eliminated and they lost Broly. But even worse, he's fused right now. He's not going to have as much fun. Sure, even if he tries to use a bunch of power to undo the fusion, it's gonna take a little bit of time. They're kind of losing the thrill of the battle here. Beerus tells him to stop playing around. Don't wait for the fusion to be undone, just win the tournament. And yeah, Vegito probably doesn't have any other choice anyways, so he starts going around eliminating whoever's left. It's not too hard to get rid of Jiren because he's already injured right now, and everyone else is way weaker than Jiren. Basically, Vegito just cleans house. And Universe 7 ends up winning, with only a few people left in the ring. Vegito, Gohan, and Piccolo. As for the MVP of the tournament, well, it's kind of tough to make it Vegito because he's not going to exist in a few minutes. But they just assign it to Goku, who's part of Vegito right now, so Vegito ends up making the wish, deciding to restore all the other universes. And Zeno's very happy with the outcome. He had an entertaining tournament, and the mortals wish for what he expected. Following the tournament, Broly apologizes to everyone for losing control. They were kind enough to take him off of Vampa, and he nearly ended up killing them and getting the universe erased, but Goku appreciated his help, and he was glad to see Broly's power. He can't wait to help him tame that. Goku says that this Broly is even stronger than the other one they fought, so he's definitely going to be a good ally going forward. Well, as long as he wants to be an ally with them. And it seems like, thanks to these people helping them off Vampa, they're probably not going to try to kill Vegeta anymore. Far away in Universe 7, the Galactic Patrol prison has a prisoner that escapes. It's Moro. His magic has somewhat returned. He could go straight to Namek to wish for more power, but he actually has a different idea. One that might be far better than going to Namek. Now, of course, he still wants the Dragon Balls, but where he's going, he'll get the power and he'll get the Dragon Balls. It's time for him to go home. He seeks out Warp Sama, as he aims to go to the Demon Realm, obtaining the Third Eye, and getting the Dragon Balls there. And who knows, maybe he'll come back and go to Namek and get more Dragon Balls. Moro goes straight for the Demon Realm. Of course, the Patrol immediately knows about Moro's escape, and they decide to go to Earth. Mayra specifically goes there because Jocko told him there's a bunch of strong people, and maybe the Saiyans there could help out. They're gonna have to travel there on their own, and maybe once they're in the Demon Realm, Goku could teleport right to him. But that remains to be seen. Moro makes very quick work. Immediately when he gets to the third demon world, he starts absorbing various demons along the way. Now, even though Garlic Jr. is the ruler of the Demon Realm right now, he hasn't really made any changes yet. Thankfully, he's not an oppressive ruler like Dabra was, for example, or like Goma would have been. But he kinda just sits there. He's more like a lame duck ruler. The demon worlds aren't united just yet. Anyways, Moro gains some power by absorbing a bunch of the demons around here, and he eventually finds Tamagami 3. He's able to locate the Dragon Balls just by sensing them. This is something he actually did in canon. So he finds Tamagami 3, defeats him, and even kills him. Despite his old age, Moro has more than enough power for this. Even without having his youth restored, Moro put up a great fight against Vegeta and Goku on Namek, so he's more than strong enough to fight Tamagami 3 here. Neva senses this and is pretty concerned. Garlic even senses this too, but he's not worried just yet. he's got a trick up his sleeve. Moro gets to the second demon world and grows even stronger, killing Tamagami 2 and then getting his second Dragon Ball. He's doing this all very quickly, and he's killed a good chunk of the population along the way. His plan is to get the Dragon Balls and restore his youth. And then, once his youth is restored, he's going to use the third eye. Now, just like he could sense the Dragon Balls, I feel like he'd be able to also sense the presence of the third eye. He expects to find it in the first demon world, but it's strange. As he tries to locate it, he feels a couple of strong magic presences. One is in the first demon world, but 2 of them are actually in the third demon world. Were there third eyes there as well? Little does he know, he completely passed up the store that sold them because he didn't even expect to see it there. But whatever. Knowing that one of them is in the first demon world tells him that somebody probably already has access to it, probably the king of the demon realm. Moro feels he's unstoppable, and being cocky like he is right now, he decides to go right for the first demon world, not backtracking and going to the third one. Also, if he backtracks, he risks being stopped midway. It looks like the king's forces are going after him already, so he needs to just keep pressing forward. He arrives in the first demon world and continues absorbing more of Garlick's troops. He's still old, but not as much as before thanks to absorbing all of this energy. There's been plenty of snacks for him along the way. Even besides the demon realm's residents, he just takes the natural life energy of the planets along the way. He feels the third eye's presence nearby. The first thing he does is immediately go for Tamagami 1. Neva's nearby, and he even buffs Tamagami 1 in preparation for this, but it doesn't work. Moro simply absorbs the buff for himself, taking away the magic that Neva granted him. He easily kills the final Tamagami, getting the third Dragon Ball. Sensing Neva nearby, he then sticks a hand out, telekinetically dragging the Namekian towards Moro. This must be the Namekian who made the Dragon Balls here. He can't kill him just yet, but he wants to make sure he stands still. So he holds on to Neva as he then summons Porunga, quickly wishing for his youth to be restored. Great. Now he has no use for Neva, and no one else really needs the Dragon Balls. Right as he's about to execute Neva, a magical beam of energy flies right past him. And Neva is freed from his grasp, drawn away by some other force of gravity. A small demon steps up. Moro is a bit confused at first, but then he realizes who this is. This must be the new king. It has been millions of years, so he doesn't know about anybody else that has been here since. But after sensing everything that was going on in the universe, I feel like he might have at least been aware of Dabra, and how he was defeated. Dabra now resides in heaven, and while he's there in heaven, he actually can sense everything that's happening at the demon realm. Now Dabra's been good. Since we are including filler as canon here, Dabra's a good guy after death. But he worries about the demon realm now, and he kind of regrets how he ran the place. He monitors the situation, and as he prances around heaven, he actually runs across 2 people. Twins, in fact. Anyways, back to this fight. Moro underestimates Garlic Jr. at first, but then he goes into his super form. The 2 begin fighting. Moro asks him if he's going to use the third eye. He says it's clearly in his possession and there's no point in holding it back. Garlic Jr. says fine. He'll do that. The third eye then pops out of his forehead. He merged with it a while ago. When he became the king of the demon realm, he made sure to seek this out for extra power, and eventually he did find it. Some demon had it as part of his belt, so thankfully it wasn't too hard to find. He's merged with it for so long that he's even learned to conceal it. However, it still does have the same weakness. If he's hit 3 times on the back of the head, it'll be knocked out of his head, and Moro knows about this. The thing he doesn't realize is that Garlic is going to be really hard to defeat. He's immortal, he has the third eye, and he has his dead zone barrier. Plus, that technique he just used to grab Neva, that wasn't him using telekinesis or anything. He can control gravity. He's grown more adept with using the dead zone, and even applying it to his magic too. Besides creating and opening black holes and having the dead zone barrier around him to block attacks, he could use it to manipulate gravity. Moro tries to absorb power from Garlic Jr., but Garlic counters. The power from the third eye protects him. So, Moro tries to use the weakness of it, trying to hit Garlic on the back of his head, but every time he tries to hit Garlic, none of his attacks land, specifically on the back of his head. What? Did Moro think that he wouldn't know about the weakness of the third eye as well? Moro regrets not going back to the first demon world, because this is a losing battle. He's not going to be able to obtain the third eye here, or defeat Garlic. He tries to escape, but Garlic doesn't let him. And amidst this battle, Maris, Goku, and Vegeta eventually arrive. Garlic's a bit terrified to see them here, but it looks like they're not here to fight him or anything. It's probably for this Moro guy. The whole reason Garlic has grown this strong by now is because he was kind of scared of everybody on Earth, and despite his immortality, Garlic's time with the Cell showed him that he was really weak in comparison to everyone, as well as the fight against Majin Buu and Janemba. Moro sees these Saiyans and he could sense their godly presence. Saiyan gods. Interesting. What are they doing here? Goku and Vegeta watch for now, but tell Garlic if he needs help, they'll step in. Though, it looks like Garlic's got this. Moro tells them to not be so cocky. They might be Saiyan gods, but just like the original Super Saiyan gods, who once fought the evil Saiyans, they will fall again. At least, once he kills Garlic. Evil Saiyans? What's he talking about? Garlic continues facing Moro, and he even grows larger in size. Moro tries again to steal energy from him, but this actually just buffs Garlic if anything. Since the third eye adapts to attacks, it'll probably even adapt to this type of magic. So, Garlic now has the energy absorption in his possession, reversing it, using it to return all the energy that Moro's stolen. Now, he still did get a lot of power from the Dragon Balls, but any power he gained by absorbing life in people, that gets returned and those people get restored. Garlic says he's glad to have his subjects back. Maybe he'll consider uniting these worlds, but first he has to get rid of Moro. With one final attack, he gravely injures the wizard. Moro's bleeding out, and Garlic asks him something. He's originally from the Demon Realm, isn't he? And Moro says that's true. Besides his amazing magical prowess, that's part of the reason he knew about all this stuff. He tells Garlic he'll never be defeated. And Garlic begs to differ. If he wanted to wish for something really good, he should have wished for immortality. With a final blast, he completely eradicates Moro. He even almost deployed the Black Water Mist. That way he could have made Moro one of his minions, but he doesn't know if that would have worked against Moro, and Moro is too dangerous, so he opted for killing him. Thankfully, Garlic isn't incredibly evil, and despite still being evil, he doesn't plan to rule this place like Dabra did. Considering the Demon Realm once produced people like this millions of years ago, he doesn't want any other Moros to be born. He's glad Neva's still alive too, and tells him he can rebuild those Tamagami. Neva's amazed at the power he just witnessed. So are Goku and Vegeta. Wow, Garlic has grown a lot since they last saw him. And Garlic could tell that they have grown as well. But he reminds them. He said he wasn't going to mess with their world or anything, so he hopes they don't plan to do anything to him. Goku says no, they were just trying to help against Moro. Garlic breathes a sigh of relief. Well, at least that's been dealt with. Goku then asks Garlic if he knows anything about what Moro was talking about. He seemed to know some stuff about the Saiyan gods, and some sort of evil Saiyans. Like, they've heard these rumors before when first doing the Super Saiyan God ritual, but they don't know anything in detail. Neva says he doesn't know much about it either, but it shouldn't concern them. That's ancient history, and surely, there's no way an evil Saiyan will rise up again. Granted, he still knows very little about it, but he's brushed up on his knowledge of the Namekian Book of Legends. I feel he'd know at least something about these Saiyans. Back in heaven, Dabra breathed a sigh of relief. His demon realm is safe. The two people with him ask what happened, and he explains. After death, Dabra spent his time frolicking around heaven and meeting a bunch of great warriors, learning things about the universe that he didn't know before. He's even met Goku's friend Pikkon. And it's weird, these two people that he just came across, they seem to be Saiyans. He asks who they are. Their names are Shala and Giblet. They tell Dabra they've been dead for a while. Dabra says he feels a weird presence coming from them, and Giblet says it's because they're descendants of the original Super Saiyan God. It must be that godly energy he's sensing. Interesting. Charlotte says that when Dabra mentioned demons, they didn't know he meant actual demons. He thought it was all metaphorical, like maybe an evil Saiyan rose up again. Evil Saiyans? Dabra doesn't really know about any of that either. But that's part of the reason he's exploring this world now. He wants to learn more about history, the history of everything. Maybe these two will be a good resource. Back in the living world in Universe 7, let's go to Beerus' planet. Goku and Vegeta continue training. They didn't actually get to fight against Moro, but Goku was able to figure out Beerus' origin, and he trained with him to get Ultra Instinct Omen. He's still going to be delayed in getting the complete Ultra Instinct, especially because he didn't get it in the Tournament of Power, but he's on a good track, and at some point, I feel like he'd unlock it. Meanwhile, for Vegeta, he eventually gets Ultra Ego. Broly's been training with them a bunch too, and he has control over his legendary form. Since he's been around them for way longer and been training for way longer, while Goku and Vegeta are probably on par with their normal selves, Broly's actually way beyond his normal self, just because of that. The Granola arc can't really happen here. No Moro means no Zuno for the Heaters, and no Frieza means no reason for Granola to make the wish. Funny enough, Granola and the Heaters don't even realize that ancient ancestors of the Heaters were unleashed a few years adio, long since sealed away by the Kaio. Granola lives his life out on cereal, and, for now, everything's going to be low-key with him, but we might see him later on. As I mentioned in the first part, Bardock's escapades on Planet Cereal still went the same way as normal. Bardock still was there, and he was the one to help save Granola. Without the Granola arc happening right now, Goku and Vegeta aren't going to learn about that. But even stranger, they're never going to find out about the fact that Bardock was sent back in time and became a Super Saiyan to fight Chilled. But who knows, maybe down the line they'll learn about this. So that brings us to our final arc of Dragon Ball Super, Superhero. This starts out pretty different. Piccolo's going to be handling things alone as he has Orange. The Gammas don't have knowledge of his full power, and when Gamma 2 is sent out to fight him, Piccolo defeats him with ease. Then he defeats Gamma 1. However, the quick defeat of the Gammas causes a big issue. Magenta panics, and Cell Max isn't even near complete yet. Preemptively, he wants to awaken Cell Max, a little bit earlier than normal. So against Hedo's warnings, that's exactly what he does. The Gammas are alerted and immediately try and head back to base to help Hedo. Piccolo could sense this, and he asks them what's happening, and they explain. Dr. Hedo was continuing Dr. Gero's research on Cell, basically creating a brand new version of Cell, a better one. Piccolo could fly a lot faster than the two of them, so he simply grabs onto the Gammas by their capes, going orange and rocketing over to the Red Pharmaceutical base. As he flies over, two other people fly alongside him, Gohan and Tapion. Since no one else knew about this assault on the Red Ribbon Army, Goten, Trunks, 18, and Krillin aren't present. Bulma's not involved either, and Pan wasn't kidnapped, so she's not involved. But Gohan and Tapion sensed what was going on with Piccolo, as well as this insane power that was just unleashed, so they caught up with him, and when they arrive at the base, they see Cell Max rampaging. Since they weren't nearby, Cell Max has already left the base, and is slowly making his way towards civilization. They're gonna have to fight him. A 4v1 ensues, and even with the great power of everybody combined, still, it's not gonna be enough. Piccolo's the strongest of these four right now, but his orange form still can't make a dent, even when Hedo tells them about the weak spot. So, Piccolo decides he's gonna try and buy some time, asking for Gohan to charge an attack. Gohan agrees, and he has an attack in mind. And I think you could see where I'm going with this. Gohan here is pretty relative to normal. The only difference is I would say he's not nearly as rusty as he was normally. But strength-wise, right now, he's pretty much where he should be in Superhero. And with the way things are going, it eventually leads to Piccolo's defeat, causing Gohan to awaken his beast form, defeating Cell Max pretty much the same way as normal. Hedo eventually makes his way to Capsule Corp and starts working for Bulma. And now Gohan, Piccolo, and Tapion have new allies, the Gammas. But, just like that, we've now ended off Dragon Ball Super. However, before we get to the end of Z, there's still something else. The Tournament of Power was a pretty big spectacle, especially with a bunch of universes being erased, and one mortal in particular wants to do something about it. Zeno has way too much power and authority. To think, he could just erase universes on a whim and no one could stop him, except for this particular individual. He has a plan, but he's also going to need some allies. Goku continues growing rapidly. One thing to make note of here is that, by Dragon Ball GT, Goku has some sort of weird ability to just adapt to anything after seeing it once, so he's going to have to get it at some point here, and I feel like now would be the best time, and yes, I know, that's a really overpowered ability. Don't blame me, blame Toei. Funny enough, I can make it retroactively make a little more sense because, let's just say it's a property of Goku training with Ultra Instinct. It makes his body react and act on its own. So, with this type of training, on top of the crazy adaptation and mimicry Goku already has, I feel like it would actually make sense to say that Ultra Instinct gives him this ability, even when he's not in the form itself, because he could still use the principles of Ultra Instinct while in base or whatever other forms he has. This isn't hyperbolic or anything either. It's been shown multiple times that Goku's basically immune to attacks after seeing them once. Legit Maharaga level stuff. So if he doesn't have that already, he's on his way to that. Goku trains in Otherworld for a bit too, meeting with Pikkon again. Pikkon said that he had to travel to the Demon Realm recently. Some guy named Shula was trying to open a portal again. Garlic Jr. stopped it from happening though, and Pikkon also went there for assistance, kind of acting as a liaison between the Demon Realm. While he's dead, the only thing he really has to do is training, so he kind of helps the Kais and monitors the different places like the Demon Realm, Hell, Heaven, etc. Goku's pretty surprised to hear this though. Oh yeah, he remembers that Shula guy from a while ago. This was decades ago. Though if he was successful in opening a portal from the Demon Realm to Earth, it wouldn't really amount to much considering that Garlic Jr. is a much better ruler and the place isn't like incredibly evil anymore. It's relatively peaceful in fact. Garlic Jr. is happy that he gets to rule somewhere. On Beerus' planet one day, an unexpected visitor arrives. It's Fuwa, the Supreme Kai of Universe 6. He's asking Beerus for help with something, which is really weird. Why not just ask Champa? He wasn't able to find Champa, so Beerus is the next best thing. Great. He has to clean up another one of his brother's messes. Though Fuwa says Universe 7 might be at risk too. Okay, well, now that has his attention. Universe 6 is being attacked, or at least some of the planets are. He knows the mortals in each universe have pretty good relations with each other, particularly the Saiyans, so he's wondering if the Saiyans would like to help fight against this threat. They've already sent Hit out, but they don't know if he can handle this himself. Goku and Vegeta are nearby at the time, and they decide to go along with it. It'll be nice for Broly too. He's now on Beerus' planet, training alongside them. Shin gets here as transport, and he teleports them to Universe 6, wondering what's going on. They arrive on a planet alongside Hit, and it looks like their opponents are Caulifla and Kale. Kappa's there too, and he tells them what's going on. He had to hold them off until Hit got here, but Caulifla and Kale got possessed by some thing. Well, Goku looks at them and they're not purple, which is a good sign. It's not the thing that possessed Vegeta before. And it doesn't look to be a Goku Black type situation. It's an actual parasite possessing them, so they get ready for battle. What they don't realize is that Kale and Caulifla have been possessed by Kamen and Orin, artificial Tuffle creations from Universe 6. Yep, we gotta do at least one Dragon Ball Heroes arc here. Because they don't know much about what's happening, this gives Kamen and Orin an advantage. They prioritize defeating Kale because she's the stronger one, and they don't want that to get out of hand. They're able to defeat her and expel Kamen from her body, but Orin leaves Caulifla's body at the same time, taking this opportunity to possess someone else, Vegeta. The fight before wasn't that hard, but now, Vegeta being possessed is going to complicate things. Goku nervously chuckles. This isn't the first time Vegeta's body's getting possessed by someone. Hopefully it's the last time. Surely, there's not going to be some other artificial lifeform taking over Vegeta's body, right? Like, what would be the odds of that? Goku goes into Ultra Instinct and starts fighting Vegeta, with Hit killing Kamen. Orin needs to adapt to Vegeta's body a little bit more, but he can kind of use the principles of Ultra Ego here. Goku thinks he might still have this battle in the bag though. As long as he ends it quickly, he'll be fine. But as this battle's going on, Another warrior emerges, though in another universe. Shin arrives back on the battlefield and tells them about this. He wants to take Broly with him to help out. Goku says he's kind of busy here and he'll handle Vegeta. Shin thinks they'll probably need help from others as well, like Gohan, Piccolo, and Tapion. Goku's gonna stay here with Hit and Kappa. Broly's gonna go with Shin to Universe 11, where the other threat has risen. But Shin also tells Goku that another threat has risen in Universe 7, and when Goku hears who it is, he's kind of bummed out that he's not getting to fight that guy. But Shin fills Broly in on the way, needing to explain who both villains are because Broly knows nothing about either of them. In Universe 11, there's another Saiyan there, a perfect opponent for Broly. Shin doesn't know much about him, but he appears to be an ancient Saiyan, named Cumber. Jiren, Toppo, and Dispo will be fighting alongside Broly. Broly wonders if that's overkill, but Shin's not entirely sure. From what they've seen of that guy, he's strong. Then in Universe 7, he's gonna have to transport Gohan, Piccolo, and Tapion to fight another villain, Goku Black. How's Goku Black back? Well, no one's entirely sure how he was resurrected, but in this scenario, he never merged with Zamasu. And if you know what arc I'm doing, and you know that Merge Zamasu's involved from there, that's why Goku Black's replacing him here. The thing is, they know a lot less about Goku Black here anyways. Sure, Trunks warned everyone about him, but they never actually got to face him. So it looks like this is the same one that Trunks defeated, which interests Tapion knowing that his future self helped defeat this guy. And Goku Black shows off a strange pink-haired form that they've never seen. Gohan, Piccolo, and Tapion are confident. Meanwhile, in Universe 11, Broly's fight with Cumber rages on. And it looks like Broly was right. They are kind of overkill, so they should be able to stop Cumber. And Goku's able to defeat Orin and get him out of Vegeta's body, then killing the Neo Machine mutant. Everyone's able to win their respective battles. Though Goku Black isn't killed, and nor is Cumber. Portals appear in every universe where everyone's fighting. Both the heroes and villains are transported to Earth in Universe 7. What a great way to complicate things for them. Vegeta's pretty worn out because he just got beat up by Goku, so he might not be able to fight right now. And then the true mastermind behind all of this reveals himself. For the abilities he has, they think that it might be some sort of god, like another one that's turned evil, but no, it's immortal. A man descends from the sky. His name is Hearts. I wanted to do at least one Super Dragon Ball Heroes arc, and I love Hearts, so he's going to be the one that I cover, but don't expect a bunch of other arcs to pop up. Though, this is going to be pretty important and it will affect things later on, even though we're just doing one arc. Hearts has already gotten a good amount of power for the Universe Seed, but it's still not enough. And with his immense amount of power, even though he doesn't really have healing abilities, he grants some power to Goku Black and Cumber. This way it kind of heals them, but it also empowers them. Goku Black gets a second wind, showing off Super Saiyan Rose 2. Meanwhile, Cumber's red aura flares up and he transforms into his Super Saiyan. They'll only need to fight a little bit longer and then Hearts' plan will come to fruition, as Goku begins to fight him. In Ultra Instinct he does pretty well against Hearts, but this guy is way stronger than he expected. Hearts even uses his gravity abilities on Goku, but after experiencing it once, Goku fully adapts to it and breaks through it. The gravity manipulation doesn't affect him, and Hearts is really impressed by this. He nullifies his power just after seeing it once. And not just that, Goku even tries to replicate it for himself. He can't fully do it, but after feeling the energy Hearts used to manipulate gravity, Goku attempts to harness it for himself, empowering his punches with it. He has a wide array of abilities. He can't use the Hakai as well as Vegeta, but he even has that too. And at one point during his fight with Orin and Vegeta, Goku used the God Bind, which Hit was pretty surprised to see. It looks similar to the time lag that he used. Goku's truly impressive. Gohan and Piccolo are able to kill Goku Black, which Hearts isn't too worried about. He was a means to an end anyway, but they join the battle against him. The Universe 6 fighters help against Cumber, and he's already facing a bunch of people at once. A full power Jiren, Broly who probably has Super Saiyan 2 by now, God of Destruction Toppo, Dispo, and he's eventually completely overwhelmed, with Broly landing the finishing blow to kill him. But Hearts harnesses the power of the Universe Seed, and now he should be unstoppable. The tide of the battle turns. Hearts has far too much power. The deaths of Kamin, Orin, and Cumber won't be in vain. He's able to overwhelm everyone, and it seems like he's going to win here. Vegeta, realizing that he doesn't have much power left anyways, gives the rest of what he has to Goku, which greatly empowers him. He tells Kakarot not to waste it, and Goku's definitely going to make great use of it. Reinvigorated, he dashes towards Hearts, wanting the others to help distract him. Broly launches up in the air and tries to grab onto Hearts, holding him in place. Gohan, Piccolo, and Tapion launch a combined special beam cannon. With Broly holding Hearts in place, he's hit directly by it, and Broly gets out of the way. This doesn't kill Hearts, but it's actually able to do some damage to him, stunning him for just enough time for Goku to get close. And, not having any other idea in mind, Goku reaches for the Universe Seed that's implanted into Hearts' chest, trying to rip it out of him, but he's not successful. Though, he's able to break it. The power of the Universe Seed is split, going between Hearts and Goku, with Goku taking on a brand new temporary form, Ultra Instinct, empowered by the Universe Seed. Now, him and Hearts are on equal footing, or at least, that's what he thinks. Really, Goku has just created a huge gap in their power. Ultimate Hearts fights against Ultimate Instinct Goku. Though it's a very short-lived battle, Goku hits Hearts with a single attack. obliterating most of his body, and slowly it starts to crumble, but Heart smirks, proclaiming his love for mortals as he dies. Son Goku gives him hope. He was just trying to free the mortals from the reign of the gods, but it looks like they're happy with how they are now, and it looks like they can handle themselves too. Hearts then completely disappears, not being erased, just killed. As the power of the Universe Seed also dissipates from Goku too, with a dead Universe Seed falling into his hand. What an incredible power he just harnessed. Vegeta walks over to that evil Saiyan's corpse. So that's what Mora was talking about, huh? An evil Saiyan from ancient times. Well, now they're both in hell together. Vegeta wonders if he should have erased them, but Goku's sure that they won't cause too much trouble in hell. He doubts they'll be hearing from any one of them. Hearts, Cumber, Goku Black, etc. Wait, speaking of Goku Black, he remembers. He didn't get to fight him. That would have been the perfect opponent for him. Though he feels kinda bad for the Goku whose body got stolen. Not much they could really do about it now. Now we arrive at the end of Z. Everyone reunites once more at a world tournament, and Goku's expecting someone to be there. Dende actually told him about this a while ago. Majin Buu got reincarnated, which is kind of a surprise to everyone besides Vegeta, because he and Goku were merged. Gogeta was the one to kill Majin Buu, and Janemba at the same time. When he got killed, Gogeta hoped that he'd get to fight him again under better circumstances, and King Yemma heard this. Majin Buu has been reincarnated as Oob, though it's a little bit different this time. Buu died with Janemba as part of him. Dende wasn't exactly certain if Oob gained the powers of him, but it's very possible that Oob is also going to have power on par with Janemba too. Definitely Majin Buu at least. So Goku's really excited to get to meet him, and he does meet Oob at this tournament, departing with him and getting ready to take him on as a new student. Now we've completely finished Dragon Ball Super, as well as that last part of Dragon Ball Z, and a Super Dragon Ball Heroes arc too, but we still aren't even close to done. More time passes. We arrive at the point when Dragon Ball GT begins. The Pilaf gang is still around, and by the way, they became young again using the Dragon Balls, so by the time Dragon Ball GT rolls around, they're pretty much just going to be the age that they were at the beginning of Dragon Ball. So they're not all old or anything. And despite being on better terms with everyone, still, Pilaf plans to rule the world someday. And despite their goofy nature, Pilaf still does have a plan to actually try and take over everything. He gathers the Black Star Dragon Balls and, muttering to himself, he just wishes that Goku would be younger again. That way he'd be so much easier to defeat. And the Dragon Balls are able to grant this wish. Goku is currently training with Oob, and then suddenly, he starts to shrink, being turned into a kid once more. Even though Dragon Ball Daima didn't happen like normal here, Goku still ends up being wished into being a kid again. Pilaf has talked a big game for so long, and now he's actually went for it. Though he didn't intend the wish to go like this, and it of course has some side effects. Because these are the Black Star Dragon Balls, that does create some issues, like Earth is gonna blow up soon issues. Goku now needs to go on a journey to gather the Dragon Balls in order to prevent Earth from being destroyed. King Kai's thankfully able to point him in the right direction, and now they know what they need to do. They'll just need a Dragon Ball radar and a ship. Vegeta's gonna stay here on Earth, and so is everyone else. In the meantime, what's been happening so far? Well, Broly's a permanent resident of Earth by now, and Paragus has probably died by this point. Thankfully, it's a natural death and not getting lasered by Frieza. Gohan, of course, still becomes a scholar, and he's a full-time working professional, though he is keeping up with his training. Piccolo, of course, still has his orange form and everything, and he's much stronger than he was in GT, with Vegeta also being a lot different, having Ultra Ego and all. Plus, Tapion's part of the crew. But Goku should be able to handle this alone, although some people do want to go along with him. Goten and Trunks are going to go with him, and this time, Goten's not actually going to be excluded. Plus, Pan wants to join along too. She started being trained by Piccolo a while ago, as well as doing some training with Goku too. Piccolo actually ramped up her training around the time when Cell Max attacked. He had a great idea too. Once the Gammas became their allies, he actually thought that they might be able to help train Pan, so she's done a lot of training with Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 of all people, who are basically working as security for Capsule Corp, with Dr. Hedo working there as well. Anyways, Goku's about to start his grand tour, with Goten, Trunks, and Pan tagging along. And given how strong this whole crew is, it's probably going to be a pretty easy journey. Even though Goku got turned into a kid, he still has a ton of power in him. Plus, as for Goten and Trunks, they've been training to unlock Super Saiyan 4. The Daima version, not the GT version because they don't know about that. Though by now, they at least have Super Saiyan 3, so that's pretty helpful for them, even though they don't have tails to mitigate the issues with it. As for Pan, she could even utilize Super Saiyan, and Goku still retains all of his god forms, but that's overkill, especially Ultra Instinct. The group embarked on their grand tour. Beerus learns of what happened to Goku, and honestly, he's not too concerned. Goku has been going between his planet and Earth ever since he actually met Beerus, so they're still in contact of course, and Goku is still training. He's grown incredibly strong. The only concern for Beerus is that he thinks that Goku might have lost some of his power with this, so he hopes Goku's going to rectify it and he's not going to get involved. Surely it shouldn't be too big of an issue, but it is. Amidst their journey, they get to see a bunch of different planets that they didn't even know existed. Like, one of the planets that they land on is called Planet Cereal. Thankfully, there's not too much issue here. One of the Black Star Dragon Balls landed here, and they got it pretty much without encountering anyone there. Turns out, by the time they got there, Granola wasn't on the planet at the moment, and Monito wasn't even paying attention, but he noticed after the fact, and he feels like he saw someone that looked kind of just like Bardock. No, that doesn't make sense. There's no way there's any Saiyans out there still, and why would they come here? What would they even come here for? Although he did sense a strange magical presence on the planet recently, not bothering to check what it was though. Well, whoever that was, maybe his path will cross with him someday. Goku comes to realize that his Super Saiyan 4 form is pretty nice with this smaller body. It's a nice balance between power, mobility, and efficiency. Plus, the bigger hands with the small body are cool to him. It makes him feel like he's a monkey. Hopefully, Frieza doesn't know he's thinking this. He gets some use out of this form again, exclusively using it because everything else is overkill and even just regular Super Saiyan's overkill, but this is the most fun. They arrive on planet M2 and this is mostly where it gets used. All the threats there get washed. Goten, Trunks, and Pan are more than enough. But as they defeat their final threat, which is Rildo, there's one final one that rises up. And it's one that Goku's all too familiar with. Goten, Trunks, and Pan have no clue what this is, but it's a really large monster. Goku can't believe it. Hachiyak? How's he here? Why is he here? He then summons a bunch of ghost warriors. Goku actually has to go all out now. Broly, Moro, Janemba, Boo, Goku Black, amongst others. Though he knows the secret behind the ghost warriors. They shouldn't be too hard to defeat as long as they don't fall for the tricks. This could be fun for Goku too. It's a nice test run for this new smaller body, and he gets to fight some of these people finally, even if they're not real. Goku powers up into Ultra Instinct, dashing around the planet, fighting dozens of villains effortlessly. Hachiyak summons even more warriors this time, even some of the weaker underlings, but it's no issue for them. Then they have to face Hachiyak head on. Goku of course knows the secret to defeating him, but it looks like Hachiyak's overcome that. Goku doesn't know why he's changed, but something's different. And it looks like they're going to need more than just figuring out his tricks here, because Hachiyak doesn't have that countdown that they could exploit. But Goten and Trunks say they have this handled. The two of them merge together, turning into Gotenks once more, instantly going into Super Saiyan 3. At first, Goku wonders if Gotenks is getting too ahead of himself, but no, he isn't. He actually is that strong. Goku could have taken on Hachiyak, but it's nice to give Goten and Trunks a chance to fight for once. Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks is able to defeat him, finishing the monster off with a powerful Kamehameha. Although, Gotenks does face some injuries here. Nothing too major, just a few cuts. Hachiyak is launched far into space, completely destroyed. Goku hopes that'll deal with him for good this time. It looks like they might have not fully destroyed him before, and Goku's assessment is right. What happened a while back is that Hachiyak wasn't fully destroyed. There were other Tuffle machines out there, of course. Baby and Dr. Mew went to retrieve the corpse of Hachiyak. They repaired him, turned him into a vessel, and placed Baby in there. This was supposed to be Baby's ultimate plan. Funny enough, they're completely unaware that other Tuffles were killed in Universe 6 some years back, with no knowledge of Kamen and Orin. Though that's not too relevant here. What matters is that, even though Baby merged with Hachiyak and got all the ghost warriors that were there, still, it wasn't enough. Gotenks was too strong for him, but Baby did escape at the very last moment. That was his ultimate plan. Using Hachiyak should have worked, but at least he was able to plant eggs in Goten and Trunks. Even though it was just small cuts, he can remain dormant in them. He needs to be very careful though. Once he gets to Earth, he'll enact his plan, and he can't have any room for failure. With all the Black Star Dragon Balls, the group returns to Earth. But Goku's still worried. Why was Hachiyak there? Goten and Trunks say it's fine because they're all safe now. Thanks to Gotenks, of course. The Black Star Dragon Balls are back on Earth, so the planet isn't going to explode. And they're not going to be used for the same exact reasons they weren't used as normal. As Baby remains dormant, he slowly starts enacting his plan. Considering how strong everyone is, he's really careful, and he takes his time, slowly being able to take over people like Piccolo, Gohan, Tapion, etc. He even considers taking over the Gammas, though since they're fully mechanical, he doesn't think he can get any hatred energy from them. And finally, he makes his way to Vegeta. He even was able to get hold of Broly. But with Vegeta, he reveals himself. Baby tries to possess the Prince of all Saiyans. What better vessel for him? Destroying the Saiyans with the Prince. It'll be perfect. Vegeta fights Baby Beast Gohan, being forced into Ultra Ego. With Gohan's strength, he is actually able to damage Vegeta, and Baby tries to possess him. But Vegeta says that's not going to happen again. He's not getting his body taken by an artificial lifeform for a third time. Plus, he's dealt with Tuffle machine mutants before. Baby's confused. How? What other machine mutants were out there? Wouldn't he like to know? As Baby tries to take over Vegeta's body, destructive energy flows through it. From within, Baby's destroyed. He can't take over Vegeta. He's completely immune to this. Of course, Goku can sense everything that's going on and instantly teleports over to where Vegeta is. He has Oob alongside him now too. And then, weirdly enough, the sky changes, and suddenly a new planet appears. One of Baby's minions got the Black Star Dragon Balls and used it to wish Planet Tuffle into the orbit of Earth. And then Baby decides that Broly's going to be his main host. he seems to have the most power, and Baby explains who he is and how he got here. So that makes sense to Goku. That's how Hachiyak reappeared. Vegeta learned about this from Goku and was pretty confused to hear about it too. But Baby says Hachiyak was merely a footnote in his story. Now to showcase his true power, powering up his Broly. Uba decides to step up first, ready to showcase his own new power. He feels that maybe with his magical abilities, he can help free Broly from Baby's possession and maybe the others too. He thinks he might be able to purify them. He's got a ton of magic within him. Oob was reborn as Maju by default. Boo was fully destroyed, there's no other Boo to merge with him, so Oob got all of that power. Plus, Janemba's power too. Two other warriors flying alongside them, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. Unsure why they weren't possessed, but what matters is that they're not possessed. Vegeta's amazed. He didn't realize Oob was that strong, but Goku says that's what they've been training for this entire time. Amidst the fight, they even see Oob dematerializing to avoid attacks, just like Janemba used to. The Gammas are just watching from the sidelines right now, but they're analyzing everything, relaying all the data back to Dr. Hedo. Maybe he could help because, well, these are machines that they're dealing with, but it turns out Hedo has been possessed, and so has Bulma, which really pisses Vegeta off to hear. Gamma 1 says it looks like it's just the 5 of them. And Gamma 2 says maybe they should call that Beerus guy to help them out, but Vegeta says they could handle this themselves. He says they might need to split up though. Oob continues fighting Broly, but slowly he's getting overwhelmed as Broly showcases more and more power. Baby starts to fully assimilate with him and even collects energy from the other people he's possessed. Goku and Vegeta swap out with him. Oob and the Gammas go to fight the other possessed warriors. Vegeta asks if Kakarot has a plan to get them to be unpossessed, and Goku says he's contacted the Supreme Kai, mentally communicating with them all the way here from Earth. And it seems that Shin and Kibito have an idea. They have a way to free everyone, but they still need to defeat Baby. As Baby continues harnessing more and more of Broly's power, Broly's full strength is realized. Baby has control over it. Now, Broly has been training pretty much this entire time. Goku and Vegeta know how great his power is, and he's even unlocked a godly form of his own, ascending beyond Legendary Super Saiyan, Legendary Super Saiyan 2, and Legendary Super Saiyan 3. And Baby taps into that godly power. Legendary Super Saiyan God Baby Broly is their enemy. He basically doubles in size in this form. Goku has grown very well with Ultra Instinct, and Vegeta the same with Ultra Ego. However, when Broly uses Legendary Super Saiyan God, he's above the both of them. Not by a significant margin, but enough to make him the strongest warrior of the group. So it's really a big issue that Baby's taking control of him too, and adding his own power, plus absorbing all the other energy from everyone else. Not to mention, Goku is weaker being in the smaller body. He can't even fuse with Vegeta. The fusion dance is too risky when he's this size, and they don't have Potara, but neither of them really want to fuse either. But the 5 of them might be enough to stop this. Shin and Kibito have worked to free the others, so they're slowly starting to regain consciousness, and they're not lending Baby energy anymore. The other fighters join in, and they decide to channel all of their energy into Goku. He's not going to have time to make a Spirit Bomb, but this is a good substitute. It worked before, even if it's going to be weaker than a Spirit Bomb. It's going to buff Goku greatly. Baby starts to get desperate. Vegeta, Oob, and the Gammas act as distractions. Baby doesn't notice that everyone else is lending their power, charging Goku with a ton of energy. Goku then bursts back into the battle, shrouded in a blinding aura, landing a single punch on Baby Broly. This punch is so powerful that, even with the single attack, it knocks Broly completely unconscious, returning to his base form. And as he falls to the ground, Baby emerges from his body. Broly's body grew from transforming, and so did Baby's. It's kind of like what happened with Baby Vegeta turning into a great ape, although to a lesser extent, because Broly wasn't growing that huge. Still, it was enough to change Baby, and it makes it so that he had to escape Broly's body. And now he's screwed, so he tries to escape the planet too. But he doesn't make it very far. As he tries flying out into space, Vegeta steps right in front of him and stops him. And with a point-blank final Shine Hakai, Baby's not only killed, but fully destroyed, erased for good. Now with that threat out of the way, there is still a threat of the Black Star Dragon Balls. Baby still used the Black Star Dragon Balls, so now they've been sent out again and they don't have any time to collect them. Or at least so they think. Beerus and Whis arrive on the planet. Shin and Kibito told them about what's going on, and hearing about the fact that Earth might be destroyed, they're not going to let that happen. There's far too much great food here for that. Beerus said he wasn't going to get involved, but it didn't mean he couldn't give some guidance. He suggests that since Shin and Kibito could teleport to any planet they want to, they could be given the Dragon Ball radar, and they could just teleport around, gathering the Black Star Dragon Balls. Even though there's only a few weeks left, that's more than enough time. Shin and Kibito can get this done in like an hour maybe. Piccolo goes alongside them to accompany them in case they encounter any threats, and they quickly go around, gathering the Black Star Dragon Balls. The Kai Kai helps them accomplish this. And as for Planet Tuffle, well, there's not really a need to keep it around. Baby failed to make his brand new empire there, and no one's currently on the planet right now, so Vegeta simply points a finger up into the sky, launching a beam right through the core of the planet, imbued with destructive energy. There's a brilliant explosion in the sky, and Earth is completely unaffected as planet Tuffle is destroyed. As Piccolo, Shin, and Kibito go around getting the Black Star Dragon Balls, Beerus then goes up to Goku and asks if he really plans to stay as a kid. Well, he doesn't want to use the Black Star Dragon Balls to reverse it, and he kind of likes this new body. He's not sure what other option he has either. He would need a strong set of Dragon Balls like the Super Dragon Balls or maybe even going to the Demon Realm, though he's not sure if those ones would work. And Goku decides it's not worth the effort of getting the Super Dragon Balls. But then Whis steps in. He asks Goku one thing. If he had the chance to get his normal body back without needing the Super Dragon Balls, would he take that chance? Well, Goku thinks for a second, and he says, yeah, he guesses if it didn't require the effort of getting the Dragon Balls, sure, he'd go for it again. While he does like being in the smaller body once more, still, he is very used to his adult body and the power that comes alongside that. Whis smiles. Very well then, and Beerus grins too, as Whis then taps Goku with his staff, and Goku starts to grow in size, returning back to his normal self. Goku didn't even realize that Whis could do this. Well, they were going to offer it, but Goku still had to go on his journey to get the Black Star Dragon Balls regardless. Vegeta remembers that Whis was able to help Bulma give birth, and they know Whis has some weird esoteric abilities, so honestly, I don't think it's really too out of the question that Whis would have the ability to change Goku's age. He kind of did that with Bra after all. Not to mention he has the power of resurrection and reversing time for an entire universe. I think he'd be able to change Goku's body back to normal. He says it's no problem at all. Plus, Lord Beerus requested it too. Goku's glad to be back to his normal self. He did have fun in that smaller body, but nothing beats this. And now, Earth is thankfully back to normal. He's just glad that Vegeta didn't get taken over again. Vegeta says he's beyond those petty tricks. However, what they don't realize is that more old threats are awaiting out there. In Hell, there's a nefarious team-up. Dr. Gero, Dr. Mew, Dr. Lychee, and Dr. Wheelo all team up. Dr. Mew is only a recent addition, but all the others are there. They're planning on killing all those warriors on Earth. And they're planning to make the ultimate machine. Dr. Gero thinks they could use another android. And Dr. Lychee thinks that, instead of getting Ghost Warriors, they could just unleash all the warriors from Hell. The Ghost Warriors failed twice after all, so this should be a lot better. Together, the four doctors start working on their ultimate project. This is what they'll use for their collective revenge. The Saiyans will be no more. And besides this, they're also gathering together warriors from across Hell. All the previous villains that have been killed by these people. They start rallying them together. This plan's gonna be amazing. Some time passes since Baby attacked. Beerus has actually fallen back asleep. When he wakes up, he expects Vegeta or Broly to be his successor. He's not too sure which one it'll be, and it's probably not going to be Vegeta. But Broly has expressed some interest. He's been doing different training now, and even though his power has had some diminishing gains and hasn't been as crazy as before, still, he has pretty good potential. Plus, he doesn't really have a specific goal that he's aiming after, and Beerus thinks that he has the right balance of power and now control, which he definitely didn't have before. He could make a good god of destruction. One day on Earth, a portal to Hell opens. Goku decides to go right into it to handle it. He's going to meet up with Pikkon too. Villains begin descending on Earth, so everyone here is going to have to defend against them. The group of doctors has enacted their plan, the greatest minds in Hell all combined, and they've unleashed their ultimate creation, a collaborative project between them. Dr. Gero goes to the living world too, while the other doctors stay behind, continuing to monitor their plan. But someone then walks up to all of them, particularly Dr. Wheelo, one of the villains that's supposed to go to Earth. Dr. Wheelo immediately recognizes who it is, and he's built a new body for himself, but it's not enough against this guy. Swiftly, he's blown up. The other doctors all look on in shock, and then Lychee's killed too, with another person stepping in and doing the same. It's two Saiyans that have teamed up. They seem to be pretty similar. One of them specifically had a hatred for Dr. Wheelo. He stole his body a while back. The two Saiyans here are Turles and Cumber, and they encounter Goku, who's now met up with Pikkon. Goku's not too surprised to see them here. He doesn't really know much about Cumber though, but he doubts Turles will be too much of a challenge, especially with how strong he is now. But Pikkon says he wants to take on this battle, showcasing a new form of his own, Super Pikkon. Turles smirks. This guy's a small fry to him. He then powers up himself, much to Goku's surprise. What, has he become a Super Saiyan? No, Cumber says it's something better. His hair grows a lot longer. At first Goku thinks it's Super Saiyan 3 or something, but no. This is the power of an evil Saiyan, the same thing that Cumber uses. Turles then lunges towards Goku, while Cumber goes to fight Pikkon. But these aren't the only Saiyans down here. Some have gone to Earth, but most of them are really weak and not going to be a problem. But another look-alike of Goku joins in on the fight. Goku Black, now in his newly awakened Super Saiyan 3. Goku chuckles. He didn't expect to see this much pushback, but still, it'll be a fun challenge for him. He wonders if these three are actually that strong. Wait a sec. All these former villains are being revived. Oh crap. Goku just came to a realization. Sure enough, once more, Broly is back. And, fittingly, when he arrives on Earth, he meets the other Broly, The two distant cousins stare each other down. There definitely is a family resemblance. Broly Asperson has heard about the other Broly, and Broly Paraguson knew the other Broly was out there, but didn't know anything about him. Still, he's definitely the superior one. He'll kill this wannabe, and then he'll destroy this entire planet, killing everyone on it. Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, all the people who stood against him before. Both Brolys power up, and much to their mutual surprise, they each show off the same exact form. The living Broly calls this legendary Super Saiyan God, while the dead Broly simply calls himself God Broly. But it's the same exact power that they're using. Broly Paraguson smirks. He definitely didn't expect this much of his cousin, but time to see who's superior. Vegeta and Piccolo are in a fight of their own. First, they encountered King Cold, who was pretty easy to kill. He actually showcased a new golden form. But then, the real challenge steps up. Frieza has returned again. He's done some training in Hell, and what better training partner than his own brother? The two of them had reunited, and together, they've unlocked the same form. Cooler first unlocked his golden form, but now, both of them showcase their strongest power. Black Cooler and Black Frieza. Vegeta's gonna love fighting these guys again. And Piccolo says maybe this time, destroy him. That way they can ensure neither of them ever come back. Vegeta says Piccolo won't have to ask him twice. Now, obviously with the Super 17 arc, the main villain was Super 17. Well, Gero had something different in mind this time. He does escape to the living world, and he actually encounters Android 17, the one who is his backup plan. Though, he's one-shotted by Android 17. He's not going to deal with Gero's antics anymore. Okay, so what was Gero's actual plan? All the doctors are actually dead now. The others in Hell have been killed by Cumber and Turles, while Gero was killed by 17. But their project was still unleashed. On another part of the planet, the ultimate project of the doctors arrives. One who wants to enact his own revenge too. Gohan's a bit surprised to see him back. It's Cell, the real one. Gohan's with Oob and the Gammas right now. They actually just defeated Cell Max once more. Which is kind of surprising to them because that implies he had a soul if he went to Hell and came back. But whatever, they don't question that. Not too far away from them, Tapion's taking on Hirudegarn, alongside Goten and Trunks. But Gohan thinks that he, Oob, and the Gammas are a good crew. Surely Cell can't be that much stronger, but what they don't realize is that he's the main event. He powers up himself, the strongest villain to be unleashed from Hell. A nefarious black energy surrounds him, incredibly evil in nature. The doctors really put their best work into him. He showcases his newest form, Golden Cell. Gohan has to stifle a laugh because, really, is that the best form he can come up with? He's just ripping off Frieza, who is ripping off them. They won't be laughing soon enough. They should take him really serious. Sure, this golden form might look similar to Frieza's, but it is what the doctors chose when they upgraded him, and this form is far superior to Frieza or Cooler. He could actually sense them not too far away. Even with the two of them combined in their black forms, still, they're not as strong as Cell is right now. Besides physical upgrades, he also has Tuffle technology. He can grow from the same energy that Hachiyak absorbed, and hatred is a really powerful energy, especially for him. It's pretty ironic he has the power of Hachiyak considering he was the one to kill him in the first place, or at least help killing him. But maybe they'll take him more seriously this time around. He never truly got to show off his perfection with everyone, and especially seeing Oob, knowing that's Boo's reincarnation, he really wants him dead. You know what, maybe next he'll go torment Garlic Jr. Somewhere in the demon realm, Garlic Jr. feels a shiver down his spine. He hopes everything's okay. Gohan powers up, breaking out his beast form, with Oob also showing off his full strength. They start fighting Cell. Vegeta and Piccolo have defeated Frieza and Cooler. It wasn't really too tough, and Vegeta actually follows through with what he said, finishing it off with a Hakai, destroying Frieza and Cooler. He also had done the same for King Cold, so now none of them are going to come back to life. Piccolo says maybe they should help out some of the others, because if Vegeta can go around erasing villains, that's going to be a huge help. Some of these guys deserve to be put down permanently. He says that maybe they should go to Hell, but Vegeta says there's no need. Kakarot can handle things on his own. Meanwhile in Hell, Goku and Pikkon are successful in their fight. Sure, the villains that they faced are pretty strong, but considering all the training Goku's had and how strong Pikkon is too, they're able to claim victory. First, killing Cumber, with Goku destroying him too. He knows the Hakai himself. And then, while it was pretty amusing to see Turles again, he's killed as well. Goku Black can't believe he's going to lose once more. He's completely enraged and he gets a nice little power boost from this, but still, it's not enough. Together, Goku and Pikkon launch a combined attack, imbued with destructive energy, killing him. Another resident of Hell is nearby watching, and he walks up to them, clapping. Wow, maybe he should have recruited that Turles guy last time. Goku's surprised to see Heart standing there, but he tells him he's not here to fight. Remember, he was on the side of the mortals after all. They just didn't agree with his methods. Goku asks if he wants to join them, but Heart says no need. It's kind of pointless to join in this fight, and he doesn't really want to kill fellow mortals if he doesn't really need to. He's not in danger here, and he could tell they've got this handled. Still, he just shrugs. Goes to show that the gods are still kind of incompetent, right? Like, they somehow let this slip by them. Goku says yeah, he guesses so, and Pikkon feels a little bit embarrassed because he's been kind of a liaison between hell and heaven, and somehow this got by him too. Oh, Hearts takes back what he said. He didn't mean to be rude, but he walks off chuckling to himself. Pikkon asks who that guy was, and Goku says it's kind of a long story. He'll tell him after this is done. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the fight between the two Brolys ends, and the living Broly wins. Despite how strong the dead Broly is, the living one is still stronger, and he finished his fight off the same way, with a Hakai. He's underwent Vegeta's training. The three of the Saiyans that were on Beerus's planet all know how to use this technique. Even though Goku uses it really sparingly, Broly's starting to use it more and more because, after all, he might be a candidate for the next God of Destruction. The fight against Cell rages on, and everyone else could sense this, so they decide to head over, realizing that he's the last villain left for some reason. They don't actually know that he's the main reason this is happening. Well, except for the people that are actually fighting him right now. They know. From Hell, Goku teleports over there with Pikkon. Vegeta and Piccolo fly over, and so does Broly. Tapion, Goten, and Trunks finish their fight with Hirudegarn, and they all arrive too. But as everyone heads over, they feel a huge shift in power, and no one's exactly sure what just happened, but when they get there, they see the Gammas were just defeated by Cell. It looks like they were buying some time against him for some reason. They're very critically damaged, but thanks to being androids, they are still alive. They just need repairs. But then Cell sees exactly what happened, and he smirks too. Standing there is an incredibly powerful warrior, one that no one has ever seen before. Goku and Vegeta are stunned. Individually, neither Gohan or Oob is the strongest. They're in the top 5, but neither is competing for number 1. But it seems they combined their power together. They fused. The fusion of Gohan and Oob stands there, in his beast form. He dubs himself Gohoop, and the merging of their power is insane. Vegeta even theorizes that this fusion might be the strongest they've ever seen. Even if they were to make Gogeta or Vegeta right now, it's the insane potential of Gohan and Oob combined. Emboldened by the beast form, Oob's magic, and the power of Janemba and Buu within Oob. His energy feels spectacular. Cell is briefly mortified seeing this fusion, kicking himself for even letting that happen, but he gets his head in the game. This'll be a fun fight. He'll still be able to win. With all his upgrades, surely he's not going to lose. But this fusion is way more than he bargained for. The fused fighter smirks. This is the first time either of them have fused. They knew the dance, but never actually initiated one. Certainly not with each other. But Gohoop's loving this new power. He's coated in a dazzling energy, and he vanishes from everyone's sight, appearing behind Cell, placing a hand on his back, as the dazzling energy transfers to the revived android. He's now coated in it, and then turn into candy. Cell's still powerful enough to move in this state, but he's confused. He shouldn't fall victim to something like this. Gohoop sticks a hand out, grabbing the floating piece of candy, and then he crushes it in his hands, channeling his energy into it as he destroys Cell. And for good measure, he eats the remaining crumbs, growing from this power too. But the fusion has already used a ton of power. It only takes a few minutes for them to defuse. But it looks like they grew stronger from this. Eating that piece of crushed up candy somehow empowered them. Weird. Well, Vegeta was hoping to Hakai Cell, but it looks like there's no need. Everyone else got destroyed too, so it doesn't matter much anymore. Pikkon returns back to Otherworld. Goku asks if he ever wants to come back to life, and Pikkon says there's not really a point anymore. He's already been dead for so long that there wouldn't be a benefit to coming back, and what's the point if he's gonna die anyways? He just tells Goku that he hopes he doesn't see him anytime soon. Aw, why not? Oh, Pikkon was trying to make a joke because that would have meant Goku died. He sees how that came off as rude. More than anything, it's been an awkward day for Pikkon. He goes back, and the portal's already been closed, so everything's fine now. But there's still a bunch of damage around Earth. There definitely are some deaths around the planet, and they're not sure how many people died. No one from the main crew did, at least, and as for the Gammas, they could be repaired by Hedo and Bulma working together. They're basically just two disembodied torsos right now with their heads attached still. But Gamma 2 is still cheery as ever, and Gamma 1 just wants to be rebuilt. Everyone else looks for the Dragon Balls. But something weird happens this time. The Dragon Balls are cracked. Smoke emanates out of them. And Shenron doesn't appear. Well, a Shenron appears, but not the one that they knew. Somehow, they've summoned Black Smoke Shenron, and from this, the Shadow Dragons are born. The Dragon Balls have gathered a ton of negative energy over the years, especially with all the crazy stuff that's happened so far. And to make things worse, these Dragon Balls are even stronger. When Piccolo asked for his potential to be awakened, they did need to upgrade the Dragon Balls, which no one even realized until now, but Dende was with them on the planet, and Shin Kibito and Elder Kai tried to help out too because they wanted to make sure Piccolo could awaken his power in that short amount of time. So, that's going to have some extra consequences. The eventual villains that they're going to face are going to be even stronger. And not just because of that, but because of everything. The Dragon Balls have been misused so much. And now, this is the result. But to be clear, this is only based on the energy from the Dragon Balls used on Earth. As the Shadow Dragons are created, they're then all summoned together, led by Sin Shenron, the one-star dragon. He has a plan in mind. and in order for it to work, he thinks the Shadow Dragons should stick together instead of attacking separately. Everyone goes on the hunt for the Shadow Dragons in order to retrieve the Dragon Balls. Putting a stop to all this, they've come to realize by now that the Dragon Balls have caused this problem, and maybe they did rely on the Dragon Balls too much. The Kai even say so too. They don't know who's to blame. The people overusing the Dragon Balls, Bulma for creating the Dragon Ball radar, or the people who made the Dragon Balls. But as Elder Kai had said before, the Dragon Balls disrupt the regular order of things, and maybe they're more trouble than they're worth. This resonates mostly with Goku, Piccolo, and Dende. Piccolo wonders if maybe they've grown past the need for the Dragon Balls. As the one who used to be Kami, the person who introduced the Dragon Balls here on Earth, he thinks that maybe this is kind of a message to them. With all the weird things that's been happening recently with the Dragon Balls, it kind of tells them what they need to do here. They need to get rid of them. Goku never thought it would have come to this. It's kind of sad to see them go, but he does agree with Piccolo. But it's still so strange. He can't help but be sentimental. The Dragon Balls are what started everything. Without them existing, he would have never met Bulma. He never would have met most of the people in his life. They changed his life. They brought other people to Earth like Vegeta. And now, they have to say goodbye permanently. The Shadow Dragons are found together, but the Z Fighters have a pretty big group right now. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Broly, Goten Trunks, Piccolo, Pan, Majub, Tapion, and both the Gammas face the dragons together. This is severely overkill. And pretty quickly, the Shadow Dragons are outmatched and defeated. Sin grouped them together for a reason though. He barely survives this encounter, fighting defensively just in case. Despite the dragons being stronger, the group they're facing is also stronger and has more numbers. So Sin enacts his backup plan, absorbing the Dragon Balls around him, becoming Omega Shenron. But still, he needs more power. This isn't enough. He thought this may be enough to topple everyone here, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. He needs to buy just a little bit more time. The Earth is coated in a negative energy, and Omega tries to stall, not fighting right away, but in the background, he's working on a plan. He's summoned something else. Thanks to absorbing the power of the Shadow Dragons around him, that granted him the ability to gain even more strength. Around the universe, things are shifting. On planet Namek, Mori watches on confused. The Dragon Balls start floating in the air, and then they launch off the planet with insane speeds. On planet Cereal, Monaido is shocked to see that the Dragon Ball he has flown away. Granola is too busy with something else to notice this. Out in space, even the Super Dragon Balls are moving. Very slightly, but still, they're moving. Back on Earth, as Shenron continues buying time, he sees the fruits of his plan. The Namekian and Cerealian Dragon Balls assimilate with him as well, granting him even more strength. He's still trying to move the Super Dragon Balls, but bringing them here is probably just going to destroy the planet itself. But the power from these ones gives him enough. Also, the Black Star Dragon Balls are still intact, returned to their original spot. They're on Earth, and they assimilate with him too. With these 3 extra sets of Dragon Balls, Omega doesn't really undergo too many physical changes, at least in his appearance, but his strength grows drastically. He thanks Dende for granting him even more power, as well as the creators of all the other Dragon Balls. They recognize the Namekian Dragon Balls, but they're confused why there's 2 small ones that appeared. Was there another set out there this entire time? And Omega's actually searching for any others that exist. Namekians may have gone to other planets, and they probably exist in other universes too. He knows for a fact they're in Universe 6. He could absorb more and more Dragon Balls, but for now this will be enough. This is his new peak. They're not going to be able to defeat him now. This is Hyper Shenron. He'll only grow stronger when he gets the other sets of Dragon Balls, including the Super Dragon Balls and the Demon Realms. The negative energy around Earth grows larger and larger. The group tries to fight Hyper Shenron, and he actually is a really big challenge right now. Individually, no one stands a chance against him. Collectively, if every single person in this group fought together and combined their power into one attack, they probably could defeat him. Like if there's a Spirit Bomb or something, but he's not going to let that happen. Goku does attempt to do this, but it doesn't pan out. Well, he sees one other option. The others all hold off Hyper Shenron as Goku pulls Vegeta aside. They know where they each peak in power right now. They've perfected their strongest forms. Goku doesn't just have the completed Ultra Instinct, he has a perfected one, with control on par with the Angels. Vegeta, on the other hand, has perfected Ultra Ego. The 2 of them can use the principles of these forms with any other form they want, whether it be Base, Super Saiyan, or any Super Saiyan form. But they haven't tried to combine the forms together, and maybe, considering both of them have perfect control of each form, it could work. Vegeta sees what he's getting at. Fine. Hopefully they get this right in one try. Quickly, the 2 of them perform the fusion dance, and Gogeta is reborn once more. They haven't done that in a while, and they're glad they pulled it off. Hyper Shenron scoffs. Sure, that fusion looks powerful, but he doubts it's going to do much. Gogeta tells him to think again. Both of them have ascended beyond their limits, and they combine each of their powers with perfect harmony, amplified with even more strength than before. Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct. Strangely enough, when Gogeta powers up, he gains an aura around him, but it doesn't appear that he's even transformed anymore. His power has definitely increased, but Gogeta says he's ascended the need for transformations, and he assumes that his fusees have too. Their power could fully be brought out in base, with absolutely no effort or effect on stamina, so this fusion isn't going to run out either. While it might not look like it, right now, he's using both Ultra Instinct and Ego combined. Neither negates the other. And if Shenron's calling himself Hyper, then Gogeta's going to call himself Hyper. This is Hyper Gogeta. A fusion so strong that he's gone beyond the limits that they once thought they had, beyond the concept of strength and technique that they once held in their minds. Shenron lunges at the fusion, but Gogeta knocks him away with a single devastating kick. While not even looking at Shenron, he points a finger up in the air, shooting a small beam. The negative energy around Earth is now completely dispersed. Oddly enough, they didn't even realize it was spreading around the entire universe as is. But with that single move Gogeta just pulled, all of the negative energy around the universe got dispersed. He scoffs. Shenron might have been a problem to him a while ago, but at his current level, Shenron is going to lose. Gogeta opens his hand, holding it above his head. A violently pulsating rainbow energy appears in it. A ball of light so blinding that it makes everything else look dark in comparison. Everyone has to shield their eyes, even Shenron. The negative energy that was just dispersed gets converted into positive energy, as Gogeta absorbs it for his own attack. Shenron tries to fight back, but whenever he attacks Gogeta, he either dodges the attack without even looking, parries with no effort without looking, or receives the brunt of the attack and grows even stronger. He continues charging this blast and tells Shenron it's no use. It would be better if he sat still and just accepted his death. But he's not going to do that. He jumps up into the air, planning to destroy Earth with one blast. He throws the blast down, and Gogeta's attack cuts through his blast, slicing through it like a hot knife through butter, completely negating all that energy as well. The Hyper Soul Punisher connects with Shenron, and for the people watching below, it looks like Shenron's there in one instant and then gone the next. There's not even an explosion. He's destroyed so quickly that only a few fighters could perceive it. Gohan, Oob, Broly, and Piccolo. And of course Gogeta. And that attack was imbued with destructive energy. Gogeta turns to everyone and tells them, the Dragon Balls are no more. Not just Earth's, but all the absorbed Dragon Balls from around the universe. The Super Dragon Balls and the Demon Realm Dragon Balls still seem to exist, but the rest have been destroyed alongside the Shadow Dragons. Gogeta then chuckles to himself. He hopes the Namekians aren't going to be too mad, and whoever created that other set of Dragon Balls that appeared. Now, Earth and the entire multiverse are safe, and even without the Dragon Balls, still, the future's bright. They don't need them anymore. They've grown such a strong crew here and have fostered such a good environment for the planet that they don't need to lean on them to help against threats anymore. Over a decade passes after the Shadow Dragon saga. Goku and Vegeta eventually start to feel their rapid aging taking effect. The feeling hasn't fully engulfed them yet, but Vegeta knew this day would come. Sooner for him than for Kakarot. He doesn't feel like he used to. His power is slowly decreasing. He's getting gray hairs, wrinkles, and, unlike what Bulma might have done, he can't get the Dragon Balls anymore to restore his youth. But that's not like him anyways. He discusses this with Kakarot, and they only come to one conclusion. It makes Goku a little bit sad, but also excited. He knew this would happen. They already know what they want to do. They loop Broly in, although Broly isn't going to join them, because Broly's not affected by rapid aging. He's becoming a candidate for the next God of Destruction. And despite him being on the cusp of rapid aging, thankfully, he's initiated within his prime, so he'll permanently remain at this age that he is. But he wants to watch this. Goku and Vegeta plan to have an all-out battle, one where they die. This is how they're going to go out. The three Saiyans go into the depths of space. Goku and Vegeta power up. They have no need to transform anymore, but they do it for nostalgia's sake, essentially. Cycling through all of their forms. Goku activates Kaioken, and then they begin going through the stages of Super Saiyan, working their way up from Super Saiyan 1, the form that started it all, to their Ultra forms, Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego, and then going back to their full power untransformed states, where they summon the full strength of those abilities. They dart around the universe, with the two Saiyans no longer constrained by oxygen, being able to fight out in space. Beerus and Whis appear, watching on as well. Only a few seconds have passed, but a lot of the fight has already happened. This fight may be a major spectacle, but it's probably not going to last long in the grand scheme of things. Blue and purple after images scatter around the universe, even breaking into other universes temporarily. They continue picking up speed, and eventually, the two of them stop. There's a brilliant explosion in the depths of space, and, not long after this battle, it's detected on Earth far away. Everyone was wondering where Goku and Vegeta went, but they all come to the same conclusion. Some are sad, particularly Bulma and Chi-Chi, but they're not completely distraught. Sure, everyone feels some melancholy, but it's more of a bittersweet sensation. They know this is how Goku and Vegeta wanted to go out. Gohan in particular chuckles when he realizes what happened. This is exactly like his father, especially the fact that they just both up and left without telling anybody. But he's comforted. He knows what happened. Goku and Vegeta knew that everyone would figure this out too. Earth's greatest warrior and the Prince of all Saiyans have both now died. This is the end of their story. At least, in the living world. One of the perks of what they've done in their lives is that they get to keep their bodies in Otherworld. Their story as mortals had just ended, but it's a new beginning for their eternal lives in heaven. Pikkon meets up with Goku and Vegeta here. Part of him's glad to see them, but also, part of him's a little bit bummed because them being here means they died. Vegeta says it was going to happen anyways. He'd rather die in an all-out battle than going out due to old age. They're introduced as some of Pikkon's friends. They're a pretty weird crew, but Pikkon says they'll like the group. Dabra, Shallot, and Giblet. They're hyped to see these other two Saiyans here. They're a little bit weirded out to see that Dabra's here, and they hope he doesn't hold any ill will against them, but Dabra's completely reformed and he's just glad to be here now. He's also really glad to hear about Garlic Jr. in the Demon Realm. Since he's immortal, he's probably going to rule that place for eternity now. Not only can no one kill him, but he also can't die of old age. Goku and Vegeta share a confident smile. They're going to have a lot of fun here, aren't they? Broly eventually has to test his power out against Beerus in order to actually become a god of destruction. He's the candidate, but is he fit for the real deal? The two of them have their own all-out duel, and unlike the fight between Goku and Vegeta, this isn't a death match. They both survive at the end, although Broly is the one who wins. Not requiring much effort, in fact. He can use Ultra Ego, but he mostly uses his god form, imbuing destructive power in his attacks while using that. It's more of his own thing, and he feels it's more fitting for him. Beerus could finally retire, spending his time napping and traveling Universe 7 for more food. And even though he's no longer God of Destruction, let's say he maintains his longevity and he's not going to actually die of old age or anything here. He's just going to live as a retiree until the end of time, or unless someone kills him, which probably wouldn't happen. Over the past few decades, Shin has been acting as a better Supreme Kai as well, meaning more planets will eventually pop up soon, which also means more food for Beerus. Universe 7's God of Destruction, Broly, is now the strongest of all the Gods of Destruction. It's going to take some time getting adjusted to this position, but he kind of likes it. As for the events of GT in the future, Trunks by now is going to be strong enough to actually fend off things on his own. Plus, Earth is definitely in a much better spot. So many years have passed since all the bad things have happened that things have been rebuilt. There's more people on Earth, and Trunks is the main defender. And he's of course past Super Saiyan God by now, getting Super Saiyan Blue. Although, without any guidance from Beerus or Whis, I don't think he's going to be getting any sort of Ultra form. But that doesn't matter too much. Despite the fact that Elder Kai's dead, well, he's going to be living on the Sacred World of Kai still, going between there and Otherworld. At some point, I feel like he'd just give Trunks the ultimate ritual, so Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, none of that matters, because Ultimate's now his peak. It just draws out whatever power he has locked away. Trunks has more than enough strength to defend his timeline. Nothing happens with the Black Star Dragon Balls. The Shadow Dragons are never unleashed. And if Baby ever attacks, well, knowing Trunks, that threat is going to be dealt with before he even becomes a big threat. Trunks does wonder from time to time, what's going on with the past? He hopes things are going okay. Thankfully, Trunks still has some time left before he even hits his rapid aging. At some point, Bulma would die of old age, but Trunks isn't that torn up about it. She got to live a full life. Not all of his friends got to say the same. He remembers Gohan. Gohan never got to experience that. But he's just glad that now, when people die, it's natural. It's not because of androids killing them, or aliens coming to destroy Earth or whatever. Earth is how it should be, and Trunks is really happy with the way things are going. Though, since Shin did eventually get revived, Beerus and Whis are still out there. It's inevitable that, with Trunks becoming a Super Saiyan God, Beerus is going to meet him at some point. And who knows, maybe Trunks could be a good candidate for the next God of Destruction. Sure, Trunks is not one with destruction on his mind, but if he can make this universe better by being a god, well, maybe he'll take up that role. But he's got to give it some thought. Mostly he knows Beerus because he entertains Beerus. Plus, Beerus really loves Earth's food. It's a good thing this planet didn't get destroyed. But still, Trunks wonders whatever happened to that other Broly in his timeline. Unfortunately, he's long dead by now, probably due to old age. But hey, if it's any consolation, he didn't really do anything too bad in his life, so he's probably in Otherworld. So, in a few decades when Trunks dies, if he doesn't become God of Destruction, he's going to be pretty surprised to see that there's another Broly up there, and he's a good guy. But for now, that Broly at least gets to know Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and all the other people in Otherworld. Anyways, back to the main timeline. 100 years passed since Hyper Shenron's defeat. There's another world tournament on Earth, with two contestants looking very familiar, Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr. There's some people in the crowd watching on, particularly Pan, Broly, who's visited for the occasion, and the two of them aren't really so sure, but they feel like they see Goku and Vegeta attending, though the two of them disappear. Once the tournament concludes, Broly goes to meet Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr. They could feel an amazing power emanating from this guy, and he shows off his Super Saiyan form, proving he's a Saiyan like them. He has a lot to tell them, particularly about their ancestors, the two that they're named after, Goku and Vegeta. Broly recounts their stories, at least the parts that he knows. As for the other characters, Gohan became a successful scholar, publishing a book about Ki. The general public actually knows about it. Not many people have harnessed it, but it's a lot more common now. Goten lived a relatively quiet life. Him and Trunks almost started their own martial arts school, particularly focused on sword training, but Trunks ended up becoming the CEO of Capsule Corp, taking over it with Bra, who was the other co-CEO. She replaced Bulma as the world's smartest and richest woman. Trunks wasn't really as tech smart, but he was a good CEO at least. Goten and Trunks have died. Bra is still alive, but just like Pan, she is pretty old. Though there are a lot of other hybrid Saiyans on Earth now. Not a ton because it's only been 100 years, but more and more people will slowly have Saiyan blood pumping through their bodies. Broly's interested to see how that'll turn out. And even though many years have passed since these people have died, more and more people are starting to learn about these unnamed heroes. There's been so many crazy events on Earth, and no one ever knew who stopped them. There is a statue of a faceless Goku, the one who saved everyone against King Piccolo. Rumors start spreading around about this. These rumors turn into legends, corroborated by some of the living members. The Neo Crane School, led by Tien, who's still alive because he's taken the same herb that Roshi has. Plus, there's the Neo Turtle School, led by Krillin, who's also still alive for the same exact reason. Roshi's still living too. These three become world-renowned because of all the stories they know. Broly's amazed to learn of all of this, and he's glad to see that their legacy's still living on, not just through Goku and Vegeta Jr., but through the stories that are told about everybody, including Broly himself. Funny enough, when Goku and Vegeta Jr. hear that Broly's a god of destruction, they actually know what that is. It comes as a shock to him, but from what they know, there's another god of destruction out there named Beerus. He visits this planet occasionally trying to get food, and he's become kind of a local legend in some cities. People don't know if he's actually a god or not, and he is pretty intimidating. But whenever he's here, he's in good spirits, and he always eats a bunch. Well, Broly's glad that Beerus is still living a pretty good life in retirement. It's funny that he's more widely known now, and it's because of his appetite, and not because of his power. He tries to reconnect with Beerus and eventually is able to locate him. Eventually, the two of them are known as frequent guests on Earth, and they each gain some notoriety, and an annual food festival is held as a celebration, one that Beerus happily attends, alongside Broly and Whis. It's mostly made in honor of the former Z Fighters, set up by Broly, Pan, and Bra, and also one other person who's ore farming nearby. Broly doesn't often come to this planet, but he knows that one of his close allies, Piccolo, is still alive. Same for Dende. Piccolo looks pretty much the same. Broly would love to test his power out against him one day, and Piccolo has grown leaps and bounds stronger. By this point, with all the power he's gained, he's long since passed Goku and Vegeta at their peaks, at least while they were living. He doesn't know how strong they are in the afterlife, but right now, Piccolo is the strongest mortal in the universe, by far. He's even surpassed Beerus too, but he doesn't know if he'll catch up to Broly. Broly's glad to see that Earth is in good hands. There's been no threats here, but if one ever shows up, Piccolo will stop it with ease. As well as the next generation of fighters. Piccolo does take an interest in Goku and Vegeta Jr., just like Goku took an interest in Noob. He might have to train them to mold them into great warriors. It's kind of funny. Goku waited for the reincarnation of Buu to train him, and now, Piccolo's waiting for the descendants of Goku and Vegeta. It's really going to bring him back to the old days. Broly and Beerus travel around the universe together. Beerus wants to show him a bunch of the good food he found, although they do end up on a new planet that they haven't been at before, one called Planet Cereal. Beerus is excited to try out the food here, and the Shigarians on this planet are actually very welcoming, but weirdly enough, two other people show up that don't look to be the same species. Broly's really shocked because one of them's a Namekian, and the other is a guy with green hair. He seems really angry at the first sight of Broly, but then he looks a little bit nervous. This guy's a god of destruction, but he's also clearly a Saiyan, isn't he? Broly begins discussing with him. This man's name is Granola. He's actually still alive because, even though this is 100 years in the future, Cerealians live to be about 200, so that's another 50 plus years he has remaining. He explains what he went through. He eventually got word of Cooler and also the fact that Frieza, Cooler, and King Cold were revived, particularly Frieza and Cooler being revived a few times. Some rumors spread around the universe about this, but Granola never encountered them and he thought that they were just long dead. Someone else must have killed them. But this encouraged Granola to train a lot, and when he was about 100 years old, he was able to kill the Heaters and rid the planet of them. He didn't make a wish for power. He got that power on his own. And he's been living a peaceful life ever since. Though he's a little bit surprised. He didn't know that Saiyans still existed out there, and Broly says that they do, just in a very different way now. He recounts the same tale that he was telling to Goku and Vegeta Jr. Oddly enough, Broly and Granola share something in common. The Saiyans wronged both of them, but Broly got to know the remaining Saiyans. They were actually pretty good people. Well, besides his extended family. He never met Paragus, but the other Broly was pretty crazy. And Aspar wasn't really a great guy either, but still, he eventually mellowed out. Same for Vegeta. Granola still doesn't know how he feels about the Saiyans, but over the years he's definitely calmed down, and he's not focused on revenge. The Heaters are out of his life, and that's the most important thing. Monaido chimes in and says a Saiyan actually saved Granola, and then Whis looks into his staff, curious to see what he means. He's shocked. That's actually true. And the Saiyan who saved Granola, it was Bardock, the father of Goku. This is a big surprise to Broly. He knew nothing about Bardock or Planet Cereal, but he tells them he knows Goku, and looking through Whis' staff, he could definitely see the family resemblance. Whis also chuckles to himself. It seems this guy was also the first Super Saiyan. What? How? Broly thought Goku was the first Super Saiyan. Well, Whis explains how he went back in time, somehow, and became a Super Saiyan, and then killed Frieza's ancestor, Chilled. That's so weird. He's still learning a ton of things about this universe that he never knew before. And Broly smiles. The best part is, as God of Destruction, he could visit Otherworld whenever he wants to. His old friends may be dead, but they're not far away. It was a pretty crazy life they lived, and watching on from a completely separate realm is a demonic scientist. He almost visited this continuity on his own, but it was mostly an experiment. He didn't want to get involved. What an interesting outcome here, having all these things happen together when they're not supposed to. That was very fun to observe. And with that, we end off our story here. What'd you guys think about this story as a whole? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel, and it shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting the scenario all the way through, and I'll see you all in my next video.